him also rushed out after hearing Liu Yuanxiao's words. But just when Liu Yuanxiao felt victory was in sight, his eyes went dark in an instant. The waving dragon flag suddenly fell from his hand. He lost his balance and fell heavily from the horse's back to the ground. The guards who were protecting him were also dumbfounded. Prince! Oh no! The prince is injured. The guards were so nervous that they dismounted from their horses to check on Liu Yuanxiao's condition. When they were rescuing him, they found that there was a bloody hole on Liu Yuanxiao's right temple and a huge hole next to his left ear. A red and white jelly-like liquid is constantly flowing out from it. Chapter 271, Running Out of Ammunition and Food. Prince, the guards' eyes were red with anger. They could never have imagined that the prince would die like this. Moreover, the death was inexplicable. This place is more than 100 feet away from the front line. What weapon can shoot so far? Several guards looked at each other and felt that something was wrong. As one of the main forces, although the main force led by the prince did not break through the middle, it was crucial. Deputy General Wang Li also came over and looked at Liu Yuanxiao lying in a pool of blood, his head buzzing. What happened to the prince? He's dead, one of the guards said, trembling. Lie, General Wang, what should we do? Wang Li was completely numb. Looking at the bloody hole on Liu Yuanxiao's head, it was clear that he had been sniped. He cursed in his heart. You knew that they had snipers, but you still waved the dragon flag to your death. Are you afraid that others can't find your location? Now, he failed to take Shuangfeng Mountain and he, the commander-in-chief, has killed himself. Wang Li regretted his decision so much that his intestines turned green. If he had known this would happen, he would never have followed Liu Yuanxiao. He calmed himself and gritted his teeth, saying, "It has come to this point, it is impossible to retreat. Take the prince's body with you, take Shuangfeng Mountain, and continue to advance. If you fail to take down Shuangfeng Mountain, you will be killed." Wang Li knew that only by winning this battle would he avoid being liquidated. The guards looked at each other, nodded, and then carried Liu Yuanxiao's body onto the horse. Don't spread the news. So as not to shake the morale of the army, Wang Li gave another instruction, then urged his horse to leave. The army had already torn open a gap, and a steady stream of enemy troops rushed over. Lu Yang's heart sank. At this time, the soldier who was sent to ambush came back and said, "Captain, I just killed a bandit soldier waving the great Xia dragon flag. I wonder if he is an enemy general." Lu Yang looked at the high morale of the enemy and sighed. Even if he is the enemy general, he should not be the main general. Come back and prepare to defend the stronghold. Li Yang patted the man on the shoulder and said, "Erdan, don't worry, this is your achievement, no one can take it away from you. Erdan is the squad leader who stayed behind before, and now he is the platoon leader." "Yes, Captain." At this time, the enemy had already climbed up the mountain road. On the other side of the mountain, the enemy had already climbed up. The soldiers sent out by Lu Yang were exhausted, and had used up all their bullets. They drew their swords and hacked at the enemies below with all their might. But there were too many enemies, coming from all directions. Some people were knocked down and rolled down the mountain, their lives or deaths unknown. There were also people who were stabbed several times but did not fall down. Instead, they held on to the hilt of the knife tightly. They were still swinging the saber until the moment before their death. 9 people are too few after all. When the last soldier rushed to the middle of the mountain to warn Lu Yuan, he knocked down the enemy who was rushing up and rolled down the mountain, and the back mountain was completely lost. Lu Yang's heart was bleeding, because that was his brother who trained and fought with him. But no matter how much pain it was, he had to stay calm. "Erdan, guard the front and don't let them rush over. Daju, you guard down there. Everyone, shoot accurately." Li Yang took out a flask from the weapons box nearby. Although this weapon was cheap, it still had considerable deterrent effect in group combat. I controlled the key roads, so fire attack was the best option. However, he didn't have many flasks, and he made them himself using the supplies. After lighting the outermost cloth, he smashed it down hard. Bang! Suddenly, flames broke out on the mountain road. Flasks were thrown down one after another. The enemy's offensive rhythm was disrupted. Wang Li, who was hiding in the crowd, was also gritting his teeth in hatred. Shoot them to death. They had firearms and grenades. But at this time, they were of little use. Only bows and arrows can cause damage to the enemy. Moreover, we cannot attack randomly at this time. When an arrow is shot into the sky and falls down, there is a high probability that it will hit one of your own people. So he ordered the archers to advance and everyone else to retreat far away. But, collapse. Thousands of arrows were fired at once. It's more advantageous here than shooting in the canyon. "Captain, I'm hit by an arrow." A soldier covered his arm, hid behind a sandbag, and kept grinning. Li Yang rushed over quickly and cut off the arrow, looking at the arrowhead that had penetrated deep into the flesh. He couldn't help but curse. "You are unlucky, you just happened to hit a place that the armor can't protect, just bear with it." "Captain, don't worry about me, keep attacking, I can still do it." The man forced a smile. Li Yong didn't say much after making sure that his life was not in danger for the time being. He asked people to lower their aim and not show their heads. These flasks can temporarily stop them. But it couldn't stop it for long. What made Li Yong most helpless was that he had run out of bullets. The artillery shells had been used up long ago. And there were not many grenades left. They only have pistols now. If they ran out of pistol bullets, they would have no choice but to fight the enemy with bayonets. Quick, push forward, the enemy's ammunition is almost exhausted. Take this opportunity to take them down in one go. Wang Li was also secretly excited. He saw that Yi Zhen's offensive had weakened, and they would be able to take Shuangfeng Mountain in half an hour at most. In fact, it was just as he expected. After about 3/4 of an hour, Li Yong had run out of ammunition and food. He had to tear down the stronghold and throw away everything that could be used for the attack. At the end, he put on the bayonet and prepared to rush out to fight the enemy to death, but was stopped by Erdan. Captain, give me a chance to make merit? I've been everything in my life, except a hero. Erdan smiled and rushed out with his platoon. You son of a bitch, come back here. Who told you to rush out without my order? Lu Yong's eyes were red. Captain, if there is an afterlife, I will still be your soldier. Dashu grinned, drew out his saber, and jumped out of the stronghold. Damn XIA thief. Fight me to the death. He wanted to rush out, but was held down by several people. Let me go. Are you trying to rebel? But these people didn't speak. At that moment, Li Yong understood that they were all people arranged by his elder brother to protect him. They die, but I can't die? Lu Yong was extremely sad. Unless we die. You must not die before us, said one of them. Lu Yong looked outside and felt extremely sad as he saw his brother standing alone against 10,000 men. He saw the enemy swords pierce their bodies and cut off their heads. Then someone else rushed over to guard the intersection and drove back the enemy. Brothers, my brothers. Lu Yong choked. Later, more and more people died, and there were fewer and fewer people around him. Those who held him down said, Captain, take care. They smiled, looked at each other, and rushed out without any hesitation. As for the last one, he stuffed him into a narrow cave and sealed it with a large rock. Captain, stay alive and avenge your brothers. Chapter 272, The battle line is tight. Captain, please don't make a sound in the next life, we will be brothers again. The sound disappeared from the cave entrance. Lu Yong was so heartbroken that he lost his voice and his tears flowed like a river. But he didn't dare make a sound and bit his lips tightly. There was not much air in the cave. And most importantly, as soon as he looked up he could see the faint light outside. He had no idea when this cave was built. The important thing is, if he rushed out now, his brothers would die in vain. Outside came the sound of brothers fighting bravely, but later on, the sound died down and even the faint light disappeared. Immediately afterwards, there were chaotic footsteps outside. A group of people rushed into the stronghold and kept searching. They overturned sandbags in an attempt to find something. Where is Lu Yong? A man asked. Bye. Dashu spat a mouthful of blood foam on Wang Li's face and said with contempt, the company commander is in your wife's bed. A hint of murderous intent flashed in Wang Li's eyes. I'll ask you one last time. Where is Lu Yong? The other side had been captured long ago, but this hilltop was the only one that remained stubborn. What shocked Wang Li was that these 150 people actually held back an army of more than 100,000 for nearly 2 hours. He even sniped Li Yuan to death. Who would believe it if I told them? The casualties were more than 20 times that of Yi Zhen. I also said that the company commander is in your wife's bed. And your mother is cheering beside her. Dashu laughed out loud, not afraid of death at all. Court death. Wang Li was furious and knocked him out with one punch. He wanted to kill him, but he had to leave him alive, otherwise, who would be blamed for Li Yuan's death? Detain him, Don. Let him die. Yes, General. Wang Li took a deep breath. Although this guy was not afraid of death, he kept glancing downwards when asking questions. It seemed that Lu Yong had escaped before he came. Leave 500 people to guard this place, and the rest of you follow me. The man's angry voice became increasingly distant. Li Yong recognized Dashu's voice and his eyes suddenly lit up with joy. But it has been so long and the reinforcements from the regiment have not arrived yet. It seems that something must have happened. Who gave these people the courage to charge forward? And if they took Shuangfeng town and continued their march overnight, there was only one possibility. There is not only this large army, there must be more enemy troops advancing from other routes. Li Yong became uneasy when he thought of this possibility. And the fact was just as Lu Yong had guessed, the enemy had launched a full-scale attack. That night, the Xia and Jing dynasties, with an army of more than 2 million, advanced from more than 20 places. Shuangfeng town was just one of the checkpoints that was breached. In Songshan County, Ji Ermo's face was gloomy, and his vision was darkening. Cheng Dalang, why didn't the regiment support Shuangfeng town immediately? Are you stupid? But there was no point in scolding. Last night, The 2nd Regiment dispatched 5 or 6 support companies to assist in 7 battles, and the entire regiment's ammunition was used up. The enemy was too fierce. Cheng Dalang, realizing the problem, held on to his position and sent someone to send back the message. Until now, no one from the 2nd Regiment has returned. It is very likely that they are in danger. Old GE, the General Staff has analyzed that the enemy has begun a full-scale attack. It's time for them to withdraw, Cao Wenhu said. Little Master Lu is gone in Xuanfeng town. How do you want me to retreat? GE Ermo said with red eyes. How can I go to see His Majesty? Cao Wenhu was stunned, and then a chill rushed from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. He held down GE Ermo, who was about to go berserk, and said, Old GE, don't be impulsive. Don't be impulsive. If you lose your mind at this moment, you will not only lose the frontline position, but you may even lose Songshan County. There are hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians here. You must think clearly about your responsibilities. You stay here. I will go to Liangjing to apologize to His Majesty. This has nothing to do with you. GE Ermo was anxious. Since you came to Songshan County, you and I have been one. I don't have the ability to lead troops to fight, so Songshan County depends on you. Cao Wenhu smiled. Defeat the enemy and win this battle. We'll talk about the right and wrong after the war. Watching Cao Wenhu's departing figure, GE Ermo pounded the table helplessly. Then he stood up and called all the officers in the city together. Whoever has the courage to sneak into Xuanfeng town, I will give him 500 men. If he finds Master Lu, I will find him alive or dead. Everyone present stood up and said, Master, we are willing to go. Master, I am familiar with little Master Lu. I can recognize him. Chao Langzi, go and get 500 men. If you can't find little Master Lu, then attack the enemy's rear. They are advancing from all directions, which also disperses the troops. Besides, the enemy troops cannot all be the main force. Let them have a taste of what the hell is called the infiltration and flanking tactics. Yes, I obey your command. Big Nose Kong, Monkey King's son, and Cao Zhe, I'll give you 500 men. I obey your orders. I only have one request. No prisoners, no prisoners, no prisoners, no prisoners. GE Ermo repeated again and again. Kill them ruthlessly, kill them until they are terrified, and kill them until they dare not invade again. Yes, Commander. All the generals stood up and saluted GE Ermo. After everyone left, GE Ermo couldn't help but sig as the commander-in-chief. He couldn't leave the city after sending out so many people. The 2nd Armed Division actually only had about 3,000 people left. Together with the defenders in the city, the number of people was only more than 4,000. Although he was confident that he could win the battle, to be on the safe side, he sent someone to the military for help. He knew that Lu Yuan had recently added several container divisions, and he couldn't give up the city just to save face. He would rather be punished and demoted than see his soldiers sacrifice in vain. The death squads left the city one after another. GE Ermo climbed up the city wall and watched them leave. At this time, in Liangjing, urgent military intelligence came in one after another. The fighting situation on the front line was tense, and the 1st Armed Division and the 2nd Armed Division were under tremendous pressure, including the 1st Navy and the 2nd Navy. Last night, the war broke out on all fronts. Fierce fighting took place not only on land, but also on water. The 2nd Naval Division was attacked by surprise. The enemy took a detour through a tributary of the Jingyang River, a risky move, and Chen Yuan almost fell into the trap. Fortunately, he was well prepared and fought a battle in the Huiyang River, a tributary of the river, during which he sank more than 30 warships, killed more than 4,000 enemies, and captured more than 4,000. Because it was too late at night, they did not pursue. There is no news about the 1st Navy yet, but Lu Yuan believes in Han's ability after taking Indingran. The number of people in the 1st Navy has not changed, but the number of warships has increased a lot, which has greatly enhanced its control over the water. After a sleepless night, Lu Yuan had to drink strong tea to refresh himself. However, he always felt uneasy and had a bad premonition. Chapter 273. One punch is enough to prevent 100 punches from coming. It's still early, take a rest, Honggu said with concern. No, I have a few meetings later. Lu Yuan shook his head. Although he had made sufficient preparations, he had no intention of resting at this moment. As soon as he finished speaking, Liu Su came in anxiously, and Cao Wenhu came with her. Seeing Cao Wenhu, Lu Yuan was startled. Old Cao, why are you here? Your Majesty, I am guilty. Cao Wenhu knelt in front of Lu Yuan, tears streaming down his face. Xuanfeng Mountain has been lost, and Master Lu is missing. Lu Yuan was stunned. What did you say? Little Master Lu, he seems to have been captured by the enemy. Captured? Lu Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. How can he be saved? Do you know which main force of the enemy captured him? It was the main force led by Li Yuanshao, the son of Li Batao. The marshal of the XI army. According to the news from the front, they lead a total of 70,000 Iron Harriers, 30,000 light cavalry, 10,000 heavy infantry, and 40,000 ordinary infantry, a total of 150,000 troops. Cao Yu said with red eyes. There were only 150 people guarding Shuangfeng Mountain, and a scout came back with only 149 people. We learn it from the prisoners that the battle lasted for more than 2 hours without any support. Because the front line was in a tight spot before the army arrived at Shuangfeng Mountain, many bandit troops had already invaded. The 2nd Regiment had already sent everyone out to provide support, leaving only 100 or so people in the entire regiment to guard. It is our fault, please punish us, Your Majesty. Li Yuan's heart sank. 149 people fought against 150,000 main forces of Daxia for 2 full hours. Good, a good way to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Surround the point and attack the reinforcements. Li Yuan forced himself to calm down. The best result was that Lu Yang was captured. The worst outcome is death on the battlefield. Your Majesty, I am guilty. Where's Mao? Commander Ge is on the front line fighting the enemy, and cannot be away. He said that if he can't save little Master Lu, he will die. Cao Yu cried. Li Yuan helped him up and said, since the first day he joined the army, I told him that life and death are determined by fate. And you are not to blame. He was a soldier, and even if he died on the battlefield, it would be the highest honor for him as a soldier. The soldiers can sacrifice themselves, and so can he. However, you came at the right time. A factory has just produced a batch of weapons and is planning to send them to the front line. You can take the 6th Division back with you. Cao Yu couldn't believe his ears. He stared at Lu Yuan. Under his seemingly calm appearance, Lu Yuan's hands were shaking unconsciously. It was obvious that he was enduring great pain. He knew that if Lu Yang was still alive, the enemy would have threatened Lu Yang long ago, but they did not. This means that Lu Yang may have died on the battlefield. Because Lu Yang is not a high-profile person. Maybe the enemy army doesn't even know his identity. He thought of the thin figure who worked and lived with the craftsmen in Taishan County and the resolute eyes of those who gave up writing to join the army. If the coalition is not defeated, I will go to the underground to serve Master Lu. Cao Yu wiped his tears and said, gritting his teeth. He didn't waste any time. Took the military order and went to the military headquarters to check the troops. After Cao Yu left, Li Yuan could no longer hold back and leaned on the table, punching it again and again. Your Majesty, I will take the people from the Special Forces camp to search and rescue Master Lu. Come back, Li Yuan called Liu Su. Don't make a meaningless sacrifice. Xiaoyang's life is life, and the lives of the soldiers are also lives. But Master Lu is different. In my eyes, they are all the same, Li Yuan said in a deep voice, and then his eyes showed murderous intent. Send the 6th Division to support Hengshan County. Pass on my order. Warn the 3 armies, do not take any prisoners. Kill them ruthlessly. Yes, Liu Su bowed and left with murderous intent. Honggu looked at Lu Yuan worriedly. You really don't want to save Xiaoyang? Li Yuan said in a hoarse voice. I want to talk to all the people in Beijing. He strode to the broadcasting studio, which controlled all the loudspeakers in Beijing. There was still peace in Liangjing. The people did not feel the oppression of the war. The tea houses and theaters were still bustling with people. But at this moment, a loud voice sounded above their heads, drowning out all other sounds. I am Lu Yuan. The Emperor of Dai. The enemy has invaded Dai, disturbed my borders, and violated my people. The Xia and Jing dynasties were defeated countries and openly tore up the peace treaty, breaking their promise and arousing the anger of both humans and gods. I despise it. Facing such a shameless person, they will reserve all means of attack. Everyone stopped what they were doing and listened attentively. Hearing this, they all shouted angrily, the traitor deserves to be killed. Every time they bully us first, and then we are forced to fight back. Why? Fight them to the death, destroy Xio Jing, and unify the 3 kingdoms. Sounds like these could be heard in almost every corner of Liangjing. But Li Yuan was still talking. From now on, Dai will enter the first level of wartime alert. And all entertainment activities of the people across the country will be suspended. Young and middle-aged people under 40 and over 16 years old should stay at home and obey the call of the country at any time. The words haven't been finished yet. The young men stood up one after another and said, let's go to the army to sign up. I want to defend my country. The rise and fall of a country is the responsibility of every citizen, brothers. The time to defend our country has come. If you have a gun, follow me. The owner of the tea house walked to the front of the stage and said, the day's performance ends here. All admission fees will be refunded. I will join the army to defend my country. In the theater, the young ladies in blue clothes all said, let's go to the military recruitment office and the military medical corps. If we can't kill the enemy, then let's save lives. At this moment, who dares to say that actors are heartless? All countless young and middle-aged men gathered on the streets. and they walked towards the army recruitment office in a mighty procession. There is no need to wait for the country's call. None of the parents and elderly people at home tried to stop me. They know that only by winning this war can they gain true peace. In the guest house, Li Kunlei had not gone out for a long time after the war broke out. He dared not go out for fear of something happening. But he heard the broadcast and saw the young and strong men on the street spontaneously gathering to join the army. He was extremely shocked. Is this the cohesion of day? The Axia has been established for 200 years. But it still can't do this. How can day, which has only been established for less than half a year, do so? But that was nothing. What Lu Yuan said next really frightened him. From today on, they will not accept Xia Jingqian's 3-term peace proposal. But as for the enemy troops, we will not take any alive or prisoners and will kill them all. Stop all trade with them. Whatever we lack, we take it from them. If they like to invade, then let them know that Day is not easy to mess with and the people of Day cannot be messed with if they are messed with. There will be a price to pay. 1 punch is enough to prevent 100 punches from coming. Stop killing with killing, and fight violence with violence. Chapter 274-75 Malleable Love. Li Yuan's voice stopped abruptly. Inside the guest house, all the foreign envoys were terrified. Li Yuan said that no prisoners should be taken and all should be killed. No peace talks or surrender would be accepted. Cruel, too cruel. Li Kunlei was terrified at this moment. He suddenly regretted it. He even heard a different meaning in Lu Yuan's voice. Li Yuan was not afraid, and even seemed to be waiting for such an opportunity. With every step, they stood at the commanding heights. If they lost this battle, he couldn't imagine what Dixite they would face. His anger is not so easy to bear. At this time, in the military medical school, Xiao Jianjia was undergoing systematic study. Although she had just begun, it was a new experience for her. The classroom fell silent when the voice on the radio was heard. After Li Yuan finished speaking, Xiao Jianjia suddenly felt worried for no reason. A full-scale war had begun. Could they withstand it? In addition, she also understood that this battle would completely change the situation in Middle-earth. Day would no longer lie dormant, but decided to join the game and compete for Middle-earth. This means that all 3 countries have become Li Yuan's target. If you don't leave any survivors, aren't you afraid of pushing them into a corner? Xiao Jianjia was very worried. Even a desperate dog will jump over the wall. And even a desperate rabbit will bite. But in the classroom, the teachers and students were particularly excited. Students, study hard, serve the country, and strive to complete your studies as soon as possible so that you can go to the battlefield and rescue the heroes of Day. The final victory will belong to Day. Da Yuan Sheng, everyone shouted. That kind of self-confidence and belonging was something Xiao Jianjia had never seen before. Perhaps this was why Day could become great in such a short time. After delivering the speech, Li Yuan forced himself to hold several meetings despite the discomfort. After determining the tone for the next step, he dragged his exhausted body and mind to the daytime's newspaper office to meet Lao Lu. Seeing Lu Yuan, Lao Lu picked up a written article and said, "You've come at the right time. Let me take a look at this article. If there's no problem, I'll publish it on the headlines." Li Yuan took a look at the article, the title of which was, "The 3 Kingdoms Betrayed Their Loyalty, They United with All the People to Fight Against the Unjust." Old Lu was working very hard as the newspaper president. But Li Yuan was in no mood to read the article at this moment. "Dad, Shuangfeng Mountain has been lost, and Xiao Yang's whereabouts are unknown. He is very likely to have died." Li Yuan knelt on the ground at this moment. He choked up and said, "It's all because of me, the eldest brother who failed to protect my younger brother." The smile on Lu Qiwishen's face froze, and the cigarette in his hand instantly slipped out of his hand. His breathing became rapid, and then a piercing pain came over him, making his face turn pale. The atmosphere in the office is terribly depressing. Lu Qiwishen picked up the cigarette on the table, took several deep puffs, and wanted to say something, but didn't know where to start. Looking at Lu Yuan, he finally understood why he said those words with such indignation and sadness on the radio. "He is my son, your brother, and the Prince of Day. He chose his own path, and no one else can decide." Lu Qiwishen slumped in his chair. "I want to see him alive or dead. Don T, tell your mother and Ling's Chai yet, they can't stand it. Get up, why are you crying? You haven't even seen the body, and you're crying about whether to live or die." Li Yuan said, "Don't worry, I will defeat the coalition forces as quickly as possible. It's good that Xiaoyang is fine. If Xiaoyang is in trouble, I will bury him with the 3 kingdoms." Lu Qiwishen didn't respond, but just smoked silently. Only after Lu Yuan left did he feel grief-stricken. Some pains could only be endured secretly. At this time, Huashan County Huju Pass. Wang Dabiao was furious when he saw the casualties reported from the front line. "If you can't win, just retreat. Why do you have to defend to the death?" He was originally stationed in Hengshan County, but at Li Yuan's order, he came to Huashan County. Zheng Liujin Legion led the 4th Division to garrison Hengshan County. Xiao Lai temporarily served as deputy commander of the 8th Division and was stationed in Hengshan County, Huku-Dunu City. He was the one under the most pressure. Huashan County is like a sharp knife stuck in the enemy's abdomen, and it is also the main battlefield. How fierce was the fight last night? He sent out more than 30 companies, and lost 3 of them in battle. This kind of loss was unacceptable to him. Wang Dabiao immediately ordered them to withdraw from their positions and return to defend Huashan County. Relying on the advantageous terrain of Huashan County, Wang Dabiao was not at all afraid of an army of 1 million. Not to mention the 1st Navy and the 8th Division next to them. As long as the enemy dares to cross Huashan County and enter the hinterland, they will face encirclement and suppression by 3 divisions of troops when they reach Hengshan County. There is Zheng Liujin's 4th Division and the 2nd Naval Division. Those are some of the most powerful fortresses in the world. If Zheng Liujin were to lose them, he would buy a piece of tofu and kill himself. Fuck, these bastards. Why haven't they come back yet? I told you this is a tactical move. You should show weakness when you should. Are the people from the 17th, 19th, and 24th companies cowards? Why haven't they come back yet? If they delay the battle, I will skin them alive. Commander, they are back. They were besieged by the enemy on the way, and they managed to escape after fighting their way out. These bastards, relying on their large numbers of troops, stretch the battle line indefinitely. And it's really fucking effective. Wang Dabiao snorted coldly. He knew very well that shrinking the battle line was the best method at this time, relying on the solidity of the city and the advantages of weapons. They could kill the enemy to the greatest extent. The deployed troops can sift the enemy to death layer by layer like sifting sand. Out the casualties, and everyone else follow me to defend the city. Notify Han and Zheng Liujin and prepare defensive measures, said Wang Dabiao. After climbing up the city wall, Wang Dabiao saw the dark mass of enemy troops in the distance, coming in an overwhelming manner like a swarm of locusts. The galloping war horses raised up billowing dust, making it difficult to see clearly. Wang Dabiao laughed grimly. You've come just in time. Pull out my big treasure and let them feel what 75 caliber love is. There were only 8 of the latest 75 howitzers in the entire army, and he had 3 of them. The rest were 15 mortars according to the standard of 3 mortars per infantry company. The 1st Division had nearly 200 mortars on all 4 sides of the city wall, excluding those that were taken away. There are nearly 100 mortars here. The flight distance of 550 meters can kill the enemy to the greatest extent. Fire! Boom! The maximum range of the 75 howitzer is 9,000 meters, so once the enemy came into sight, they were already within range. The shells tore through the sky and struck the enemy camp with lightning speed. What is filled inside is not ordinary shells, but powerful weapons, white phosphorus shells. In addition to the latest 75 howitzers and 15 conventional mortars, there are also the latest artillery shells and fuel-air explosive bombs. Chapter 275, Terrifying Fuel-Air Explosion Bomb. This thing is also called fuel-air ammunition. What is loaded inside it is actually not gunpowder, but fuel, also known as fuel-air explosive, which is a high-energy fuel. Under certain detonation conditions, the fuel-air explosive is scattered, mixed with the air and explodes violently. Its high temperature and high pressure will penetrate the target for dozens of times longer. So the destructive effect is far greater than that of ordinary bombs. Since cloud explosions consume the surrounding oxygen, there is usually severe lack of oxygen at the explosion site within 4 minutes, which has a suffocating effect on humans and animals. The formula of the fuel-air explosive agent is also one of Day's top secrets, and is even more complicated than the production process of the white phosphorus bomb. Although Wang Dabiao seems careless, he actually studies these weapons better than anyone else. He watched through the telescope and saw that the enemy troops were gradually dispersing. But with so many people, even if they are dispersed, they are still extremely dense. The explosion range of white phosphorus bombs is extremely wide. I saw several fireballs spreading ahead. This is the first time we use a fuel-air explosive bomb. Keep a good record of the war. Wang Dabiao reminded his adjutant, and then shouted, "Fire!" Boom! The artillery tore through the sky and hit the ground 1,000 meters away a few seconds later, causing an earth-shaking explosion. The shell exploded and a ball of fire quickly spread from small to large in the blink of an eye. It engulfed the people and horses around. Wang Dabiao was so surprised. Such a wide range, if not 80 meters. It must be at least 50 meters, right? It is said that the explosion of this fuel-air bomb can generate a temperature of over 3,000 degrees. People at the center of the explosion may be melted instantly, and even steel can be melted into molten iron. What a terrible weapon this is. But unfortunately, he only had 5 of these fuel-air bombs, and the cost of one was more than 500 tiles. In just a short while, 1,500 tiles of silver were spent. The adjutant looked at the terrifying power and couldn't help but suck in his rations. "What are you standing there for? Hurry up and write it down." Wang Dabiao glared at him. The adjutant swallowed and said, "Commander, how do you write this? Damn it. You are the adjutant and I am the adjutant. If you can't do your job well, go and load the bullets, Wang Dabiao cursed. Fire the remaining to fuel air bombs together. Although this thing is good, you still have to use it. Only after using it can you apply for more. At this time, the leader of the Jing army's rear was none other than Hu Jing. Hu Sheng was not here. He led another main force and set out from Jingyang River to meet up with Kibi Ufan. There were as many as 150,000 people. The ever-victorious General Wan Modi led 100,000 men to cross the east side of Huju Pass and finally encircled Cheyenne. Their strategy was to surround Huju Pass and buy time for the other two main forces. First take control of Huku Ferry, then follow the trend. They really need a big wind to wash away the shame. Looking at the rising flames in front of him, Hu Jing's scalp felt tingling. Fortunately, their war horses have all undergone special training, so they will not be frightened by the sudden explosion. But looking at the empty positions in front of him, he couldn't help but curse. What the hell is this weapon? The balls of fire almost surrounded the positions within a radius of 200 to 300 meters, and a vacuum zone formed around the fire. How did they do it when they were more than 300 feet apart? Does the red cannon have such power? But at this time, they could only bite the bullet and charge forward. Hurry up, push forward. Speed up and outflank from both wings. The firepower of Yi Zhen's other fronts can't be so strong. Where's the shield car? Push it up quickly. Siege ladder, move forward quickly. On the battlefield, different arms work closely together, which looks very shocking. But when they entered the killing range of the mortar, they realized what a surprise was. Mortars, prepare for action. Artillery Team 1, get ready. Artillery Team 2, get ready. The flag bearer kept waving the flag to convey the message. There were several boxes of ammunition stacked next to each mortar. Their mission is to empty the boxes. Wang Dabiao put down the telescope and shouted, "Fire!" Boom boom, boom, boom boom boom. Hundreds of mortars fired at the same time. The scene was truly spectacular. A heavy shield vehicle was blown up. The shield soldiers who formed a human wall were blown to pieces. Even if the cavalry surrounded the city from both wings, it would be useless because their arrows could not reach the city walls. As they approached the city wall, they were greeted by ruthless bullets. They allocated the best weapons to the fighters on the front line, who were destined to face the most brutal blows. Before the siege even began, the Jing army had already suffered heavy losses. After the fifth round of mortar fire, Jing's army could no longer maintain its basic formation and began to flee. They simply cannot understand the gap. Hundreds of feet away, it was a place that no one could attack, but Day was able to aim the artillery at the rear, forcing the commander to retreat. Before they even reached the city, they had already surrendered thousands of men. Under these rounds of bombardment, they were as fragile as wheat in a field, being harvested one after another without even a chance to resist. To their dismay, the shelling continued. Yi Zhen's firepower was like the endless cold wind in winter, but the flames from the explosion were enough to melt them into mud. Terror spread in the hearts of every soldier when a small number of people began to flee. More and more people joined the escape. The law does not hold everyone responsible. This is what they have in mind. It is everyone's instinct to escape, leave this terrible place and survive. Hu Jing looked at the fleeing soldiers and trembled with anger. Whoever dares to be a deserter, I will kill his entire family. But his threats did not stop the escape. Instead, the situation became more and more serious. He killed several soldiers who were retreating in panic. Suddenly he heard a loud noise in his ears and the explosion was not far from him. He was so scared that he lay down on his horse's back. He looked in the direction of the sound and saw that the upright flag had been blown to pieces. Immediately afterwards, a huge heat wave hit him. The burning sensation stung his skin and made it impossible for him to open his eyes. He even smelled burnt fur. What followed was a strong feeling of suffocation. He felt like he couldn't breathe. And the air he breathed in was like freshly boiled water. The warhorse under him started to run wildly. He had no control over it at all, and was thrown heavily off the horse. He couldn't catch his breath for a long time. In fact, he couldn't breathe at all because his trachea had been burned, and his eyeballs had been cooked by the instantaneous high temperature, causing him to go blind. Save me, save me. Hu Jing was trapped in darkness and could not make any sound, while people around him were running away in panic. The huge fire mushroom was still expanding rapidly in the air until it completely engulfed Hu Jing. Chapter 276, Attacking the Heart. The high temperature and suffocation of the fuel air bomb were the most painful. Hu Jing didn't understand, until his death, why Yi Zhen could still hit him when he had clearly retreated to 100 feet. Perhaps it was just like he would not understand why the Jing army would flee madly. Report to the division commander. The enemy's flag has been destroyed. Wang Dabiao looked at the fire in the distance and nodded with satisfaction. This thing is really damn useful. I must write to His Majesty and ask him to make more. My first division should have hundreds of them. Wang Dabiao's abacus was clattering. And now he no longer cared about these mortars. This is truly a national treasure. Report to the division commander. The enemy has fled on a large scale, but the cavalry is still harassing the two northwest walls. Wang Dabiao glanced down and saw that the army was already in disarray. He hurried to the north city wall, and the cavalry did not dare to get too close. After all, there were C-Ultra-PS and buried mines under the city. If they stepped on them, they would be crippled if not killed. After a stalemate of a few quarters of an hour, the enemy seemed to realize that they could not defeat the enemy and began to retreat. From start to finish, it took only an hour. Wang Dabiao breathed a sigh of relief, but he also felt something was wrong. There were only 300,000 troops here at most. So where did the others go? He sent out scouts to track the enemy while exploring the surrounding area. At this moment, at Huku Ferry, Achaean had already faced off against Kbufan. Peng Ran's death deeply stimulated Kbufan. Yi Xiang took a detour to attack Chenyuan. Although he did not die, he was paralyzed on one side of his body by the artillery fire and has not woken up yet. A navy had 150,000 soldiers but lost nearly 30,000. This was hard for him to accept. There were only 10,000 men in the Hukudu Navy, although Kbufan wanted to surround them and wear them out. Considering that the Day Navy had artillery, he had no choice but to fight a guerrilla war to buy time for the marshal. Taking into account the time, the marshal and Sheng Shanghu should arrive at Huku Ferry. By then, the army will hide around Huku Ferry and wait for the Day Navy to land, and will definitely deal them a heavy blow. After chasing for more than 20 miles, Achaean also became alert. Quick, raise the flag and turn back, don't chase anymore. It will be dark soon. If they set a trap ahead, we will be in danger. Commander, that is the enemy's main ship. Kbufan is very likely inside. We only have 10,000 people, while the Fuhai Navy has over 100,000, 10 times our number. Once they surround us from both sides, it will be a fierce battle. They deliberately showed the main flag to lure us into taking the bait. Achaean stroked his beard, not angry. Marching and fighting rely on courage and strategy. If you try to win, you will most likely lose the battle. Everyone was convinced after hearing this. Soon, the army stopped the pursuit and began to retreat with all their strength. Commander-in-Chief, they're retreating. Shenwei walked quickly into the cabin and asked anxiously, should we chase them? Kbufan was stunned for a moment, and quickly rushed to the deck, and saw the Day Navy already gone. He was so angry that he stamped his feet fiercely. Achaean is really cunning. He will withdraw his troops as soon as something goes wrong. I have already risked my life, but he still won't take the bait. Maybe it's too obvious. Shenwei smiled bitterly. Damn it, if he had gone 1 mile forward, he would have fallen into the trap. Kbufan glanced behind him. That was the junction of 3 rivers, where the Wei River and the Hui River merged into the Jingyang River. He had already arranged for people to hide in the 2 tributaries in advance, and he only needed to wait for Yi Jun to enter so that he could catch the turtle in the urn. Captain, what should we do now? What can we do? Chase them, Kbufan sneered. By the time they reach Huku Ferry, it will be dark. No matter how powerful the artillery is, it will be impossible to attack them in the dark. Soon, the Fu Navy all changed direction and gave chase. This time, the main ship where Kbufan was located did not continue to lead the way, but hid at the back. At the same time, the navy from the 2 tributaries of Wei Shui and Hui Shui also joined the main force. Achaean also noticed the pursuers behind him, and his face darkened. It seems that they are planning to strike in the dark. He didn't know that the coalition forces had already launched an all-out war, but he sensed something was wrong with his military perception. Fuhai Jun lost to battles and should know the strength of Day Navy. The troops in Hengshan County are actually a supplement to the Navy. If Huku Ferry is lost, he can quickly move to Hengshan County Ferry to fight. When the enemy attacked, he notified Hengshan County immediately. I think there shouldn't be any problem. It was getting dark, and the enemy was chasing him closely. And could only keep attacking with artillery, sinking some small boats, but without causing any serious damage to the Fuhai Navy. However, the base was already close. And what alerted HAIM was that the headlights of the base were not turned on. Something happened. The power system of Hukudu is independent, so there is no problem of the line being cut off by someone. There are also dedicated people guarding it, and the lights are turned on time. Don't get close to the stronghold, go downstream. There's something wrong there. Achaean used a telescope to observe the front. There were people in the stronghold, wearing the uniforms of the Day Navy. However, at this time, most people were eating in the cafeteria, and only patrolling soldiers were patrolling the surrounding area. Everyone was extremely surprised, but no one dared to question HAN. The fleet did not approach the stronghold and went downstream. When HAN saw those people, he ran in quickly and did not come to the dock to direct the docking immediately. All these signs indicated that the stronghold had been occupied by the bandits. Marshal, HAN didn't come. Wu Sheng stood up suddenly. Have you figured it out? He walked out of the stronghold quickly, and happened to see Day's Navy coming down, also with a serious expression. Leave 5,000 people to guard, wait for Kibufan to come, we will cross the river and support Wan Modi. At this time, a fierce battle was taking place in Huashan County, 20 miles away from Huku Ferry. Wan Modi was beaten so badly that he began to doubt his life. Hei's special geography and national conditions result in the fact that there are no villagers living outside the city. Even if they want to plunder the people to threaten them, they cannot do it. Although Huashan County is only 5 meters high and far less majestic than the Three Passes, the solidity of its city wall is not inferior to the Three Passes at all. The inside is made of red bricks and the outside is made of concrete. Damn it. This isn't a fortress. Why is there such concentrated firepower here? He thought that the 100,000 troops he brought with him could break through the unbuilt city, but he didn't expect that they would be beaten so badly that even his grandmother couldn't recognize them. It was dark, and there were bright searchlights on the city wall, illuminating an area of 100 meters. Their movements were seen clearly. What made him most powerless was that there were hundreds of snipers on the city wall, frantically sniping their generals in the crowd. In just half an hour, more than a dozen mid-level generals were sniped and killed, and the entire attacking formation was broken. Chapter 277, Great Defeat. What worried Wan Modi the most was that he didn't dare show his head and could only hide far behind. If you look closely, you will see a hole in his helmet. Fortunately, the bullet did not kill him. Although the bullet passed by his scalp, it caused a burning pain on his head and blood flowed. My lord, we can't fight anymore. More generals have died. Let us retreat. The family general retreated to his side and persuaded him, as long as there is Green Mountains, there is no fear of running out of firewood. If we continue to fight like this, all our generals will be killed. We can't maintain our formation by ourselves. If we get into chaos, we'll be completely defeated. Aren't we losing now? Mo Wandai cursed. Wu Sheng is still behind me. If he knew I escaped, wouldn't he kill me? Let them hold out until the main force arrives. Is it that he doesn't want to escape? You can't escape. Liu Ju was killed in battle, more than 100. Zero elite troops were lost, the Fu Navy was defeated several times, and hundreds of wars of all sizes were fought on the front lines, with no less than 80 Zero casualties. By forcibly conscripting young men, Wu Sheng had finally gathered so many people, and he had already put everything on the line. It seems to be prolonging the battle line and depleting the vitality of Day, but in fact, Day is boiling frogs in warm water, boiling them to death little by little. If they don't push forward with all their strength by now, they will only be defeated. If Da Jing loses this battle, it will be something he cannot bear. The family generals also looked at the city wall with fear, not daring to show their heads at all. Those snipers were too powerful and they shot one by one. Forget about the project. They can hardly even protect themselves. Or, let them retreat 100 feet first and wait for the army to arrive, the family general said again. What will I say when Wu Sheng comes? He will accuse me of being lazy and slacking off on my chance to fight, and I'll have no way to defend myself. Mo Wandai didn't care whether these people lived or died. He didn't bring elite troops, and Wu Sheng just wanted him to consume the enemy's manpower. In that case, then let it be as he wishes. Even if all these people die here, he won't feel sorry at all. The family general sighed. Even if these people were not elite, they were still people from Da Jing, right? If they die here in vain, what will happen to their families? By the middle of the night of Zhu, most of the 100,000-man army had been killed, and all the generals had been sniped to death. Corpses piled up into small hills outside Hengshan County and blood flowed like a river. But even so, the siege continued. Shamlai asked his men to take turns to rest. He realized that the enemy was consuming their ammunition, so he changed tactics in time and shot accurately. The 8th Division was composed of veterans from the Firearms Battalion and half of the new recruits. They are the most advanced modern army. The concept of war is also the most advanced. Although Hengshan County is small, it is the bridgehead of Day and is defended as an important town. The armaments here are enough to support them in fighting a war involving millions of people. Strange, they are all being slaughtered, but they are still not leaving Haven. They've been killed before. Shamlai frowned. No, they have all rushed to Hengshan County. Did He also encounter the enemy? Thinking of this, Shamlai immediately reacted. Oh no, they are deliberately delaying us. The purpose is to prevent us from going to support. However, the enemy is now outside the city, and it is impossible for them to go out of the city to fight. Fighting at night is troublesome in itself, and leaving the city is even riskier. He could only pray for Hai and silently. At this time, Wu Sheng led his army to meet Mo Wandai, and the first thing he said when they met was, "Haven't you taken Hengshan County yet?" Mo Wandai was almost mad. This is Day's 8th Division. They are all equipped with firearms. If you show your head, you will be sniped and killed. As he said this, he took off his hat, revealing the wound on his head. It was almost like my head would have exploded. Wu Sheng snorted coldly, knowing that he was in the wrong. So what's the situation now? More than half of us are dead or wounded. All the generals have been sniped. And everyone has reached their limit. If you don't come, we will all die here. Mo Wandai was still complaining. Wu Sheng turned a deaf ear to him and said, "Stop talking nonsense, everyone must capture Hengshan County." "Marshal, is HA and Ed?" Mo Wandai suddenly asked. This harder-nicking sentence made Wu Sheng's face even uglier. He kept talking about something else. "PBUFN is chasing us. Can we capture this city with just our 200,000 men?" Mo Wandai sneered. "If you don't want to fight, you can leave. So the next attack would definitely be much easier." Mo Wandai did not remind him, but watched him coldly as he disappeared from his sight. The siege started again. Seeing the sudden increase in the number of enemy troops, Shanlai knew that Hukudu was most likely lost, so Hengshan County must not be lost. They woke everyone up and said, "Don't hold back, hit them hard." The war was extremely fierce and the enemy suffered heavy casualties, but this group of enemy troops was different from the others and their resistance was particularly fierce. Half an hour later, Mo Wandai, who was resting in the back, suddenly saw Wu Sheng being carried back by several people. At this time, Wu Sheng's head was bleeding and his eyes were closed. He rushed over and pretended to be anxious. "What happened to the marshal?" "The marshal has been shot. Get the military doctor here." "Was there a bullet there?" "Ed." Hearing this, Mo Wandai was overjoyed. How could he survive after being shot in the head? A military doctor came over, took off Wu Sheng's hat, and took a closer look. He found that his skull was smashed and his brain was faintly visible. Mo Wandai breathed a sigh of relief, feeling indescribably happy. "You bastard, I'll teach you how to use me as cannon fodder, so I'll let you have a taste of what it's like to be shot." He also understood that if Wu Sheng died, the battle would be lost. He said in a deep voice, "We must do everything we can to save the marshal's life. Now that the marshal is unconscious, I am the highest-ranking general here, and I will lead the army." Everyone looked at Mo Wandai and clasped their fists. "It's all up to you, Lord Marquis." They also saw clearly that Wu Sheng was most likely doomed to fail if no one stood up at this time. The army would lose badly. After the army attacked for a while, they were defeated step by step. Mo Wandai gritted his teeth and said, "The enemy's firepower is too strong. We can't attack them at all. If we continue to fight like this, we will only lose everyone here. Instead of doing this, it would be better to withdraw the troops and retain the manpower. What do you think?" Many generals looked at each other and sighed. "It's all up to you, Lord." "Okay. Since everyone has no objection, then pass on my military order to retreat," said Mo Wandai. Soon, the army retreated, leaving behind a field of corpses. Of the 250,000 strong army, less than 150,000 were left, excluding the Fu Navy. 70 of Dajing's elite troops were killed by day. This is not just a minor injury, but has completely shaken the foundation of the country. Not long after Mo Wandai returned to the base camp, he received even more desperate news. EBUF and Ide in the Jingyang River. The navy was destroyed, with nearly 70 of its troops lost. It was a horrific sight. Chapter 278, Total Annihilation. Mo Wandai grabbed Shen Wei by the collar and said, "You have far more people than HAN. How could you lose so many people?" "There were mines everywhere on the water. We chased them for a while before we fell into the mine trap set by HAN. Don't lie to me. Gunpowder is most afraid of moisture. Can it be soaked in water?" Mo Wandai's eyes were full of suspicion. It was soaked in water. By the time we found it, it was too late. Shen Wei recalled what happened last night, his face filled with fear. The entire river, nearly a mile long, was covered with mines. The successive explosions directly blew up the bottom of the cabin, leaving no chance for repairs. It was summer now, when the water was flowing most rapidly. The boat sank very quickly. And I don't know how many brothers sank into the river. So how did KBUF and I? He was killed by Chen Yuan after we entered the minefield. Chen Yuan had already ambushed us in the Huoyang tributary and surrounded us from both sides with HAEN. It was a dark and windy night, and we had no idea we were entering an ambush. How ridiculous. You set up an ambush at the confluence of the Wei and Hui rivers, but failed to lure the enemy and ended up destroying yourselves instead. Mo Wandai let go of Shen Wei and sat in a chair in despair. Hu Jing is also dead. More than 300,000 troops were killed, and now the total force is less than 500,000. How can I explain this to His Majesty? Mo Wandai said with a worried look on his face. 500,000 elite troops. More than 300,000 were killed, and only a few big cats and small cats are left in the Fu Navy. Is it necessary to fight this battle? A commander-in-chief died in battle, and all the vanguard generals were also killed or maimed. This was the number of elite troops left by Dajing if the fighting continued. Dajing's few resources would be completely wiped out. Originally, the camp was filled with nobles, but now, most of them were empty, and even the lieutenant generals came to make up the number. The atmosphere was terribly depressing. After a long while, Mo Wandai said, "Send the marshal's body back to the capital, and the army will retreat 100 miles again. Let us see whether His Majesty will send a new marshal or negotiate peace with Day." We should shrink the troops now and preserve our strength. What do you think? Someone asked. What about the Daxia war situation? Did they win or lose? Mo and I looked at the man coldly and said, that makes sense. Let's send someone to check out the situation over there with Li Batao before making a decision. As soon as he finished speaking, a loud noise was heard outside the military camp. The dense gunfire alarmed everyone in the military camp. Everyone looked back in the direction of the sound. Where did the gunshot come from? Mo and I stood up suddenly from his seat like a frightened cat, his heart instantly rising to his throat. What responded to him was the soldier's shrill voice. Enemy attack. Yi Jun is coming, run away. Hearing this, everyone in the military tent was shocked. They all panicked and looked at Mo and I. Mo and I was furious. Why are you looking at me? Fight with weapons. Everyone then hurried out of the tent, but as soon as they went out, they saw a scene that horrified them. The outside is covered by enemy fire. Our soldiers were beaten and fled in panic, without even a chance to resist. Groups of infantry, armed with day's latest weapons, advanced steadily under the cover of mortars. What is a hail of bullets? This is it. Mo and I shouted, quick, gather everyone and retreat. The retainer led the horse over, and Mo and I mounted the horse and ran towards the rear. But what made Mo and I despair was that there were also enemies behind him. What are these bastards doing, with so many people coming up? Why didn't anyone notice? Mo and I was terrified and felt like the sky was falling. There was only one thought in his mind: if he gave up resistance, he might still be able to survive. But this group of Yi Jun had no mercy at all. After firing a volley of bullets, the people behind them hurriedly took their places, just like a tank moving steadily forward. Some people lay on the ground to surrender, but they were greeted only by bullets. In the camp with hundreds of thousands of soldiers, not a single person could break out. The living kept retreating. In order to save his life, Mo and I had to dismount from his horse and kept urging everyone to break through. But Yi Jun's firepower was too strong, and he organized several breakouts, but was beaten back every time. Any people were shot into pieces by the slanting bullets before they could even rush out of the camp. And even the war horses were turned into a pair of rotten meat. He had already experienced Yi Jun's strength yesterday, and today it refreshed his cognition once again. His scalp still ached slightly, which aroused the fear in his heart. It was not until Yi Jun began to release smoke bombs on a large scale that the thick smoke made it impossible for them to open their eyes and breathe, forcing them to advance to the periphery. Mo and I was shaking with fear. They want to force us out. Smoke, fire, and explosions interweave into a spectacular scene of death. Yi Jun's steps were still moving forward steadily, and the man who was knocked to the ground was still breathing, but his head was pierced by a bayonet. A is rushing to support the 7th Armed Division of Hengshan County and will implement the will of His Majesty the Emperor. No prisoners and no survivors. Acting Division Commander Wu 6 I looked at the tragic scene before him without any sympathy. He and Shanglai belonged to the same firearms brigade, but he was in the 1st Battalion while Shanglai was in the 2nd Battalion. He was originally stationed in Taishan County. After the Battle of Shuangfeng Mountain, Xiao Li's whereabouts were unknown, and he was appointed as the acting commander of the 7th Division. After 2 days and 2 nights, he marched more than 200 miles and arrived at Hengshan County, just in time for the 1st Navy to ask for help. After understanding the situation, he decisively decided to raid the enemy's base camp and cut off their way to survival. In fact, his decision was absolutely correct. Increase firepower, completely eliminate the enemy forces in the northwest, and then attack the heartland of Dajing and make Dajing pay a heavy price. Wu 6 I said coldly. Yes, Commander. Everyone was enthusiastic, but behind the forced march was a test of every soldier's strong nerves. At this moment, they can finally vent their inner anger. They will definitely make these treacherous people pay the price. Even if the people inside surrendered, kneeled down and begged for mercy, or raised the white flag, it was all useless. They wants to completely destroy Dajing's foundation and backbone in one battle. The massacre lasted for nearly 3 hours. The 7th Division's ammunition was almost exhausted. And in the Jing Army's base camp, no one was left standing. Why pick on Day when you can pick on anyone else? You're courting death. Wu 6 I lit a cigarette for himself in a pretentious manner. Be gentle with the results of the battle, and finish off the survivors. Yes, Commander. On the other side, Xia Jun was also attacked frantically by Yi Jun. Li Batao endured the pain of losing his son and deployed his troops. But the effect was poor. After 2 days and 2 nights of continuous attack, they retreated instead of advancing. Under Yi Jun's heavy firepower counterattack, the army was in trouble. In just 2 days, the casualties exceeded 100,000, and all of them were elite troops. Report. Marshal, the enemy is coming around to the rear. Chapter 279, A Great Victory. Li Batao was almost disgusted to death by Yi Jun's tactics. They launched an all-out attack, and the army was supposed to gather outside Diaxia Pass, but they were hard-pressed to repel them. This has resulted in them being caught in a dilemma. After shrinking the front line, Yi Zheng's roundabout tactics were simply terrifying. There were 500 people in each battalion, and more than a dozen combat battalions were elusive outside. So he had to send a large number of troops to defend. The consequence of defense is a continuous defeat. These people intercepted and killed the teens delivering food, and even marched 200 miles straight into Biameshu, the heartland of Diaxia. Now he has two choices: retreat and defend. Take a gamble and fight bravely. The latter obviously doesn't work. Moreover, they had run out of grenades and ammunition. The Great Ran transport team not only transported grain, but also gunpowder without supplies. Hundreds of thousands of troops were starving, and the dry food they brought was only enough for one day. Li Batao was very unwilling, but he was powerless. Even if Diaxia cracked the secret formula of gunpowder, the gap between them and Day is huge. The obsolete musket had a range less than half that of the enemy's. Not to mention, the other side also has artillery and various powerful ammunition. Beat them back and withdraw. Li Batao said this very reluctantly. However, when the military order was passed down, everyone felt relieved, and they withdrew their troops at an extremely fast speed. Some people even ignored the weapons thrown on the ground and ran away, wishing they had more legs. The army's morale has been broken, and the situation is hopeless. Li Batao shook his head. They lost hundreds of thousands of elite soldiers in this battle, and also destroyed the confidence of Dai as the overlord for 200 years. He didn't know what the future would be like, but Dai would definitely not give up. However, the army was ambushed by Yi's army on the way of retreat and lost tens of thousands of people before it broke through the siege. The retreat was not smooth, as Yi Zheng had set up a large number of traps along the way. Li Batao suffered a lot of losses. Even if he changed the route, it was still useless. He could only bite the bullet and rush forward. By the time they arrived at BMA State, there were less than 500 people left. Everyone was exhausted, and every time they thought they had shaken off their pursuers, the enemy would suddenly attack them. It's driving them crazy. But when they arrived in BMA State, the situation there was horrible. There were corpses everywhere. As people approached, countless flies flew into the sky and flew straight into their mouths. Vultures circled in the sky. Li Batao couldn't describe how miserable it was. He knelt on the ground with lifeless eyes, looking at the corpses of the garrison soldiers, and his whole body was dejected. The people behind him also knelt on the ground, and the army burst into tears. The appearance of the human head memorial was extremely hideous. They faced north, and a flag was erected in front of them, on which was written, "Anyone who openly offends Day will be punished, no matter how far away they are. Your Majesty, we are defeated, completely defeated." Li Batao looked behind him suddenly, and saw the millions of troops coming, so high-spirited. Now, the whole army is in mourning. When we return to Diaxia, I'm afraid the whole country will be in mourning again. At this time, on the other side, Xuanfeng Mountain, Lu Yang was in the cave, lost in thought. Not only was he tortured physically, but the psychological torture almost made him hallucinate. He reminded himself over and over again that he had to stay alive, wait for reinforcements to arrive, and then avenge his brothers. He opened his eyes and looked outside. It's dawn again. It's the third day. How long can I hold on? Without water and food, he will die in 2 or 3 days in the summer. I don't know what's going on outside. My eldest brother should know that I'm missing. He must be worried. Don't let mother know, otherwise she will be sad. Liang thought drowsily that there was no ventilation in the cave and some air seeped in through the gaps. He didn't dare sleep at night because the enemy troops would hide in the stronghold and slack off at night, and he was also afraid that he would snore and attract attention. Usually he would stay up until dawn and then find a rest during this time. They would all go out on patrol. He pricked up his ears and listened, and found that it was unusually quiet outside. Suddenly, he heard the sounds of fighting and violent gunfire. He couldn't help but get excited. It's Babosha's voice. Reinforcements have arrived. The gunshots came from far away, and gradually got closer. More and more screams reached his ears. In the end, the screams were covered by the violent explosions. I don't know how long it took, but there was no sound outside. Liang thought that they might not know he was here, so he tried hard to push the stone above him. However, the stone was too big and stuck too firmly, so he couldn't push it open. He began to shout, but the cave was too deep, so deep that his voice could not get out. He took out his pistol and began to beat rhythmically on the cave wall. There were footsteps above, and the big rocks began to loosen, followed by a dazzling white light shining in, which made Liang unable to open his eyes. When he got used to it, he found that he had been tied up. He was in a trance. Only then did he realize that the people in front of him were not reinforcements at all, but Xi's army. There were no signs of fighting outside, nor any PPS. He was hallucinating. Everything that happened just now was his illusion. Li Yong looked at the ferocious Xia Jun and subconsciously wanted to bite his tongue to commit suicide, but the next moment, a rag was stuffed into his mouth. It's Lu Yong. A huge wealth has finally come to me, no wonder we haven't found his body. I didn't expect him to be hiding in here, hurry up. Send him away. Xia Jun grinned, shaking with excitement. All the Xia army looked at Lu Yong like a delicious lamb, wishing they could slaughter him right now. Lu Yong's heart sank, and he felt that he had let Dazhu and the others down. He became so angry that he fainted. The news that Jing's army was completely wiped out and Xi's army retreated in panic swept across day like a gust of wind. The situation in the country was like a boiling pot, and it suddenly began to boil. All the people ran around to tell each other and celebrated. It was as lively as New Year's Day. Some are happy and some are sad. Day was happy, but the envoys from various countries were worried. At this moment, after hearing that Day had achieved a complete tactical victory, their hearts finally settled. It's over, it's completely over. Day actually defeated the coalition forces of the three countries and annihilated the Jing army. What should we do now? A will definitely settle accounts with us later. Inside the guest house, many envoys were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. They could no longer sit still and walked out of the hotel and came to the square in front of Li Yuan's office. They knelt and admitted their mistakes. But Li Yuan ignored them at all. Li Kuei also looked out the window in despair. Did they lose just like that? 3 million troops, less than 2 months, did they lose so completely? Lianla was also in a daze. Uncle, can we still go home? Chapter 282 Brother. I don't know, Li Kuei smiled bitterly. At this moment, all the conspiracies and plots were useless. He stood up, I'm ready to die. Lianla hurriedly said, Uncle, it's not that time yet. Princess, you are the hope of Deaxia. The worst mistake His Majesty made was letting you come today. If you stay in Deaxia, we will have a chance to catch up with Day in 5 years. Li Kuei sighed. So, you must survive, even if you have to give yourself to Li Yuan. You must survive. I'll go find my sisters, he will definitely have a way, Lianla said and was about to leave. The princess. What happened to my sister? Li Kuei smiled bitterly and shook his head. She can't help you either. A winner gets killed, and the loser gets beat and give up the useless resistance and struggle. As he spoke, he opened the door, knelt down, began to count out 3 times and 9 times, and walked towards the square. Lianla watched everything. Li Kuei didn't understand why, but she could feel the humiliation that her uncle suffered. She couldn't bear to watch it any longer. Uncle, get up. Li Kuei said, Princess, be obedient. No matter what, I will definitely keep you alive. He smiled and bowed devoutly. He just wanted to use this method to protect Lianla. This child is so talented, he is willing to give everything as long as she can return to Deaxia alive. But at this time, Li Yuan was very annoyed. Looking at the envoys from various countries kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy, his heart was filled with tyranny. Winning this battle was expected, but Lu Yong's disappearance and unknown whereabouts became a knot in his heart. There was no trace of him on Shuangfeng Mountain. Either he had been killed in the war and was unrecognizable, or be captured. But Xia Jun did not use this to threaten Day, so the latter had little hope. Let them go if they dare to kneel here and wail again. A will be killed without mercy, Li Yuan said angrily. Liu Su took the order and left quickly. Banggu said worriedly. Chaoyang is a lucky man, he will be fine. Li Yuan took a deep breath and said, I can hide it for a while, but I can't hide it forever. My mother will find out sooner or later. Banggu didn't know what to say. Just at this moment, Lu Qiushin came over and asked, still no news about Chaoyang? We have searched Shuangfeng Mountain thoroughly, they even dug up the corpse pit. But they couldn't find Chaoyang at all. There is no body. It means he was captured, Lu Qiushin said. I don't know, I have already sent people to chase after Li Batao, Li Yuan said. If he's alive? I want him. If he's dead, I want his body. Lu Qiushin nodded. Now that you've won, what are you going to do? Expand the army and take back the conquered territories from the north. Extend more than 200 miles to Biameishu. Extend 300 miles to the west to Weishu, and extend to Xiangbi and Mias in the south. Suppressing his annoyance, Lu Qiushin nodded. In this way, the entire Day territory expanded 3 or 4 times, and the farthest distance exceeded 1,500 miles. I will take care of your mother. You just need to do what an emperor should do. This is a great event and we should celebrate it with all the people and reward the army. This is the result obtained at the cost of the lives of the soldiers. It would be best to capture some prisoners, behead them and offer sacrifice to the heavens to stabilize the world. Li Yuan Qiang forced a smile. Yes, Dad? After Lu Qiushin left, Li Yuan looked at the casualty statistics on the table. In this battle, Day suffered heavy losses, with the death toll reaching 3,000, including the Xiangbi cavalry. The death toll exceeded 10,000, and over 30,000 were injured. That takes the root of elite troops, and each one of them is extremely precious. With 10,000 deaths and more than 1 million killed, this battle is destined to go down in history. The war is not over yet, but the domestic war is far away. Inform the military to prepare to reward the 3 armies and capture some alive to behead for sacrifice. I will reward all my ministers greatly. On the other side, Zhao Jianjia was examining the bodies of injured officers in the military medical camp. A large number of wounded and sick people were transferred to the military hospital. The entire hospital was full of wounded and beds were crammed into the corridors. During the days of training, Zhao Jianjia studied day and night, as if she wanted to use the business to heal the shadows in her heart. She picked up the hang of it quickly, and through lots of practice, she was already able to perform some simple surgical operations. She is adept at cleaning wounds, suturing, giving injections, and dispensing medicines. Here, she was wearing a white dress with a stethoscope hanging around her neck at all times, and no one knew where she came from. Because she is so beautiful, she was also awarded the title of the most beautiful medical worker. As long as she takes action, even the most violent soldiers will obey her. Dr. Xiao, you could have promised me last time that when day wins, you'll let me have a sip of wine. Yes. Dr. Xiao, I'm drooling now, can you let us have a sip? Just a small sip will do. Everyone begged. You can choose between life or wine. Zhao Jianjia put his hands in his pockets and said with a straight face, if the wound worsens, even gods can't save you. Just a small bite won't do. Bullshit, if you keep saying that I'll make you sleep in the corridor. Zhao Jianjia snorted coldly. No, Dr. Xiao, we are all so pitiful. Can you bear to do it? Someone pretended to be pitiful. But Zhao Jianjia took the syringe and injected the man. With it, the man grimaced in pain and said, if you keep talking nonsense, I'll give you 2 more injections. After inspecting the ward, Zhao Jianjia breathed a sigh of relief. Although the days here were busy, they were also fulfilling. It was quite easy to get along with these rough guys, of course. There were also people who were so bewitched by her that they came to her to propose to her. Look, every time she opened the office door, there were a lot of letters under the door. At first, she read them with interest, but she became annoyed by too many of them. She picked up the letter on the ground and swept it into the trash can helplessly. If you have this time, you might as well write more medical records. Zhao Jianjia felt that this kind of life was pretty good. Even if it was like this for the rest of her life, it would be pretty good. At this moment, there was a knock on the door, and the person knocking on the door broke her originally peaceful life. Jianjia, I haven't seen you for many years, you are getting more and more beautiful. Zhao Jianjia looked at the man in military uniform in front of her with a frown on her face. The man had several scars on his face, almost disfiguring him, and the only people who could recognize her at a glance were those close to him. Even fewer people know her maiden name. She stared at the man in front of her, and suddenly a familiar voice flashed through her mind. She trembled all over and shouted in disbelief, second brother. A man took off his military cap and closed the office door. I thought you didn't recognize me. I hope you are not scared by my appearance. It's really you. Zhao Jianjia stood up suddenly and said in disbelief. You haven't you already? He's already dead. Isn't he? It's a long story, the man sighed. Thank you for your hard work over the years. Chapter 281. How ridiculous. The man's name was Xiao Hong, the king of Wu of Daqian, the second prince, and Zhao Jianjia's biological brother. There is something unspeakable about not mentioning him for such a long time. 6 years ago, my father died suddenly. But the truth is that his mental state had been fluctuating in the year before his death. That year also marked the beginning of chaos in the palace. The evil concubine Hu Yuan turned against Xiao Hong and caused cholera in the harem. When the emperor found out, he was furious, and his already poor health became even worse. Later, the treacherous prime minister found evidence from somewhere that Xiao Hong had caused cholera in the palace and demanded that her father kill her second brother. She even begged her father for help at that time. However, at that time, Hu Yuan was in charge of the harem, and as a princess, she had no way of seeing her father and could only kneel outside. Because of this incident, Hu Yuan even forged an imperial decree to betroth Zhao Jianjia to the butcher. If it weren't for Prince Wan, her chastity would have been lost long ago. Later, she was imprisoned in the palace. Unable to leave when she learned about Xiao Hong, she found out that he had been ordered to be executed by her father. Even several princes were implicated, including the third Prince Xiaozi, the sixth Prince Xiao Tai, and the eighth Prince Xiao Shi, who were killed by the treacherous prime minister for forming a clique for personal gain and attempting treason. Later, the true faces of the treacherous prime minister and the evil concubine were exposed, and they attempted to overthrow the country. This is why Prince Wan was appointed to take charge of the country and save the country from collapse. But until now she still doesn't understand why the new party decided to change sides. Retracting her thoughts, Xiao Ji and Jia stood up and kept looking at Xiao Hong. What's wrong with the wound on your face? I scratched it on purpose to protect myself. Uncle Wan saved me, but unfortunately, he could save me but not the third brother and the others. Xiao Hong smiled bitterly. After I survived, Uncle Wan told me to run as far as possible, because the person who replaced me was unrecognizable and attracted the attention of the treacherous prime minister. I left the capital, joined a chamber of commerce to do odd jobs, and did business in the north later. I accidentally followed the chamber of commerce to Biaoyang to do business. Since you know about the changes in the court, why don't you go back? Xiao Ji and Jia asked with red eyes. My forces have been wiped out, and the officials involved with me have also been implicated. What can I do if I go back? Besides, I've been disfigured, so even if I reveal my identity, who would believe me? Xiao Hong smiled bitterly and said, my father passed away. Do you think I don't want to go back? I feel worse than anyone else. I hate myself even more for not being able to do anything. So I thought, it is unrealistic for me to build up a force, because the scar on my face means that I cannot achieve anything great. This is a world where appearance matters. You should understand that. So, I joined the Biaoyang army. Among so many forces. Why is it Biaoyang? Xiao Ji and Jia gritted her teeth. Because Biaoyang is different. It is different from any other power I have ever seen. I know the original Biaoyang county too well. It is a miracle that it has become what it is today. Do you admire Lu Yuan? Xiao Ji and Jia couldn't help but ask as she looked at his face full of admiration. Xiao Hong lowered his head. I know that in your eyes, Lu Yuan is a traitor, but I don't have many choices. Why don't you go help Uncle Wan? It was Uncle Wan who asked me to come here. Maybe you don't know, but I was the one who told Uncle Wan about Biaoyang. Xiao Hong sighed. In such a chaotic situation, it's hard to survive. How many royal family members like us can survive the change of dynasties? Even if they managed to survive, they would still hide their identities. It's not that we don't want the world anymore, it's that the people of the world have abandoned us. He paused, and said dejectedly, water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. Our Xiao family has ultimately ruined ourselves. The people's hearts are lost, unless someone can come along to turn the tide. I am not. And neither is Uncle Wan. He can only protect some people to the best of his ability. And these people are all in Biaoyang. Over the years, they have fled to Biaoyang intermittently under the protection of Uncle Wan, and their number has exceeded 1,000. Xiao Ji and Jia was stunned and murmured, how many things is Uncle Wan hiding from me? He didn't mean to hide it from you. The fewer people who know about this, the better. When you were in trouble in Biaoyang, I was the one who saved you and supported you, Xiao Hong said with a face full of shame. Forgive me for not being honest with you at the time. I know that the heavy responsibility of the country is on you, and it is too difficult for you. But at that time, the country was on the verge of collapse. If those people were not stabilized, the entire royal family would be massacred. Over the years, half of the core disciples of my Xiao family have come here. They took root in Biaoyang, multiplied, and entered various industries. With the support from Uncle Wan, they were able to gain a firm foothold. Even though Xiao Ji and Jia had been through a lot, she was still devastated when she heard these words. Since I became the emperor, I have only seen ghosts. Since you have been hiding it from me, why are you looking for me now? Xiao Hong hesitated for a while and said, you have to know the truth. Besides, my Xiaoclan is leaderless in Biaoyang and we need a leader. Wan Huan is Lu Yuan's child, so you... Oh, I knew it. You came to me only because I am still useful to you. Xiao Ji and Jia laughed at herself. If I didn't have this relationship with Lu Yuan, would I never know until I died that my family had already joined the enemy country and worked for it? Maybe he has already pointed his gun at the people of Daqian. Xiao Chan felt even more ashamed. Ji and Jia, calm down first. This is also for self-protection. A is very powerful and even the coalition forces of the three countries cannot defeat it. It already looks like a hegemon. If Lu Yuan had not collapsed midway, he would have been the overlord of the world and would have ended thousands of years of war in Middle-earth. And so far, he has only one daughter, Huan Huan. There aren't many women around him. If he can give birth to a son, he might be half surname Xiao. That's enough. Xiao Ji and Jia said angrily, get out. I feel sick just seeing you now. You people are full of calculations and conspiracies. You never consider other people's ideas. You always hurt others under the banner of doing good for others. I tell you, don't treat Lu Yuan as a fool. If he was really that easy to fool, Day wouldn't be where he is today. Also, even if I really am in a relationship with Lu Yuan, I can't possibly scheme against him for your sake. Husband and wife are one, and you, my brother, just want to gain a higher status through me. She looked at the military rank on Xiao Hong's shoulder and said, after so many years and Day, you are only a platoon leader. It shows that you are not brave on the battlefield. You don't go to help Uncle Wan. Saying that Uncle Wan doesn't allow you to do so is just an excuse. A is so safe. Surrounded by high walls, not to mention a 1,000,000-strong army. Even the coalition forces of the three kingdoms cannot break through. It's very safe. Xiao Jianjia's eyes were full of ridicule, and she used Xiao Hong's words to mock him. How ridiculous. To this day, she still acts like a fool and is being schemed against completely. Tell me, what is true? Chapter 280 to Lu Yuan. You are lying. Seeing Xiao Jianjia's collapsed look, Xiao Hong sighed. I'm sorry. Jianjia, I know it's hard for you to accept, but I didn't mean to plot against you. You should calm down first. If you figure it out, come and see me. Xiao Hong left. Xiao Jianjia just felt cold all over. From the very beginning, she was surrounded by calculations. What was wrong with this world? An indescribable feeling of fatigue came over me. After finally getting off work, Xiao Jianjia dragged her heavy body back to the Lu mansion, but she still had to cheer herself up and face her children with a smile. Mom, are you unhappy? Huan Huan, who was playing with building blocks, noticed that something was wrong with Xiao Jianjia. He quickly threw away the blocks, walked behind his mother, and gave her a back massage. Xiao Jianjia smiled. Perhaps anyone would plot against her and use her, but not a child. Mom is just a little tired from work, she will be fine after a rest. Then Huan Huan, tell daddy to find a new job for mom, okay? Huan Huan said. Mom is working so hard, it will be very tiring if she has a brother, so it's better not to have a brother. Huan Huan doesn't want mom to be so tired. Xiao Jianjia was somewhat touched. This damn girl wanted brothers and sisters. Even in her dream she didn't expect that she could actually say such words. Mom is not tired. Being pregnant for 10 months is very tiring. Huan Huan walked aside and stuffed the building blocks into her clothes. Look, Mom. This is what pregnancy looks like. It must have been very hard for you to be pregnant with Huan Huan. Little girl, you've become so sensible now. Xiao Jianjia touched her head, and all the grievances seemed to be temporarily healed at this moment. It doesn't matter if mom doesn't give birth, Aunt Hong will. The smile on Xiao Jianjia's face froze. You stupid girl, how did you know? That's what they all said. They also said that if Aunt Hong gave birth to a younger brother, my father would leave him and become the crown prince. These people don't even know how to avoid talking to children. Xiao Jianjia was a little angry, and then pulled Huan Huan over and hugged her. No matter what, your father loves you. Of course. Daddy loves Huan Huan the most. The little guy held his head high, looking indescribably confident. Xiao Jianjia felt melancholy. Having grown up in the palace, how could she not know the importance of her son? If Honggu really gave birth to a son, she doesn't know. Just then, there was a knock on the door, and then Li Yuan pushed the door open and came in. Did you just get off work? A while. Seeing Li Yuan's exhausted appearance, Xiao Jianjia couldn't help but ask. Have you just finished your work? Yeah, Li Yuan nodded, picked up Huan Huan who had fallen into his arms, and scratched her little nose. Are you happy in kindergarten today? Of course. Huan Huan hugged Li Yuan's neck and kissed him on the face again and again. The father and daughter got together and started talking in private, and even Xiao Jianjia couldn't get a word in. This damn girl is closer to her dad than to herself. Xiao Jianjia felt a little jealous. But when she saw them like this, she couldn't help feeling happy. The victory was just announced today, so Li Yuan must be very busy. But even so, the first thing he did when he came back was to go straight to Huan Huan. Seeing this scene, she was a little dazed. She remembered that when she was a princess, she had fantasized about what kind of man she would marry in the future and what kind of life she would live. After she became pregnant with Huan Huan and suffered all kinds of abuse, she also imagined the scene of the family reuniting. And the scene before my eyes suddenly happened again many years later. He is a good father, Xiao Jianjia said in her heart. Is there something on my face? Li Yuan suddenly looked up. No, Xiao Jianjia was flustered and looked away unnaturally, and said nonchalantly, congratulations, you defeated the coalition forces. Li Yuan was very surprised, and then said, Prince Duan was captured by the Xi army. Although the enemy army was defeated and retreated, the war is not far away, so it will take time to rescue Prince Duan. That's not what I meant, it was just pure congratulations. Xiao Jianjia gathered the hair that was scattered behind her ears. She didn't know why she had to explain, perhaps she had been tricked too much. I know, Li Yuan nodded. I heard that you have a lot of supporters in the military hospital. It seems that this job is suitable for you. Fighting for supremacy in the world is about saving lives. Practicing medicine and curing illnesses is also about saving lives. There is no difference in essence, Xiao Jianjia said. You are right. You asked me to join the military medical camp to reduce their hatred for me. Right? Xiao Jianjia suddenly asked, looking directly at Li Yuan. Isn't that right? That's not important. Li Yuan did not give a direct answer. It's very important to me. Xiao Jianjia has been reflecting on herself these days. Lu Qiushan's last words to her have been echoing in her mind over and over and over again, isn't it? So what if it is? So what if it is? Li Yuan said with a smile, I only have this one daughter, and I don't want others to spurn her after knowing her mother's identity. The reason why he has not revealed Xiao Ji and Jia's identity until now is purely because he is worried about this. Therefore, the name used externally is Empress Xiaoling Xiao instead of Empress Xiao Ji and Jia. More than half of Day's people hated the Empress with a hatred that was based on blood feud. Sure enough, Xiao Ji and Jia bit her lip and said, "Why do you do this? Don't you hate me very much? It's for the children. That's all." "Lu Yuan, you lied. You can think whatever you want." Li Yuan picked up his daughter and let her sit on his shoulders. "Grandma is calling us to eat, let us fly over there in a big plane." Huan giggled. "Mom, come quickly." Xiao Ji and Jia gritted her teeth and chased after him. At the dinner table, Lu Qiuishan kept teasing Huan and raised his glass to congratulate her from time to time. Su Xiuyue also smiled. "That's good, the fight is finally over. Chao Yang should be back in a couple of days, right? My son is in the army, how can he come home every day? We have only driven away the enemy, and we haven't fought back yet. And they allow them to bully him? This time, we must beat them until they are afraid and hurt deep in their bones." Lu Qiuishan snorted. "Mom, don't worry. Once the war is over, I will definitely transfer Xiaoyang back as soon as possible," Li Yuan said hurriedly. Su Xiuyue nodded and said to Li Yuan, "Don't blame me for being nosy as a mother, I just miss my child. It's okay to be with him every day. But I can't help but miss him after not seeing him for a long time. He is expanding the territory for Day out there, and I am so happy for him." Seeing his mother carefully explaining, fearing that he might have misunderstood her, Li Yuan felt a little sad. He raised his glass and said, "Mom, I am also a father and I understand your painstaking efforts. I offer you a toast and swear to you that our family must be reunited at all times." Chapter 283, Senior. Please take action. The next day, Li Yuan passed by the square and looked at Li Kunai kneeling outside. "Has this old guy been kneeling for a whole day and night?" "Yes, not a drop of water has been touched, and not a grain of rice has been eaten," Liu Su replied. "Seeking life? I beg you to spare Lianla's life," Liu Su said again. "Speaking of Lianla, how is Wiyu's recovery going?" "Your Majesty, she is discharged today." Li Yuan just remembered and slapped his head. "I'm so busy, let's go and pick her up." Then Li Kunai, kneel down. He should kneel down, bury him if he dies. Although he would not kill Lianla, he would definitely not let her go. If you don't need it yourself, it's good to give it to others as a reward. Soon, Li Yuan arrived at Biaoyang Hospital. At this time, Li Wuyu was wearing her newest dress and sitting quietly in the ward waiting. However, her gaze out of the window revealed her anxious heart. When Li Yuan came in, she could no longer hold back and stepped forward with a face full of joy. "Slave, I greet your Majesty." Li Yuan looked her up and down. Li Wuyu also let Li Yuan admire him generously, and even turned around. "Your Majesty, have I returned to my previous appearance?" After more than 2 months in the hospital, she finally had a new life. She's recovered very well. She's a little fatter than before. The only one who can compare with her in figure is Mu Rong W. Anking. Li Wuyu smiled and said, "The supplements His Majesty gave me were not wasted." She knew that Lu Yuan liked women with more flesh, so she had to eat 4 or 5 meals a day. "Bo Qian, has she fully recovered?" "Your Majesty, a remaining poison has been completely eliminated, but the patient is still a little weak. He needs to take medicine for 3 months before he can recover," Liu Boqian said with a smile. "Okay, thank you for your hard work." Li Yuan patted his shoulder and said, "The military hospital is short-staffed. Send some people over there to provide support. I know we are short of people here, but there are many serious cases in the military hospital. If we can overcome the difficulties here, we will have more manpower after the medical students graduate this year." Liu Boqian smiled helplessly and said, "Yes." Li Yuan waved his hand and Li Wuyu followed him. Honggu was not jealous. She looked at Li Wuyu's big millstone and said secretly, "He is a good material for giving birth to a son." In the carriage, Li Yuan said, "I don't have enough staff on hand now, so you can be the secretary and share some of the work with Honggu. Just sort out the daily work and hand it over to her." Li Wuyu stared at Li Yuan blankly, as if she had not expected that he would arrange her like this in her subconscious. She was just a person to entertain Li Yuan. "Why, you're not happy?" No, I am willing." Li Wuyu burst into tears. "I was just too surprised. After all, my past identity is there. If you keep thinking about your past identity, you will never be able to get over it." Li Yuan put his hand on her thigh, feeling the feeling carefully. "I understand only by looking straight ahead can I face it calmly." Li Wuyu said very seriously, "Your Majesty, in this life I am no longer a princess of any country, but just Wuyu by your Majesty's side. I just hope that your Majesty will be worry-free and Day will be worry-free." Li Yuan nodded. Li Wuyu was the best candidate at the moment. There were too few people around him, and those who could be trusted were either not good at fighting or had low cultural level. Li Wuyu was famous for her literary talent and Dax's eyes. He often gave advice to Emperor Rexai when she was in Daxia. She had a certain sense of the overall situation, so handling secretarial work should not be difficult for her. He was not afraid of Li Wuyu leaking the secret if someone could leak the secret just by being around him. Then he might as well buy a piece of tofu and kill himself. He glanced at Honggu. Honggu returned his smile and whispered, "That's good. I don't have to hold the pen anymore. It doesn't matter, I will reorganize the court after a while. The secretary is just a transition for now." Li Yuan said, "It is not safe to let female officials deliver the work. Take the Ming dynasty for example. The system of female officials was the most developed, but it was only limited to the harem. These female officials either spent their entire lives in the palace or left the palace when they reached a certain age, in order to prevent them from colluding with people outside the palace." Li Yuan had not yet made up his mind whether to employ eunuchs or to reform the court. On the third day after repelling the coalition forces, Li Yuan cancelled the national lockdown order and economic and trade operations resumed. At the same time, it also attracted a large number of foreign businessmen to settle in Day, and the number of applications received by the immigration office increased by more than 10 times. This also brings new opportunities today. And the other side. The sword master came out of Nanshan and slowly entered the territory of Yushu with one man, one horse, one servant and one sword. The entire Yushu was filled with starving people, and the drought spread from Zongshu to Yushu, leaving 1,000 miles of barren land. After the coalition forces were defeated, Yushu launched a massive conscription campaign, expanding its military to 1 million, which caused widespread complaints. "Master, we have arrived at Prince Xian's mansion," the old eunuch said respectfully. "Send a visiting card," said the sword saint. Soon, the visiting card was delivered. Not long after, Xiaohu and his retainers hurried out of the mansion seeing the sword saint. He was overjoyed. "Senior, you have come to Yushu. I am sorry for not welcoming you in person. Please forgive me." According to the seniority within the clan, he should call the sword saint uncle, but the sword saint does not allow others to call him that. They can only call him senior. The swordmaster got off his horse and said, "Take me to the ancestral hall. I will burn a stick of incense for your grandfather." "Please," Xiaohu quickly made a gesture of invitation. A retainer beside him reminded, "Your Highness." He brought a sword. "You bastard, this is my elder, how could he possibly harm me?" Xiaohu scolded his retainer, looking extremely distressed. Then he smiled at the sword saint and said, "Senior, I am ignorant and I am sorry to have embarrassed you." The sword master smiled faintly, then took off his sword and threw it to Xiaohu. "Then you keep it for me." "Senior, you are embarrassing me." The sword master ignored him and walked straight inside. Xiaohu held the sword and felt relieved, because he knew that the sword master would fall for this trick. He brought the sword saint to the ancestral hall. After burning incense, he said with a guilty look on his face, "Senior, it is my incompetence that failed to take good care of Yunlong. You can kill me or chop me up, I will accept it." As he spoke, he knelt in front of the sword master, crying and sobbing. "If you didn't know better, you would have thought that his parents had died." "Really?" asked the sword master with narrowed eyes. Xiaohu's heart was beating fast. He was just saying a few polite words. Could it be that the sword master took it seriously? But then he remembered that this was Prince Xian's residence, and that the sword saint would never attack him no matter what. So he gritted his teeth and said, "I have failed the senior's instructions. If the senior wants to kill me, I will have no complaints. Everyone, listen to me. Even if the senior attacks, you cannot hurt him in the slightest." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiaohu felt a flash of cold light in front of his eyes, followed by a chill on his neck, accompanied by the sound of the long sword being sheathed. A great fear swept over my whole body. Chapter 280 Forget the dust. The sword master's sword was so fast that even the people around him couldn't see clearly how he drew the sword. Then they saw a red line appearing on Xiaohu's neck. Phew! A large amount of blood spurted out from the wound. "Save me, save me!" Xiaohu covered his neck and fell to the ground weakly, with extreme fear in his eyes. "Your Highness!" The personal eunuch ran forward quickly. The surrounding guards and officials in the palace were all dumbfounded. They never expected that the sword saint would kill Xiaohu just because of a disagreement, and it happened right under their noses. Bald. Court death. The guards and ministers were furious and were about to attack the sword master. However, the next moment, a group of people rushed in from outside, holding crossbows and shot them into hedgehogs. After a few breaths, no one was standing except the sword master and the old eunuch. "Greetings, my lord." Many of them are descendants of those who accompanied them back then. Therefore, he knew everything that Xiao Yunlong did in Prince Xian's mansion. The reason for not taking action was to take the opportunity to temper Xiao Yunlong's character. When people are suppressed to the limit, they will either sink or explode. And Xiao Yunlong is definitely the latter. When he explodes, that's when his skills reach perfection. What about the others? They have all been detained, awaiting the master's decision. A middle-aged man came out and said. The sword master thought for a moment and said, kill them all, leaving no one alive. Yes, my lord. The sword master took a look at the spirit tablet in the ancestral hall and walked out without looking back, dressed in white, still as white as snow. As for the power of Prince Yu's mansion, it was like dirt to him. Sword 1. My lord. A man with a heavy sword on his back knelt on the ground. However, the man was thin, and the sword behind him was wider than his body. The Prince Xin's palace is now handed over to you. Do your best to subdue those people and don't let them cause chaos and harm the people, said the sword saint. Yes, my lord. Unsheathe your sword. The man untied the greatsword behind him. When the tip of the sword directly pressed the floor into 2 pieces. Try your best to search for Yunlong. Yes, my lord. The sword master left Xinshu prefecture and came to Tianlang Mountain, 50 miles away from Xinshu prefecture. There is a small Taoist temple here, hidden among the mountains and forests. There is only one small path going up and down the mountain, and it is rarely visited by people. The door of the Taoist temple was ajar, and an old Taoist priest was sweeping the floor leisurely. When the door was opened, the old Taoist priest bowed and said, Wu Yat Yan Ziyuan layman? This temple does not accept incense. But when he saw who was coming clearly, the broom in the old Taoist's hand fell to the ground, and he hurriedly ran into the main hall, where a Taoist was sitting cross-legged in front of the 3 pure ones. He knelt beside the Taoist priest. Master, the sword master is here. The Taoist priest with his eyes tightly closed slowly opened them, then got up, looked at the old man in the courtyard, and slowly walked up to him. Hello, uncle? The world is in such chaos, is this what you wanted? The sword master looked at the Taoist priest. The chaos in Dakion is not what I want. You are here to worship the 3 pure ones, and the world is at peace? No. Are you at peace? The sword master asked again. The Taoist hesitated for a moment. It's not peaceful. Do you know what's going on outside? I don't know, and I don't want to know, said the Taoist priest bitterly. The sword master picked out some key points and said, the population of Dakion has dropped sharply if this continues. I'm afraid that more than half of the people will die before the chaos ends. Will it be useful if you hide here? Your children and brothers protected you from the disaster. The Shao family lost their dear. And this is the retribution. It is also the cycle of nature. There is no eternal dynasty. The accumulated evils in the world are difficult to reverse. This is in accordance with the will of heaven. Bullshit destiny. I have never believed in fate in my life. I only believe in the sword in my hand in my own way, said the sword saint coldly. Is this what uncle came to talk about today? Of course not. I just happened to pass by here and came to see if you were dead, said the sword master. Although I live in seclusion in the mountains, I am poor, but I work from sunrise to sunset and rest from sunset to sunrise. It is actually happier than living in the palace. You are happy, but did you know that the Shao family is almost extinct? Hasn't uncle already left the Shao family? I just hate the way you evade your responsibilities. If I had known this would happen, I should not have saved you in the first place, said the sword saint. Uncle wants to kill me, just do it. You are unwilling to come out even though you are dead, and you are unwilling to see the world you once fought for? I don't want to. The Taoist shook his head. This is fate, this is a cycle. The Shao family has sown the seeds, and someone will have to pay for it in the end. Selfish. You are saying that I am not a good emperor, nor a good father, nor even a good husband. I am timid and cowardly, afraid of death, and indulge in the mountains and forests, not willing to care about worldly affairs. You don't even care about your dignity. The sword master laughed sarcastically. I just saw through it. Your little daughter was pushed onto the throne by your brothers. He suffered a lot. He had a child out of wedlock and had to flee. She was attacked from all sides in the north, and finally surrendered today. Jianjia? The man's calm expression finally changed. The sword saint said, I don't care whether the Shao family lives or dies. As I said, I just came to see if you are dead. After saying that, the sword master left without looking back. The Taoist priest escorted the sword saint to the door. Goodbye, uncle. I hope that the next time I pass by here, you will be dead. The words of the sword master came from afar. The Taoist's eyes were complicated. Master, don't go out since you have entered the Taoism. Why do you have to be so obsessed? Said the old Taoist priest. The Taoist nodded and sat back down. However, in front of the 3 pure ones, he couldn't calm down for a long time. His name is Wang Chen, and he also has another secular name, Zhao Yan. He is Emperor Shenzong of Dakian. Everyone thought he died suddenly, but in fact, he faked his death and escaped to Tianlang Mountain. Is Xiaochai letting Ji and Jia be the empress? That child is too naive. How can she beat those people? Wang Chen suppressed his restlessness and silently recited the heart-cleansing mantra, but he couldn't calm down no matter how he recited. He suddenly opened his eyes and said, pack your bags. I'm going down the mountain. The old Taoist priest was anxious. Master, once you go down the mountain, you will never come back. If I can't come back, then I can't come back. I've lived these extra years. And that's enough, Wang Chen said. I can't change the situation, but I want to see that child, so I can just look at her from afar. The old Taoist priest stamped his feet anxiously and blocked Wang Chen's way. You have forgotten what the Taoist priest said. If you go down the mountain, it will bring misfortune. Only by staying on the mountain can you have a glimmer of hope. Wang Chen was stunned and remembered what the Taoist said. The urge to go down the mountain was immediately extinguished. He sat cross-legged on the cushion again. Wu Yantian Ziyuan, I dare not forget what Master said. Chapter 285, everyone collapsed together. At this time Bian Jing, Yang Ji held Tianming in his arms and kept teasing him. The little guy is very strong, and if you look closely, he looks 60 similar to Yang Ji. Queen Wang was embroidering at the side at this moment. She had a plump figure and looked indescribably charming. The most important thing is that her belly was slightly bulging. Obviously she was pregnant again. Xiao Yi, who was not far away, pretended to read a book, but his eyes were full of resentment. But he didn't dare show it even when Yang Ji was making love with his wife. He had to watch by the side and even give them a push. The sad thing is that he is no longer able to do it, in the truest sense of the word. He felt increasingly weak and sleepy every day. He realized that this was Yang Ji's doing. He was afraid of death, so he could only try his best to curry favor with Yang Ji. Even when Yang Ji made excessive demands, he still tried his best to agree with him. Okay, don't get tired, Queen Wang said with a smile. This kid is really heavy. Yang Ji let go of Tianming. With sweat on his forehead last month, he made Tianming the crown prince. The next step was to kill Xiao Yi. As for Yang Tao, he didn't kill him. After all, he was his eldest son. But the boy is much more obedient now. Yang Ji called the palace maid, and the palace maid hurriedly took Tianming away. Seeing this, Queen Wang also sighed softly. In broad daylight, are you going to torture me in front of His Majesty again? It would have been fine if she hadn't said anything. Once she said it, Yang Ji became more interested. Your Majesty, come and help. Coming, Xiao Yi quickly put down the book and ran up to the two of them. He was used to such scenes. Your Majesty, I bullied your wife. You won't feel uncomfortable, right? No, that won't happen. Prime Minister Yang is extremely strong. I am as soft as a caterpillar in front of him. Water can only experience bliss with Prime Minister Yang, Xiao Yi said with a smirk on his face. Queen Wang looked at Xiao Yi with disgust, and then flirted in front of Yang Ji. Xiao Yi immediately understood what she meant and acted like an angry person. That's it, Yang Ji's index finger twitched and his interest was piqued. But just as he was about to get on the horse, an urgent military situation interrupted his interest. He looked at the eunuch impatiently. Is there anything more important than me serving the queen? Prime Minister. Yes, it's urgent military information from Biao Yang, said the eunuch. No matter how reluctant Yang Ji was, he had to stop and patted Queen Wang. Go wait on the phoenix bed. Yang Ji took the intelligence and read it carefully. When he saw the news that the Three Kingdoms coalition forces were defeated and Yi's army won a great victory, he was completely dumbfounded. Damn it, that's an army of 3 million strong. They could overthrow Diaxia. But they can't defeat a tiny country. Yang Ji felt really bad, especially since the intelligence said, the Empress Jiuyi presented the imperial seal to Luyuan. The intelligence also included a copy of Daytimes. After reading the newspaper, Yang Ji was so scared that he fainted. It's over. It's over. 3 million troops can't defeat Dai Xiaohu and Xiaoquan. These two idiots have offended Dai to death. This will definitely be blamed on Bianjing. Dai's hand has already reached the north. The next step is to deal with Bianjing. Yang Ji lost all interest. He left the harem quickly after saying a few words and hurriedly summoned all the officials to discuss the matter. And the other side. Chen Jing. When Emperor Jing heard the news that his entire army had been annihilated, he became so angry that he fainted on the spot. Wu Sheng died in battle. Wu Jing died in battle. Of all the marquis and generals, only 1 in 10 survives. The crown prince, the king's uncle, is being held in Dai. Half of the court is empty. Most importantly, this battle destroyed Dajing's 200 years of foundation. The most elite Fu Navy was completely wiped out. Not a single soldier of the Tiger Guards was left alive. Only a few stragglers, less than 50,000 in number, managed to return. The entire court was in chaos. Emperor Jing was finally rescued, but before he could catch his breath, bad news came one after another. Your Majesty, Dai has not withdrawn its troops. It has already entered the heart of our Dajing and is invincible. Wherever it goes, no one can resist it. Emperor Jing only felt a sweetness in his throat and almost vomited blood. The crowd no longer had the arrogance they had before sending out the troops, and all they had was fear and confusion. That's 3 million troops. They were actually defeated. Who else can curb Dai? Your Majesty, what should I do? A Yi army is active in the heart of Dajing. That place is the richest and most fertile land in Dajing. If it is taken away, the consequences will be disastrous. The people around him were chattering, and Emperor Jing felt like his head was going to explode. Everyone, shut up! Everyone fell silent, staring at each other, and no one dared to speak. Emperor Jing rubbed his swollen head. At this moment, he felt more powerless than anyone else. Dajing no longer has the ability to fight even if he recruits another million soldiers. These new recruits are not enough to accomplish anything, and sending them to the front line would only mean their deaths. Moreover, more than 1 million people died in the war, which was equivalent to millions of families losing their backbone. It was an immeasurable loss for Dajing. Dajing can no longer withstand any more defeat. He glanced at the others. And finally his eyes fell on Xi Aning. His eyes lit up, and he looked at Xi Aning, who was in tears. "Aninger, come here." Xi Aning stepped forward, and with red eyes, he asked, "Father, are you feeling unwell?" Emperor Jing sighed. The princes all wished he was dead, and the princesses were all howling without a single tear. Only Xi Aning cried extremely sadly, with worry in her eyes. "I'm fine." Emperor Jing stroked her hair gently. "Aninger, Dajing is experiencing the most difficult time since the founding of the country 200 years ago. Father, is there anything I can do? As long as it can help Dajing solve his problem, I am willing to go through fire and water," Xi Aning said. Emperor Jing sighed and glanced at the others. "You all go down, I'm fine." After driving everyone away, Emperor Jing looked at Xi Aning with a kind face. "Aninger, among all the princesses, you are the most well-behaved and sensible in the blink of an eye. My Aninger has grown up so much, it's time for you to get married. After returning from day, I haven't paid much attention to you, and you have been wronged." "Father, what you mean is, Aninger, you are familiar with Lu Yuan. I want you to marry Day and persuade Lu Yuan to stop invading Dajing. If you can accomplish this, you will be a hero of Dajing," Emperor Jing said. Xi Aning smiled bitterly. She knew it was like this. Ever since she came back from Day, she has been treated with unprecedented indifference, looked down upon by everyone in the palace, and even criticized by the ministers. The funny thing is, in the end, it is still up to her, an ominous person, to solve Dajing's crisis. "Don't you want to?" Emperor Jing's heart skipped a beat and he secretly regretted it. Xi Aning shook his head. "No, I am willing." Chapter 200 Itexus. Welcome His Royal Highness the Crown Prince back to the court. "Really?" Emperor Jing was overjoyed, but he did not show it. Instead, he said with a guilty look on his face, "Aninger, it's your father who failed to protect you and caused you to suffer. Your son understands father has difficulties too." To Xi Aning, Dajing at this moment was not a home but more like a cage. Leaving here would bring him freedom. Not to mention, she went to find Lu Yuan. However, I'm not sure that I can convince brother Lu Yuan. Although I have some friendship with him, he is very principled. He will never listen to a woman like me when it comes to matters of family and country, Xi Aning said. "It doesn't matter as long as you are willing to marry Lu Yuan. I will find a way to do the rest," Emperor Jing said. "Since you are willing, go back and prepare. It would be best if you can key Chen within 3 days. He wished Xi Aning would leave today, but that would be too cold. The sooner the better if there is no problem. I can leave today. Leaving 1 day earlier can save the soldiers from suffering." Well, you are worthy of being my eldest princess." Emperor Jing nodded with satisfaction. "Come here. Pass on the clan order. And my daughter will go back and wait for news," Xi Aning said. Soon, Emperor Jing summoned the clan leader and ministers to discuss the wedding. Not only that, he also wanted to send a team for peace talks. Just as Emperor Jing was discussing how to get Day to stop the war, a disaster was secretly brewing in the palace. In Ning Palace, Xi Aning was packing up. But at this moment, there was a noise outside. "What happened?" Xi Aning frowned. As soon as he finished speaking, a group of eunuchs rushed in from outside and went straight to Xi Aning. "What are you doing?" "I'm sorry, princess. We, your servants, asked you to go to a safe place." These eunuchs subdued Xi Aning without any explanation and then knocked her unconscious. When she woke up again, she found herself flying on a bed. Next to the bed stood a man in black armor. She looked carefully and exclaimed, "Brother Crown Prince, why are you here?" "Aninger, long time no see." Xia Cheng smiled. "I'm sorry to have to put you in such a hurry. I'll let you go after I finish dealing with the things outside." Xia Ning then realized that her hands and feet were tied up. She suddenly had a bad feeling. "Aren't you detained in Day? Why are you here? What do you want to do? Can I help you?" "Just stay here and help me. I'll know what I'm going to do soon." Xia Cheng smiled. "Don't be afraid, it will be fine soon. Just take a good sleep and wake up, everything will be fine." Looking at Xia Cheng's back, Xia Ning struggled. "Xia Cheng, what do you want to do? Come back soon." The door slammed shut and several palace maids stood guard by. No matter what Xia Ning said, they remained unmoved. At this time, outside the palace, a large number of men in black armor were gathering quickly. A massacre was also taking place in the palace. The entire palace was suddenly filled with the smell of blood. Emperor Jing, who was discussing things in the palace, was also furious when he learned that there was a rebellion in the palace. Who is it? I don't know, it seems like these people are originally from the palace. Quickly mobilize the imperial guards to rescue me. Emperor Jing was extremely anxious. He had just suffered a defeat, and already someone was so impatient to launch a coup. He looked gloomy and inexpressibly angry. But what he didn't expect was that the imperial guards did not arrive. But the enemy army broke through 9 gates in a row and directly attacked from outside the palace with the cooperation of the internal thieves. The enemy army approached the Taihe Palace. Thousands of guards guarded the Taihe Palace, but there were more enemy troops. They were dressed in neat black armor, each carrying a crossbow, and even muskets and grenades. The first person he thought of was Day. But then I felt something was wrong. Because he saw an acquaintance. Xia Cheng. Emperor Jing looked at the young man in the lead, trembling all over, and said in disbelief, "Rebellious son, why are you here?" "Father, you have to ask yourself this." Xia Cheng's voice echoed in the Taihe Palace, and the guards and ministers were all dumbfounded. Everyone knows that Day has detained the envoy team led by the prince, so how could the prince appear here? Did the prince not go from the beginning, or why did you come back alone? Where's Wen Yao? Didn't he come back? A strong murderous intent flashed in Emperor Jing's eyes. He subconsciously thought that it was Neon Wen Yao and Xia Ochu looted to catch him off guard, and their purpose was to rebel. Just try and scream, Xia Cheng said. Neon Wen Yao. Get out here, Emperor Jing shouted, traitor, damn traitor. Get out here. He didn't expect that the person he trusted the most would betray him. Don't call me father, my uncle is dead. The crowd was shocked. Emperor Jing's expression also changed greatly. How did he die? He committed suicide. He probably felt ashamed for plotting against me, so he couldn't help but commit suicide. Before he committed suicide, he told me that all this was planned by my dear father. Xia Cheng grinned, his eyes filled with the joy of revenge. Father, oh father, you must be very disappointed that I didn't die. You planned everything, but you didn't expect me to come back alive, right? Emperor Jing's brain was spinning rapidly. See, Hanger, I don't know what the traitor said to you, but as long as you lay down your weapons now, I can forgive you for what happened. You are still the crown prince after 100 years, the throne will definitely be yours. You really think I'm a fool? Xia Cheng said with a smile, I can't wait for you for 100 years, so I ask you to give up the throne now. He cupped his hands and looked at everyone. If you want to live, put down your weapons, kneel down and surrender. And I can guarantee you a life of wealth and glory. If you resist, you will die. Emperor Jing's face flushed red. Don't be deceived by this rebellious son. He is cruel by nature. If you surrender, you will surely die. But everyone around was silent. Xia Cheng came here with great force, and they also had Day manufacturing in their hands, which was beyond their ability to resist. As for who Xia Cheng is, they know it better than anyone else. They all saw the emperor's suppression of Xia Cheng. If the emperor had not abandoned the prince, why would the prince have launched a coup? To them, whoever is emperor is the emperor, so why not worship the prince? Ding! At this time, someone dropped his weapon. Soon after, more and more people dropped their weapons and knelt on the ground. Crash! The guards fell to their knees. Even the ministers were silent. Until one person knelt on the ground, and then the others followed suit and knelt on both sides of the steps, welcomed His Royal Highness the Crown Prince to return to the court. Your Highness the Crown Prince is welcome to return to the court. The crowd cheered. Emperor Jing in the crowd was trembling all over. You. Xia Cheng laughed, so hard that tears came out of his eyes. Father, did you see that? Chapter 287 Usurping the Throne. This is destiny. It is everyone's wish, it is the gift your son gives you. Xia Cheng wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. He had been the crown prince for so many years in fear. But now the clouds have cleared and the sun has risen. From now on, no one will be able to put pressure on him anymore. Lie down on the ground. Anyone who resists will die. Xia Cheng's confidant fired a gun into the air and shouted loudly. At that moment, everyone fell to the ground. Xia Cheng's men rushed forward in a swarm, clearing a path. Emperor Jing tried his best to maintain his dignity. Rebellious son. You dare to commit treason, or aren't you afraid of being criticized by the people of the world? My dear father, have you forgotten how you got the throne? Xia Cheng walked up the stairs step by step, looking at the increasingly flustered Emperor Jing. You are not afraid of being criticized by the world, so why should your son be afraid? He walked to the same level as Emperor Jing at that moment. His father was no longer a mountain that could crush him, but a stepping stone under his feet. You. Emperor Jing was so angry that he trembled all over. You are the sinner of Da Jing. Please ask your father to abdicate. Your Majesty, please abdicate. The crowd cheered. Emperor Jing lost his ability to think at this moment. All his conspiracies and calculations became a joke. He had clearly planned everything, even clearing out Xi Cheng's people. But no matter how much they planned, they didn't expect that he would actually appear in the capital, and even come back with elite troops. You rebellious son, you betrayed Da Jing and became Day's running dog. You have forgotten your ancestors and you will not die a good death. Emperor Jing suddenly came to his senses and pointed at Xi Cheng. You are the sinner of Da Jing. No, father, if you hadn't torn up the agreement and attacked Day without authorization, how could we have brought such a great enemy upon the country? Every inch of the inheritance left by your ancestors that you give away is your sin. Every innocent person who dies is your karmic debt. And I, Xi Cheng, am here to resolve Da Jing's difficulties. Xi Cheng sneered. These words made the ministers and guards lying on the ground look at each other in bewilderment. Xi Cheng already had the upper hand at the moment, and when he heard this, he became even more frightened. The prince's backer turned out to be Day. Today's Day is no longer just Biaoyang, which is just a city in their eyes, it is an unrivaled giant. He is the overlord with the clanging of horse hooves and the domineering attitude. They must all lie dormant until this overlord falls. So, the clan leader knelt down and stepped forward. Your Highness, the crown prince, obeys the will of heaven, and I, Xiaobai, beg your majesty to abdicate. Xiaobai, do you know what you are talking about? Your majesty, I Xiaoyuan, beg you to abdicate. Xiaoyuan, king of Nanyang, the younger brother of Emperor Jing and a powerful king, also stood up at this moment. These two people became the last straw that broke the camel's back for Emperor Jing. At that moment, Emperor Jing was a little dazed, as if he saw the scene of himself killing his eldest brother and forcing his father to abdicate. At that time, my father had the same expression. The betrayal of the people around him made my father so angry that he almost died of anger. It seemed like fate was a cycle, and retribution finally fell upon him. But he did not think he had done anything wrong until this moment. He was still thinking, it must be that those two bitches were not captured for blood sacrifice, otherwise why would I have come to this point? He said nothing, just looked coldly at the people in front of him, until he was carried into the hall and forced to complete the abdication process. And the killing in the palace continued. All the forces that once belonged to the emperor were eliminated, and all those concubines were killed. Of course, Xi Cheng also left behind a few beautiful concubines for his own enjoyment. Finally, there is his mother, Empress Liu. When he knelt in front of Empress Liu in his dragon robe, Emperor Jing realized that the woman beside him had betrayed him long ago. How dare you harm me? You lowly maid. Empress Liu said nothing, but just looked at her son. You promised me that you would not hurt your brothers in the slightest. I understand, Xi Cheng said, but if they don't respect me, I won't just sit there and wait for death. The reason he was able to obtain accurate information and launch a fatal attack was all thanks to the assistance of Queen Liu. Otherwise, it would not be so easy for his people to break into the 9 gates in that time. The army outside the city would have already entered the palace to defend the king. And now, he is the true Emperor Da Jing. After paying homage to his mother, Xi Cheng rang imprison Emperor Jing by the Xuan Wu. Like as for Empress Liu, she was the Supreme Holy Mother Empress Dowager. My lords, calm down the turmoil in the court first. As for the trouble in Da Jing, I have my own way to calm it down. Everyone shouted long live the emperor and praised him for his wisdom. Looking at the people kneeling below, Xi Cheng's heart swelled and he laughed out loud. In the next 2 days, Shenjing was in turmoil. The forces of Xi Cheng's lineage massacred the opposition, and rivers of blood flowed. On the 3rd day, the situation in the capital was basically stabilized. And Xi Cheng issued an imperial decree to change the year to dating, which was praised as the dating of the world. This shows his ambition. What really makes people pay attention is the decree issued by Xi Cheng to form a marriage alliance with Day. This is what can truly win the hearts of the people. Xi Cheng also guaranteed in the imperial edict that he could make Day stop. Although there were many skeptics, the entire people were looking forward to it. A has broken Da Jing's backbone from top to bottom. No one is not afraid of Day. I just want to end this war as soon as possible and return to normal life. After calming the people, Xi Cheng came to the peace palace and looked at Xi Yining, who looked tired, and said, Sister. Xi Yining glanced at Xi Cheng coldly and said, even if you want to start a coup, you shouldn't kill those brothers. And you shouldn't surrender today. Xi Cheng broke his promise. He did not fulfill his commitment to Empress Liu. He successively killed his 2 younger brothers, no less than 8 other princes, and even killed 7 of his brothers-in-law, just to make the government his own. Now no one dared to oppose him. If I don't kill them, they will rebel against me. If I don't stand up, will Da Jing still have a future? Xi Cheng was not angry, and said, you like Li Yuan, but you don't allow me to surrender today. What kind of principle is this? I like him because I want peace between the 2 countries. If you surrender to him, you'd be like a traitor. Betraying your own country, Xi Yining sneered. If I don't bow my head, I will die in day. Do you know how they plotted against me? They knew they were going to start a war, but they still asked me to go today as an envoy. I hate it. Xi Cheng said with a sad face, I am the prince, the heir to the throne of Da Jing, but I was abandoned like an abandoned pawn. Anninger, can you understand my despair at that time? When I came back, what made me even more desperate was that my father had eliminated all my forces. Tell me what is true. What the hell is real? He grabbed Xi Ningsarm tightly, his eyes red as he said, if I have to accept it and die outside, would that make me a good prince? Chapter 288, a distinguished guest from Diaxia. Xi Ning pursed her lips, not knowing how to respond. Xi Cheng let him go and slumped on the ground. I also want a loving father and filial son. And brothers to live in harmony and support each other. Who gives me this opportunity? Everyone blamed me, saying that I had forgotten my roots and betrayed Da Jing. But does Da Jing still have the strength to fight now? If the fighting continues, the entire country will be destroyed. More than 1 million people died. And they were the backbone of every household. If you go outside and take a look, every house is decorated in white. How miserable. If I don't bow my head, who will? Even if it was your father, didn't he ask you to arrange a marriage? How is he doing it differently than I am? It's just that I, Xia Chengming, am a lowly person and I deserve to take the blame. When he abdicated, he was a wise and enlightened emperor, and I was a vile traitor. Xia Ning looked at his depressed brother and couldn't help but squat down. Brother, I will do my best to help. Xia Cheng smiled and said, Sister, I think what Li Yuan said is very true. A country cannot rely solely on sending daughters to protect itself. It's my brother's fault for being incompetent and failing to protect you. But I promise you that one day, I will defeat Day and take you home. Don't fight anymore. Xia Ning shook her head, put on a red veil, picked up a golden fan, and covered her face. Brother, I'm leaving, take care. Today is also the day Xia Ning leaves Da Jing. I'll take you there. Xia Cheng carried Xia Ning on his back no matter how he treated others. He was sincere to Xia Ning. He really loves his own sister. But take good care of mother, Xia Ning said before getting into the sedan chair. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Xia Cheng patted the back of her hand and watched the wedding procession leave the palace. Marriage is just a means to quell the war. There is only one real way to make Day stop the war, and that is surrender. Only by paying annual tributes, paying homage, ceding land, and forming an alliance through marriage could Lu Yuan's anger be appeased. As for Diaxia, let it die. Self-preservation comes first. At this time, Li Jing, Emperor Xie hasn't slept for 2 whole days. He locked his ministers in the palace until they could come up with a solution. Li Batao and his sons were all killed in the battle, and the troops from all directions also suffered heavy losses this battle, not Diaxia off its position as the overlord of the world. And now, A is still sending troops, as if the fight will not stop until one dies. The plans proposed by everyone were all the same old things, such as marriage and surrender. But Day obviously won't fall for it anymore. The country has lost trust, and it will cost a lot to make up for it. Just when Emperor Xie was feeling worried, 2 pieces of good news were delivered to the palace. First, Prince Wan of Daqian was captured. Second, Li Yuan's biological brother, Lu Yan, was captured. The former is nothing. At most, Prince Wan has some friendship with Lu Yuan, but it would be different if Lu Yan was caught. Li Yuan's family is small, and he only has this one younger brother, so how could he not save him? He asked hurriedly, where are the people? Just outside the palace. Quick, bring him in. Emperor Xie rubbed his hands, as if Lu Yan outside was a peerless beauty. Forget it, I'll go there myself. He walked out of the palace with big strides, and jogged to the back, with the ministers, guards, and eunuchs behind him chasing him madly. After a while, Emperor Xie met Lu Yang. Seeing Lu Yang's dusty and haggard face, he was also furious. You bastard, this is a distinguished guest of Diaxia, who told you to treat a distinguished guest like this? The people escorting Lu Yang were stunned. Your Majesty, he is on a hunger strike. Shut up, Emperor Xie glared at the man. Then went over to untie the ropes on Lu Yang. You are indeed Emperor Yi's brother, and you are very handsome, brother Lu. I have finally got you here. Lu Yang looked at Emperor Xie oddly. If you want to threaten me, then your plan will fail. No, Emperor Xie shook his head. You alone cannot influence the outcome of the battle. Lu Yang frowned. It's good that you know. I just admire your courage. Besides, I might as well tell you that if Day continues to attack, I will relocate nearly 10 million people of Day to the border of Day. If you have the ability, kill them all. I will accept my fate. Emperor Xie said it casually, but soon he came to his senses and realized what he said, and he was happy. Li Yang gritted his teeth and said, shameless. How is this shameless? It's just for self-protection, Emperor Xie said with a smile. Our great Xia has the largest territory and the largest population no matter how powerful they is, it can't swallow up all these millions of people in one go, right? So brother Lu, I'm sure you don't want to see the two countries continue to fight and cause great suffering. It was you, Da Xia, who broke your promise first. I Da Yi am only fighting against the unjust. What's the point of talking about friendship between countries? Isn't it all about interests? Emperor Xia said helplessly. How can I allow others to sleep soundly beside my bed? I am also forced to do so. So, it's still Day's fault. That's right, it's this world that's wrong. Emperor Xia sighed. Brother Lu, don't worry, I won't kill you, and I won't use you to threaten Day. I just want to put an end to the war and make peace between the two countries. Liang didn't say anything. He didn't believe a single word of what Xia said. So no matter what Emperor Xia said, he remained silent. The ministers around him all scolded Lu Yan for being ungrateful. Emperor Xia raised his hand to stop them and warned, Brother Lu, from now on you will be a distinguished guest of our great Xia. Anyone who dares to disrespect you will be severely punished. Oh, call Tianzhen over here and ask her to take good care of Brother Lu. Your Majesty. The princess is still unmarried, how can she take care of a stranger like him? Your Majesty, this Lu Yang. Shut up, everyone. Young Master Lu is a distinguished guest of Da Xia, we cannot value him too much. Emperor Xia glanced at those people coldly, scaring them so much that they quickly shut their mouths. Lu Yang frowned deeply. Afterwards, he was forcibly taken away and washed by many beauties. If he refused to eat, he would be held down by these beauties and fed mouth to mouth. Later, an innocent little girl came to him. She smiled beautifully, with two dimples on the corners of her mouth. Hello, my name is Li Yanzhen. Seeing Li Yanzhen, Lu Yang became deeply alert. She said that she was the fifth princess of Daxia and the third legitimate daughter. Li Yang felt more and more that Emperor Xia was ill, as he actually sent his own daughter to serve him. The little girl seemed a little helpless. She held her chin with one hand and pouted. I heard your brother is very capable. My eldest sister likes your brother very much and so does my second sister, but my second sister hates your eldest brother. She said that one day she will pin your eldest brother down and spank him hard. Lu Yang said nothing, and she didn't care. She just kept chattering in his ear. It was fine for a day or two, but after a few days, Lu Yang got annoyed because he didn't say anything and this girl just kept bombarding him with chatter. As the two got to know each other better, Emperor Xia granted them marriage. Chapter 289, Who is Stronger? On the wedding day, Lu Yang did not drink a drop of alcohol and stayed sober at all times. But then Li Yanzhen came in, and he was abused without knowing it. When he woke up the next day, the blood-stained red plum blossoms and the girl with tears in her eyes were lying naked in his arms. The white skin was covered with bruises and red spots. He held his forehead, some fragments of last night flashed through his mind. And he couldn't help but slap himself hard. Lu Yang, you really deserve to die. My lord, you're awake. His Majesty said that if you don't want to enter the palace, you don't have to go. Just have a good rest, said the maid. At this time, the beauty in his arms woke up. When their eyes met, Li Yang felt very embarrassed. He didn't know whether to let go or not. I volunteered. Li Yanzhen said, I'm sorry, I schemed against you, but I don't regret marrying you. Lu Yang thought of his brothers who died in the battle and the innocent person in his arms, and felt mixed emotions. Your father is so calculating. Lu Yang fell weakly on the bed. His eyes empty. Li Tianzhen didn't say anything, but just hugged Lu Yang tightly. Although I am a princess, I have no freedom now that I'm married to you. You are the only one I have. The newlyweds hugged each other tightly. But their hearts were not close. However, on the war-torn front, there was a complete ceasefire at this moment. A negotiation team of Daxia once again came to Liangjing in order to show their sincerity. They also sent Prince Duan over. The leader was Emperor Xia's tenth uncle, the current Prince of Wugong, Li Siyuanjuan. He has nothing much, but a lot of elders. There was also a person accompanying him, Kai Yongshu, who was demoted to the position of Grand Herald. There were not many people accompanying them, but the leaders were all prominent figures. Li Yuan did not show up. It was Lu Qiuishan who was talking when they learned that their son was captured and taken to Daxia. Both father and son were relieved. At least, Li Yang is not dead, which is a great thing. At the negotiation table, Kai Yongshu said, Li Yang has been well taken care of in Daxia. His Majesty admires you very much and specially gave him the sixth princess. He got married not long ago. I believe it won't be long before you, my dear son, return today with your family. Everyone in Day looked at each other, unable to figure out Emperor Xia's thoughts for a moment. Send little Master Lu back, otherwise you will bear the consequences, Wang Daobiao said angrily. May I ask the general, did we abuse Mr. Lu or persecute him? Kai Yongshu said with a smile, the couple just got married and are in love. It's not that we don't want to let him go. It's that Mr. Lu doesn't want to come back. Besides, if our Majesty bullies Mr. Lu, how can he be willing to marry his beloved daughter to him? Wang Dabiao was speechless. The atmosphere of the negotiation was a little subtle. And Lu Qiushan said calmly, leaving aside my son, he cannot influence the war situation. In this battle, you tore up the agreement. The agreement clearly states that those who break their promises will be retaliated by day. Their Majesty has also been deceived by the people of Jing dynasty, otherwise, why would you have repeatedly wanted to marry the eldest princess to His Majesty the Emperor of Day? This time Diaxia is also a victim. Yangshu looked heartbroken. Of course, this is also the bitter fruit of our own making. We accept it and only hope that the two countries can make peace again. At this point, he paused, then changed the subject. But if Day is unwilling and continues to send troops, although we will not vent our anger on the prince consort, it will be very difficult for the prince consort to be caught in the middle. We in Diaxia knew that we were powerless to resist, so we could only move all the people in the country today. The population of our great Xi is not large, only about 100 million. By then, eating, drinking, defecating and urinating will all be done in Day. If Day couldn't stand it, he would kill them all. There are so many people. Even if we use guns to kill them all, it will take several months to kill them all, right? Everyone in Day couldn't believe their ears. Shameless. You bastard, if you have the guts, just move the people here. I don't dare to kill them. I don't believe in GE. Fuck you, immortal Ban Ban. You dare to threaten Day? You're courting death. Day's generals were so angry that their faces turned red and their necks became thick. They rushed to the tables and lay on them, drooling on Kai Yangshu's face. Kai Yangshu slowly took out a handkerchief and wiped the saliva off his face. Of course, we also know that Day is very powerful. If you are willing to support the people of Diaxia, I will be very grateful. Lu Qiushan raised his hand calmly, and the others quickly stopped talking, and the meeting room suddenly became quiet. These people from Diaxia are very difficult to deal with. Moreover, they are well prepared and use courtesy before force, showing the true face of a strategist to the fullest. It can be seen that they really have the idea of throwing the jar into the ground. They better think it over. This kind of home-changing tactic can't scare Day. Lu Qiushan said, believe it or not, Liang Jing gave an order and the Lijing Palace was razed to the ground the next day. Li Siyuanchuan looked solemn and glanced at Kai Yangshu, but still did not speak. Yangshu said, of course I believe it, but the prince consort is still in Lijing. Is the emperor really willing to? Was the prince consort killed in the explosion? Hearing this, Li Siyuanchuan secretly applauded and couldn't help but admire Emperor Xi's methods. This series of tactics, retreating to advance, made Day extremely uncomfortable. Besides, Diaxia also has gunpowder. Although it is not as good as Day, we also have patriotic people in dodging. The worst that can happen is that we will perish together with Day. Kai Yangshu was full of momentum, and he had a vague feeling of overwhelmed everyone. Sending Prince Tuan away, pleasing Lu Yang, and changing tactics are not the key points. The most important thing is gunpowder. This is what Day fears the most. Black powder is not very pure and has little lethality, but what if there is a large amount? It always causes qualitative change. Lu Qiushan saw Diaxia's desperate move. This is the foundation of the first overlord of the three kingdoms. People like Da Qian and Da Jing don't even have the qualifications to negotiate and can only accept it. Submit tribute, cede territory, and pay compensation. From today onwards, Diaxia cannot station more than 1 million rupees, and Day will establish a concession within Diaxia. The concession is not subject to the laws of Diaxia, and troops will be stationed in the concession, but anyone who does something wrong will be punished. In addition, trade between the two countries must be settled in our Day currency, and our Day currency will become the mainstream currency in the world. Lu Qiushan was too lazy to discuss this with him and directly stated his conditions. Everyone on the Diaxia negotiation team was horrified after hearing this. Submission of tribute, annual tribute, cession of territory, payments with indemnity, establishment of leases, change of currency ownership, restriction of garrison. Which one of them is not a clause that is humiliating and detrimental to the country? Impossible. The most you can ask for is compensation and an apology, Kai Yangshu said forcefully. Lu Qiushan said calmly, if you think that you can use Lu Yang to threaten me, then you are too naive. I would rather he die abroad than be the son-in-law of Diaxia. I am his father. And if I say yes, it's fine. No one can threaten his elder brother. If any of the above conditions is missing, there is no point in discussing it. Let us see what happens with our own actions. If you kill my son, I will kill all the people of Diaxia and force a country to pay for his life. Not a loss. My son died a worthy death. Chapter 290, Turning Point of Middle-earth Structure. Lu Qiushan left a few words and led his people out of the meeting room. As for Kai Yangshu and others, they were confined in the room and were not allowed to leave. It was obvious that Day wanted to force them to give an answer as soon as possible. After everyone from Day left, Li Siyuanchuan said, "Brother Kai, Luke Yuishan is tougher than we thought. What should we do?" Kai Yongshu said, "Who is Luke Yuishan? When Emperor Shenzong of Daqian was alive, he was the main force of the reform. When civil strife broke out in Daqian, he retired bravely and lived well. Even Emperor Shenzong died in that civil strife, but he was not harmed at all." A glimpse of the whole picture. His hardness was to be expected. What if they refuse to give in? If we agree to this, Daxia will become Day's plaything from now on. Will Yan still have dignity? What dignity can be discussed between nations? Strength is everything. How can a small nation stand up to a big nation? Isn't that courting death? Kai Yongshu shook his head. If Emperor Raxi Oi had listened to him at the beginning, how could he have encountered such a disaster? Even if Li Yuan wanted to dominate the world, he would not have sent troops so blatantly. Maybe in 1 or 2 years, or maybe 3 to 5 years. With this time, relying on Daxia's foundation, he will definitely be able to catch up with Day. Unfortunately, there is no medicine for regret. So what do you mean? Stop the war first, and rest and recuperate. What Day wants is not the nominal overlord, right? Just give it to him. Besides, they asked us not to station a large number of troops, but they don't have the final say. We have already cracked the secret formula of gunpowder, and we have been patient for a while. In time, when we are fully grown, we will surely defeat Day. But if we hold on now and refuse to give in, we will be the only ones who will suffer. Daxia is a vast country with abundant resources. The strategy of changing homes is just a concept. If it is really implemented, it will not only threaten Day. The country has already rebelled. And that would be the real disaster. There is always a way out in a desperate situation. Daxia should learn from this, and everything is good for Day. Only reform is the only way out for Daxia. Everyone looked at each other, not daring to answer. Li Siyuanchuan was also thinking about it. When he came, the emperor told him the truth, but did not tell him what the bottom line was. The boundaries are very vague. But there is one thing: a ceasefire is necessary. Thinking of this, he gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, let's do it this way. Promise Day that at most I will tolerate it for 5 to 10 years. In the era of 100 nations. Isn't this how small nations survive?" Kai Yongshu nodded, then sat down and closed his eyes to rest. After all, he still betrayed his country. It was also very clear that after signing this treaty, Kai Yongshu would become a sinner of Daxia. An hour later, Day's negotiation team entered the meeting room again. The negotiations went smoothly this time. In order to become a vassal of the Xia dynasty, in addition to the thousands of miles of territory conquered by Day, Daxia also had to cede Dachuan. This Dachuan is the largest horse breeding area in Daxia. And the war horses used by the Iron Harriers were all bred here. This place is also one of the most important strategic points in the southern part of Daxia. After crossing the big river, you will reach the real core area of Daxia. After 7 days of riding, you can reach Lijiang. This time the compensation was as high as 30 million taels of silver. Moreover, the annual tribute must be no less than 2 million taels, and other materials must also be provided, totaling no less than 1 million taels. In addition, A will establish no less than 10 concessions in Daxia. A's concessions will be established in Daxia's most important strategic cities. This move directly strangled Daxia's throat. Everyone hated him to the core, but no one dared to show it. In addition, Daxia's conscription and war preparations must be reported today. Base currency will flow into Daxia's market, while retaining Daxia's currency. Documents were signed one by one. Under the table, Li Siyuanchuan's thighs were crushed. This kind of humiliation made him want to bang his head against his wall and die. This meeting lasted for 3 days. This negotiation was later called the Liangjing Agreement. This was also a turning point in the structure of Middle-earth and had a profound impact on later events. In terms of land area, Day is sandwiched between the 3 kingdoms, and its land area is still the smallest and its population is still the smallest. But as the depth is lengthened, the ability to withstand impact becomes stronger. Moreover, Day has a complete estuary and a large coastline. They have horse farms, coastlines, ports, plains and fertile fields, and Day has thus escaped poverty. After the news appeared in the newspaper, the whole country celebrated. When Liu Yang was captured, the only thing told to the outside world was that the 2 countries were getting married, making a huge contribution to peace. From beginning to end, Liu Yuan never showed up, and the entire matter was handled by Luke Yuishan. Ha Yongshu looked at the busy street and could hardly stand. "Gentlemen, please remember this moment. This humiliation must be washed away with blood." No one said anything, but the scene before them was deeply imprinted in their minds. The hottest days of the year are like a bitter winter for them. As soon as they left, Jing dynasty's wedding party and negotiation allegation arrived in Liangjing. The envoy who sent the marriage was Xie Yuan. the king of Nanyang. Princess, we're here. Xi Yayuan hurriedly got off the horse. Xi Yining lifted the car curtain and said, Uncle Wang, can't we enter the city? You can enter, but you have to undergo a body search, Xi Yuan said with a wry smile. I don't know how many times he searched us on the way here. Does he look down on us like this? Xi Yining was furious. She didn't believe that Lu Yuan didn't know she was here. Didn't he care about their old friendship at all? Be patient. Xia has surrendered to us. Wet on T have the capital to show any disrespect. Xi Yuan was afraid that Xi Yining would lose his temper, so he deliberately spoke very bluntly. Xi bit her lip, but she had a bad feeling in her heart. Could she not send it out this time? If she were deported by Li Yuan again, she would really have no face to live on. While she was being searched, Liu Su came over with her men. Princess Chang Ning, His Majesty asked me to take you into the city. Xi Yining was also delighted when she saw Liu Su. Oh, Sister Liu Su, you're here. She ignored her manners and jumped off the carriage. Where's brother Lu Yuan? Their Majesty is busy. Liu Su groped her body as usual. Xi Yining did not dare to resist. But everyone in Dajing watched with anger. She is the eldest princess of Dajing. How can she be humiliated like this? But what if I'm angry? Who dares to say no? Come with me, His Majesty wants to see you. Liu Su pointed to the carriage road nearby. Then they dismount, take off your armor, drop your sword, search your body, check your visa. As long as they don't cause trouble, nothing will happen, Liu Su said calmly. Oh, Xi Yining nodded helplessly and looked at Xi Yuan. Uncle Wang. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Xi Yuan was secretly happy in his heart. Li Yuan summoned him alone, which meant that the matter was almost certain. He was so happy that he smiled and said, This is Liangjing, the safest place in the world. I am naturally relieved. Chapter 291. Liu Su, full of resentment. Li Yuan is looking at documents at this moment. After Li Wuyu became the secretary, Honggu basically stopped taking care of things. She just fiddled with her weapons every day recently. She got a few special pistols and carried them with her, saying that she would accompany Lu Yuan when he went out so that she could respond to danger at any time. Secretary Wuyu was wearing a secretary OL hip skirt, black stockings on her feet, and gold-rimmed glasses that she got from somewhere, which made her particularly pleasing to the eye. This has made Lu Yuan more energetic at work recently. No wonder the big guys like Xiaomi. Not Xiaomi. Just then, Liu Su came with Xi Yining. Xi Yining, wearing a bright red wedding dress, held up the hem of her skirt with both hands. She was sweating all over when she saw Li Yuan. She rushed up to him without hesitation and asked for a hug. Brother Li Yuan, an Inger missed you so much. Stop. Li Yuan stopped her and said, It's so hot today, I hate not to wear anything. You, Ray, wearing so many clothes. Aren't you hot? Xi Yining rolled her eyes and said, I understand. Ninger will take it off right away. This tiger woman was very quick and decisive. In the blink of an eye, she had taken off her bright red wedding dress, followed by her inner garment. And you could even see the bright red mandarin belly band. Li Yuan was stunned for a moment, but did not stop her. Go on. After you take off your clothes, I will let Liu Su throw you to the square for everyone to see. Honggu made a sound of cutting. 2 ounces of meat is not even as big as mine, and you still have the nerve to show off? After the taunting, continue wiping the pistol. Li Wuyu straightened his back and buttoned the brass buttons on his heavy-duty shirt, saying, Washboard, long time no see, you Ray still so reckless. Xi Yining looked at Li Wuyu and was also confused. Why are you here? I am your Majesty's secretary now, assisting your Majesty in handling official business. Li Wuyu glanced at her. This is an important office. Ray, look at your dissolute behavior. Isn't it shameful? Xi Yining's nose was crooked with anger. Mother Lu Yuan, why can she be your secretary? Li Wuyu straightened his chest and looked at her with contempt. Is there any need to say this? Xi Yining was very angry. She had checked all the way here, but she didn't expect to see Li Yuan and be ridiculed. She couldn't hold it in anymore and said with tears in her eyes, Brother Li Yuan, have you been blinded by this vixen? Li Yuan held a cigarette between his legs, smiled and shook his head. These women were not easy to deal with. Stop howling. Tell me, why did they come again? Come and give birth to your children and be your wife. Xi Yining walked to Li Yuan's desk and lay on, and Li Yuan didn't even have to lower his head to take in the whole view. The playful, this woman seems to have grown up. Brother Li Yuan, you must not send me away this time. Otherwise I will be too ashamed to live on. Xi Yining held Li Yuan's hand and pulled him over. The touch at that moment made Li Yuan's heart flutter. Li Wuyu gritted his teeth and said, Slut. Honggu narrowed her eyes, not decent. Liu Su was the most aggressive. She walked up to her and grabbed her ears. Come here and be quiet. Ouch. Xi Yining cried out in pain. Tears immediately fell. She covered her ears. Tears as big as beans kept flowing. Sister Liu Su, what are you doing? I'm not happy with you, Liu Su said angrily. She accepted that Honggu had an affair, And she also accepted that Li Wuyu was her secretary after all. She was the eldest princess of Diaxia, very talented, and could help His Majesty. But why does Xi Yining do that? Xi Yining felt very aggrieved. Brother Lu Yuan, please say something. Li Yuan was in a big trouble if he continued to let them make trouble. Someone might get killed. Damn, why can other time travelers have wives everywhere, each one more obedient and sensible than the other? When they get to him, each one is more disobedient than the other, and each one is more individualistic than the other. 100 minds. What? Li Yuan did not help either side and wanted to let her know who was the big and small king. He can't afford to offend Honggu. Li Wuyu is so obedient. There is no need to worry about him. And he didn't dare to offend Liu Su, who was full of resentment. Support me. Xi Yining pointed at his ear. Look, it's swollen. Liu Su grinned. If you keep on making noises, I'll chop off your ears. Honggu threw the knife in her hand to Liu Su. Don't be soft-hearted. I hate people who are troublemakers the most. Chant again. Liu Su pulled out the knife and said, this knife is very sharp. Just bear with it, it won't hurt in a while. Brother Lu Yuan, it's okay. Liu Su's swordsmanship is very good. If I say will cut off one of your ears, I will definitely not cut your neck, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Xi Yining's face turned pale. He glanced at Honggu, then at Li Yuan, who seemed to be indifferent to the matter. Blop. She grabbed both of her ears and knelt down in front of Liu Su. Sister Liu Su, I was wrong, I will never do it again. She felt aggrieved. Wanting to cry but not daring to, she pursed her lips tightly and sniffed continuously, like a punching bag. She sheathed the tasseled knife and said, remember, when you serve His Majesty in the future, you must be more attentive and don't do useless things to me. If you dare to do anything bad, I will chop you off with one knife. Liu Su, you're a girl, don't call her old lady. Pay attention to your image, Li Yuan reminded her, be more ladylike. Yes, Your Majesty. No, Sister Liu Su, I'm very good. Xi Yining blinked her big eyes. Okay, stop scaring her. Li Yuan waved his hand. Get up, everyone here is your sister from now on, you have to respect them. I understand. Brother Li Yuan. Call in Your Majesty, Liu Su scolded. Xi Yining trembled all over and said reluctantly, I know, Your Majesty brother. Liu Su was so angry that she was at a loss for words. This woman was really good at acting like a spoiled child. She really wanted to chop her into pieces and feed her to the dog. She couldn't help but doubt herself. I was the first one here, but why haven't I succeeded yet? Is it because I am too rough and can act like a spoiled child? Xi Yining wiped her tears and stood aside obediently. She knew that she had successfully stayed in day, and this time, Li Yuan would not drive her away again. Wu's son, go get her a decent set of clothes. Yes, Your Majesty. Soon, Wu's son brought out a standard skirt that was neither too gorgeous nor too ordinary. At this time, a servant came to report, Your Majesty, the Dajing envoys have entered the city, and Nanyang King Xi Yuan wants to see you. No, let the person in charge of the Honglu Temple go to meet him and negotiate. Li Yuan waved his hand. Xi Yicheng had already seized the throne, and his letter arrived a few days ago. Behind Dajing is Day's back garden. Ceding territory and paying compensation, becoming a vassal and paying tribute, and setting up concessions are just basic operations. Unlike Diaxia, who recognizes Day as his brother, Dajing directly recognized Day as his godfather and became a vassal state of Day. It is no exaggeration to say that Dajing will be a dog at Day's feet from now on. Chapter 290 to Father and Son. There is no news from Da Qian yet, and Li Yuan doesn't have time to deal with them in the short term. Next, he would hold a ceremony to worship the heavens, a registration ceremony, and also redefine the country's regions. After all the work, Li Yuan did not take Xi Yining home, but let her stay in the guest house first. The necessary procedures must still be followed. After all, they are acquaintances and due respect should still be given. After returning home, Li Yuan did not go to find Huan, but came to Lu Qiwishen's study. Dad, are you writing an article? Well, there have been a lot of major events recently, and the newspaper office is very busy. Day's foundation is still too weak, and there are too few literati. Lu Qiwishen said with reading glasses, I want to discuss something with you. What's up? Our Lu family is now prosperous. How about moving the Lu clan today? I know you hate clans, but at the moment, we have too few people available, and the control over the people below is not strong enough. Lu Qiwishen poured a glass of water for his son and said, if the entire Lu clan comes, we will have more people available and can balance the forces of all parties. The war is far from over, and recently many families have surrendered, such as the Wang family and the Zhu family. Even if you don't allow clans to band together, can you stop them? Li Yuan took out a cigarette, lit it for Lao Lu, and said with a wry smile, no, or it will be difficult to do in a short period of time. Dai's territory has expanded more than tenfold, making it stronger, but it has also infinitely magnified our weaknesses. So it is right to cease fire now. We need time to digest the results of the war, and unite the national spirit and people's hearts. But Dad, when we were in trouble back then, not a single one of them stood up to speak for our family, said Lu Yuan. This is my fault, Lu Qiushan said. When I heard the rumors, I immediately told them not to talk and to sell their property and move out, otherwise, your father would live. But they would die. I am alone and pose no threat to them, but if the Lu family unites to resist, they will surely die. Even Emperor Shenzong was dragged into that turmoil among the 18 scholars who participated in the reform. I was the only one who survived. It's not because your dad is lucky. It's because your dad knows how to adapt. Do you understand? Li Yuan was stunned for a moment. I understand. But Dad, if I use the Lu family and then disintegrate them in the future, wouldn't that be killing the donkey after it has done its work? If you become rich and powerful, don't forget your relatives now that you are rich and powerful. If you don't recognize your relatives, will others say that you are good? No, Li Yuan shook his head and smiled bitterly. In this era, abandoning the clan is equivalent to being a tyrant. Although you are still young, you are the only daughter of a man. Everyone hopes you will die if you have a headache or fever. The whole country will suffer from the cold. In the past, Day was small, just a city. So there was no need to consider these things. But now Day is a big country, and the best way to stabilize people's hearts is to have prosperous descendants and clans. You don't have to do anything. Just pick a lot of talented people from your Lu family. Anyone who has bad intentions must be carefully considered. People want to target you, but even if you die, you still have descendants, and this country still has hope. Do you expect Huan to bear all this? Not to mention whether he can bear it or not. Have you ever seen an empress who can rule the country for the second time? It would be fine if Huan was only 16 or 17 years old, but she could still marry into the family. But she's only 6 years old. Lu Qiushan sighed. You want to eliminate the clan, but that doesn't stop you from using the Lu clan if you want to overthrow the clans in the world. You must first become the largest clan. Because you are the emperor, everyone will take it for granted. A royal family's mission was bestowed by generations of emperors and is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. And I also believe that you can find a way to restrict the royal family. Li Yuan's pupils shrank, and he was deafened. He has been trapped in a misunderstanding all along. That is to look at the world from the perspective of modern people. I always feel that the elimination of the aristocratic families must start with me. But in fact, the emperor was the biggest landlord in the most powerful family. Thank you for your advice, my son. Lu Qiushan smiled and said, it's good that you can listen to it. Think about those emperors who didn't have a noble birth and tried every possible way to blackmail and find a noble ancestor for themselves. Although my Lu family has never produced an emperor, our ancestors did have princes and ministers. If you want to ascend the throne, you must recognize your ancestors, right? The clan, the ancestral laws, are a double-edged sword. You must first become the one holding the sword before you can swing it and kill everything. Son, I understand, Li Yuan nodded. As I said before, only by taking more concubines and having more children can they be stable. Jia is the best child, and she was chosen in one try. If you work hard, I will be able to hold my grandson by next year at the latest. Li Yuan said with a bitter face. Dad, you said so much, but this is the most important sentence. I don't care about anything else. I like Jia very much, no matter what her previous identity was. It's all based on my stance. After you ascend the throne, you must give her a title. If you call her Madame Xiao, people will laugh at you. My Princess Day's mother is actually a woman without a proper status. If this gets out, who will look up to Huan in the future? Li Yuan was speechless and could only bite the bullet and say, you can't force feelings, I'll take care of it. It's the parents' orders and the matchmaker's words. If you don't listen to me, you are unfilial. Lu Qiushan raised his eyebrows. If you say it again, I will kneel down in front of you. I want to see if you can bear it. Li Yuan's forehead instantly broke out in sweat. He had a smart father who was flexible and adaptable. Who could resist him? Don't kneel anymore, I'll kneel for you. Li Yuan knelt down as soon as he said so, which confused old Lu. I was just kidding you. Did you take it seriously? Dad, please take the throne at the coronation ceremony. Li Yuan said, we are just father and son here, so there is no need to talk nonsense. It is because of you that I exist. So you have to come first to be the emperor. Lu Qiushan looked at Lu Yuan and couldn't help laughing, pointing at him and said, you are filial, but I am not interested in the throne. I can become the emperor in this life. And I can get a temple mine after my death. I will wake up laughing in my dreams. When I meet the ancestors of the Lu family in the future, they will all come to pay their respects to me. What more bicycles? Of course, we still have to not overstep our bounds and etiquette and rules. If we set a bad precedent, the consequences will be disastrous. Lu Qiushan stroked his beard and said, How about this? I will ascend the throne on the same day and abdicate on the same day. The reign title before ascending the throne will be mine, and the reign title after ascending the throne will be yours. This way future generations will not say that you are unfilial. I am sorry to wrong you. You built this world by yourself from scratch, but you still have to rank behind me. He helped Li Yuan up, his eyes full of relief. Dad, I really, no need to say more. It is my blessing to have a son like you. He patted his son's shoulder and said, be a good emperor and take your father to the top of the mountain. Chapter 293 Wobing's Choice. The father and son talked long into the night, discussing the formation of the day court. In the end, they decided to continue using the 6-department system, because this system is currently the most suitable for Day, and is also convenient for centralization. What Day wants now is to attack wherever he wants and to concentrate all power in one person. Talking about freedom and openness now is simply destroying one's own walls. Only when Lu Yuan's prestige reaches a certain level can he freely make the big leap into the shape he wants. There must be eunuchs, there cannot be only women in the palace otherwise. With more yin than yang, the princes raised will inevitably be indecisive. They depend on the imperial power, although they are physically disabled and mostly have psychological problems. Sometimes they can become the key to balancing the various parties. If the Daqian unit party was still around, the new party might not be so rampant. Lu Qiushan dusted off his cigarette ash and said, I know you want to make reforms, but you can do it slowly, a little bit every year. In 10 years. This country will become what you want. Li Yuan nodded. Son, I understand. Separation of the military and politics is a good strategy, but the most powerful killer move is to exempt grain taxes. Lu Qiushan said inferently, no one can learn it, let alone surpass it. You are right, Li Yuan said. Day has high-yield grain varieties. We will be completely self-sufficient next year. However, we cannot exempt grain taxes for just one bunch. We should start with a tax of 1 in 20. Or even 1 in 30. Lu Qiushan nodded. Governing a big country is like cooking a small fish. Remember, don't be impatient. After leaving the study, Li Yuan couldn't help but stretch. Your Majesty, Sister Wu has cooked a midnight snack for you. It's so late and she's been waiting? Yes. Wu Sun replied. When Li Yuan arrived at the main hall, he saw Wobing sitting on a chair, her chin resting on her left hand, looking drowsy, while her other hand was against the wall of the bowl, fearing that the midnight snack would get cold. Sister Wu. Your Majesty, Sister Wu stood up hurriedly. I made you a soup with longan and lotus seeds, which is the best for nourishing blood and calming the mind. Didn't I tell you that you don't have to wait for me if it's too late in the future? Li Yuan pulled Wobing to sit down, rubbing his fingers on the back of her hand. Wobing was in her early 30s. The most charming age for an upright woman. Although she was wearing a plain robe that even wrapped her neck tightly, she was indescribably attractive. Feeling Li Yuan's movements, Wobing quickly pulled her hand back, lowered her head, and said, Your Majesty, the soup is just the right temperature. It won't taste good if it gets cold. Wobing has low self-esteem. She is the widower of her husband and son. As an unclean woman, it is a great blessing for her to be able to serve Li Yuan. How can she dare to expect more? Come and eat something with me. Li Yuan pulled her over and served her a bowl of soup. Your Majesty, this is inappropriate. Sister Wu, if I become the emperor, will you distance yourself from me? No, Wobing kept shaking her head. It's just. Remember this, no matter what my future identity will be, in my eyes, you are the best big sister. Over the years, no matter how late I stayed up or how tired I was, I knew that when I got home, there would always be someone waiting for me with a bowl of steaming hot supper. Li Yuan held her hand again. But Wobing couldn't help shaking her head. These are what I should do. I am a jinx who brings bad luck to my husband and children, and I don't deserve such praise from Your Majesty. Your Majesty, please don't get too close to me in the future. To avoid gossip from others. Seeing her sad face, Li Yuan couldn't help but say, I am the emperor. If I say you are a good man, who dares to say you are a deadly star? It's been so many years. If you wanted to overcome it, you would have done it long ago. Why wait until now? On the other hand, over the years, my business has been thriving and there haven't been any problems at all. Besides, how can a little woman like you control the destiny of our day? If this is true, Day is too fragile, and I, the emperor, am too useless. Come, sit down and have your soup. If you keep talking like this, I will get upset. Wobing looked at Lu Yuan gratefully. That won't work either. I am a servant and you are the master. How can I sit at the same table with you? You are not a servant, never have been. He let her sit directly on his lap. Wobing felt uncomfortable all over and froze there. Ongu, who was sitting on a plate, suddenly laughed and said, Sister Wu, you were not like this when you advised me. How come you are not like this when it comes to you? On Your Majesty, please don't laugh at me. Wobing blushed so much that even her ears were red. She was an experienced person, But she was extremely conservative when the barbarian soldiers wanted to take her by force. She would rather die than surrender. Ongu served Lu Yuan a bowl of soup and said, "Your Majesty, you can accommodate Li Wu Yuan Xianing, so you must not let Sister Luo down." "I see." As soon as she finished speaking, Luo Wobing struggled to get free, knelt on the ground, and said with red eyes, "Your Majesty is willing to take a fancy to me. I am very grateful, but I once told myself that after I avenge my husband and children, I will never marry in this life. It is I who have spoiled your Majesty's mood, and I am willing to accept the punishment." Ongu frowned. "Sister Luo, why are you doing this? Even if you want to observe mourning, 3 years is enough." Li Yuan also lost his appetite immediately after helping Luo Bei up. He sighed, "Forget it. I was too reckless and didn't consider your feelings. Since you don't want to, then I won't force you." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Luo Wobing said as she was about to kneel down again. Li Yuan held her back and said, "Sister Luo, since you don't want to follow me, then we can still do as before. I will treat you as my sister and continue to make clothes for me at midnight in the future. How about that?" "I couldn't ask for more," Luo Wobing said. Lu Yuan nodded, then sat down and ate his midnight snack with a look of gusto. Luo Wobing also stood aside with her hands hanging down, not knowing what she was thinking. After eating and drinking, Luo Wobing took the bowl and chopsticks downstairs. Ongu said, "Don't be upset. I can see that Sister Luo doesn't dislike you, but she is too chaste and can't get over it." "Maybe," Li Yuan said. "Today's incident also reminded me that it is inevitable to become arrogant after becoming an emperor. Even if you are the emperor, you cannot manipulate or play with other people's feelings. Luo Wobing is a delicious dish, but it tastes best if you eat it willingly." But now, he didn't have the energy to talk about these things. They were just a spice when he had nothing to do. Ongu took his hand and whispered something in his ear. Li Yuan was delighted. "Really?" Ongu blushed and said in a whisper, "It's fake, okay?" Li Yuan smiled, picked her up and ran back to the room quickly. Recently, Honggu, who has always been thin-skinned, seems to have come to her senses and is willing to cooperate in everything, making Li Yuan a little reluctant to leave. She has been practicing martial arts since she was a child and has excellent physical fitness, so she can handle all kinds of difficult challenges with ease. And tonight Lu Yuan will experience a different kind of happiness. Chapter 294, The Provincial System and the Distribution of Wealth Among the People. The coronation ceremony is scheduled for September 8th. Li Yuan couldn't help but think of the sentence, "Wait until September 8th of next year. When my flower blooms, all other flowers will die." He asked Blind Chen, "Is this really possible?" "There is no better day this year," Blind Chen said. "I asked for divination, and it said a hidden dragon ascending to heaven." Li Yuan decided to trust him, and immediately summoned all the ministers to hold a meeting. All the military officials were dressed in their best clothes for the trip. Seeing this, Li Yuan asked, "Aren't you hot?" "Your Majesty, today is a big day. No matter how hot it is, you have to dress smartly." "Yes, we have worked so hard for so long. Just waiting for this day." The rough guys below had their mouths stretched to the back of their ears. The war is over, the credits have been settled, and they are going to become prosperous. Li Yuan hurriedly asked someone to turn on the industrial fan in the hall and said, "I called you here mainly to announce some things, as well as some appointments and personnel changes." Everyone straightened their backs. At the side, Lu Qiushan was sitting on the dragon throne on the left, looking at his son in a red and black dragon robe, and he was filled with emotion. Li Yuan had the document distributed, with each person receiving a copy. They will establish 6 new ministries, but will not appoint a prime minister. The Ministry of Personnel is not responsible for the promotion of military officials, but only for the promotion of civil officials. The Ministry of War was no longer responsible for soldiers and wars, but was instead responsible for governing the country's city defense forces and guard agency. At the same time, all 6 ministries were promoted to first-rank departments, and the ministers of each department were promoted from first-rank positions. Everyone looked through the documents very seriously, as they concerned their future. The power of Day's civil servants is weak, far inferior to that of the military. He stepped out and said, "Your Majesty, if the military loses its grip, how can it be controlled? It is clearly written in the document that although the military and politics are separate, they are inseparable and are managed by the Military Administration Department. You cannot interfere in internal affairs, you cannot interfere in local governance, and anyone who crosses the line will be charged with treason." Li Yuan glanced at Wang Dabiao and others. Those who were swept by him felt a chill on their backs and lowered their heads. Of course, if there are problems in a local area, local officials can apply to their superiors to request the deployment of soldiers. On weekdays, if there is no war, the city defense troops and the security department are enough to maintain local law and order. The reason for leaving behind the city defense army and the guard department is to make up for the shortcomings of the army and, to a certain extent, to restrain these people. Everyone nodded. This was a good system. At least the local officials had people available under their command. Your Majesty, is Day going to change the county system? Cao Wei and Hu looked up suddenly. Others were also discussing this for thousands of years. All countries had governed the world with the county system after the three kingdoms came into being. This division was more suitable for governing the world. Lu Yuan said. Provinces are set up, and provinces are divided into urban areas. Cities are divided into two categories, and below them are counties, towns and rural areas. What Day wants is for the imperial power to go to the countryside and for control over the grassroots. All imperial edicts and strategies must be transmitted to the grassroots level as quickly as possible so that the common people of the world can understand the imperial court's movements. To prevent local officials from deceiving the people, Cao Wei and Hu took a breath of cold air. Anyone present who had a bit of knowledge knew what it meant for imperial power to go to the countryside. Your Majesty, does this seem like excessive control? The speaker was an official of the Wang family named Wang Zhu. After the Wang family moved away, Li Yuan, in order to appease the people, symbolically promoted several people in addition to Wang Jingdi. What is over control? Li Yuan asked back. Since ancient times, villages have been governed by village elders and local prominent families. This move can not only educate the people in all directions, but also assist the court and better govern the local area. Bullshit, what are you talking about? Village elders and prominent families. Wang Dabiao cursed. What else can those people do besides deceiving the people? It would be fine if they just collected rent and exploited the people, but relying on having a few books and a few literati at home, they could do whatever they wanted and act tyrannical. I have never believed in this. Here, no matter whether you are male or female, old or young, rich or poor, as long as you have a desire to learn, everyone can learn. Children of school age must go to school, and even adults can attend literacy classes and night classes, which are open to all. Do you still want to deceive the people? Don't even think about it. That's right. Local tyrants, prominent gentry, it's all nonsense. Don't believe in it. Many people started cursing, especially the civilian officials who were promoted by Li Yuan, who glared at Wang Zhu. Wang Zhu gritted his teeth and said, am I wrong? If Day wants to unify the world, does it have to rely on those peasants? Wang Dabiao spat in his face and said, you bastard, what you eat, drink, use, and wear, all of them were given by the peasants. Wang Ji wiped his face and looked at the big snot on his hand. He was almost angry to death. You. Barbaric, conservative. Li Yuan patted the documents on the table and said, I've already said that the military and politics should be separated. And the military should not interfere in internal affairs. Wang Dabiao immediately stopped talking and said, Agreevely, Your Majesty, I just can't stand this guy. He keeps calling me a peasant who has no noble family and his 8 generations of ancestors. Don't swear. Li Yuan glared at him, then said to Wang Zhu, don't bother with this rough guy. However, your suggestion is good. But the land in Day is state-owned and collective. Even for prominent families, land is divided according to population. If you have a urban household registration in the city, you will not get any share of the land. Only those with rural household registration have access to fields, land, mountains, forests, ponds and allotments. Anyone who dares to encroach upon state-owned land will be severely punished. Moreover, after Day implements the provincial system, it will build provincial roads, municipal roads, county roads, and even township roads. Every village should have roads, every county should have roads, and even more so every city and province should have roads. Wang Zhu was stunned. He lowered his head and thought, as if he was thinking about the loopholes in this measure. Your Majesty, isn't it putting the cart before the horse to divert a large amount of resources to the countryside? Zhu Yi of the Zhu family stepped forward and said, you asked a good question. Emo said, the resources of the town are essentially transported from various lower-level areas, just like the meridians of the human body. So whenever a disaster occurs, most of them start in the countryside. These people without permanent property depend on the weather for their livelihood when faced with natural disasters or man-made calamities. The luckier ones still have some surplus food to fill their stomachs. The bad ones can only sell their children and land to landlords, hoping to survive. However, they have no ability to resist risks, so once the grain tax is not enough, the people below will plunder grain on a large scale to ensure the stability of the superior area. It's a vicious cycle. It was fine in peacetime, but now is a time of great strife. The people of Day have enough food and clothing, but the people outside cannot even afford a decent set of clothes. To share wealth with the people is to treat them well. It also increases the country's foundation and ability to resist risks. Only in this way can they be able to laugh and talk in peace when encountering any disaster. Chapter 295, What a bummer. Zhu Yi frowned. After being in Day for so long, he still felt uncomfortable, especially Day's strategy, which was very strange. He didn't believe it at first because they didn't welcome the aristocratic families and instead valued the common people. But now, he believed it. May he ask? Your Majesty, who will you rule the world with? Zui asked boldly. Is it a noble family, a noble lord, or a clan in the world? I will rule the world together with the people of the world, Li Yuan replied openly. Whether they are from aristocratic families or noble clans, they are all people under the rule of Day. This time, he did not say that Day does not need aristocratic families or noble families. Saying is one thing, doing is another. But today we are setting the rules and telling everyone that if they want to play in Day, they must follow Day's rules. Zui felt a chill in his heart and retreated silently. Then Li Yuan answered some more questions and said, September 8th is an auspicious day calculated by the Imperial Astronomical Observatory, and the coronation ceremony will be held on that day. Before the grand ceremony, I will reward people according to their merits. The date is set for September 1st. I will adjourn the court now. After the court session ended, all the ministers gathered together to discuss. The various military generals ignored internal affairs and just gathered together to discuss what military ranks and rewards they would get. The civil officials were divided into two parts. One part is composed of old people headed by Cao Wei and Hu. The other part is the aristocratic families who surrendered. Not only King Zhu of Daqian, but also the aristocratic families of Dajing and Diexia came to surrender with their entire families. However, the so-called, the whole family is coming to surrender, is just a polite remark. These people are well aware of how to seek fortune and avoid disaster, and they just don't put all their eggs in one basket. Of course, these people have all had close contact with Day. Li Yuan would never accept ordinary people. And these people also constitute the current situation of Day's officialdom. Some people say that it would be great if we could just kill our way through, but can we really kill them all? If one day Li Yuan unifies the world, someone will have to manage it. Will those who survive be loyal? Not necessarily. He will use his sword to chop down knives and finally beat the swords into plowshares. As Dajing surrendered and Diaxi about its head, Daqian also sent envoys over as soon as possible. Not only did they bring Xiao Yi's sister, Xiao Yu, but they also brought a generous compensation. Submission is a basic operation. Yang Ji was so ruthless that he directly ceded the entire northern land today. As long as Li Yuan agrees, Day's land area will exceed Daqian. The envoy was none other than Yang Tao. Yang Tao hated Yang Ji. He knew that coming today was very risky and that he could easily die here. Sending his legitimate son out could both show his sincerity and serve as a hostage. But Yang Tao had no choice. If you don't come, you will die. However, he didn't even meet Lu Yuan. He was only received by a junior official from the Honglu Temple, who demanded that Daqian become a vassal state of Day and provide all kinds of supplies in addition to an annual tribute of 5 million from the entire northern land. Concessions. Monetary settlement, these are basic operations. Yang Tao also accepted all the conditions proposed by Day without even refutation and agreed directly. Now the people in the Honglu Temple are in trouble. What the people in the Honglu Temple did not expect was that Yang Tao even agreed to let the Daqian royal family downgrade themselves to the royal family. A difference of one word can make a huge difference. Emissary Yang, are you sure that the Daqian royal family wants to downgrade itself to the royal family? In this case, the future appointment of the crown prince must be approved by Day. The person from the Honglu Temple said, can you make the decision? Although Diaxia pledged loyalty, it was only a younger brother. Although Dajing is a vassal state, it still retains its royal family and has considerable autonomy. If you demote yourself to the royal family, you will be a real son. If you disobey me, I will beat you without any discussion and without even an excuse. Do I need a reason to teach my son a lesson? Of course, I represent the Daqian court, so I will keep my word. Yang Tao said with a smile, if you don't believe me, I can stay in Day as a hostage. He was smiling. But what he was thinking about was how to kill Daqian and how to kill that old immortal. What, to be emperor? No way. Once Day's edict is issued, would that old immortal dare to object? He can take the opportunity to curry favor with Day when the time comes. Appointing the crown prince will just be a matter of writing an imperial edict, right? Yang Ji may have a chance to turn things around. Thinking of this, Yang Tao's attitude became more sincere. If the ambassador doesn't believe me, I can go and ask to see His Majesty the Emperor of Day. Besides, how dare I make up such a big story? The people from the Honglu Temple were also unsure and hurried to meet Li Yuan. After learning the purpose of the visit from the Honglu Temple, Li Yuan also became interested. Is this Yang Ji's intention or Yang Tao's? Judging from the official documents, it seems that there is no such clause. Their Majesty, perhaps Yang Ji wanted to protect himself. According to external information from the Honglu Temple, Yang Ji made peace with Queen Wang and gave birth to a son named Xiao Shun. His life is determined by fate. The child was nominally Xiao Yi's legitimate son, but in fact, he was Yang Ji's child. 3 months ago, Yang Ji had already appointed this boy as the crown prince. The Special Forces Battalion belongs to Li Yuan and is led by Li Su. Lin Chen is Li Su's superior. But he is the one who dominates the intelligence of various countries. This information was communicated by the Honglu Temple. That's interesting, call Yang Tao over. Li Yuan said. Soon, Yang Tao arrived when he saw Li Yuan. He knelt down hurriedly and bowed to the ground. Foreign Minister Yang Tao pays homage to His Majesty the Emperor of Day. Stand up. Thank you, Your Majesty. Yang Tao was shocked when he saw the unbelievably young man. After taking a glance at him, he quickly lowered his head, put his hands in front of him, and dared not look at him anymore. I heard that the Daqian imperial family is going to downgrade itself to the royal family, is this true? Yes, it is true, Yang Tao said bravely. Without the imperial seal, how can I be called the emperor? Li Yuan looked at the blood-red national seal beside the table and said with a smile, I want to hear the truth. Is this your intention, or your father's? You have to think it through. There will be no good consequences if you deceive me. Yang Tao felt a great deal of pressure. Father and son are one. This is naturally what my father meant. I just ask Your Majesty not to cause trouble for Daqian again. We Daqian are willing to be vassal states for generations and forever serve as Day's shield. If Your Majesty does not believe me, I can stay in Day. Even if he died, he would not let the old man have an easy life. Moreover, he is a messenger, and his words represent Daqian. Even if Yang Ji knew about it, he could only swallow his anger. Even if Li Yuan guessed the truth, would he be willing to let go of this opportunity? So, he bet that he could win this time. If you stay in Day, no one can touch you, right? Li Yuan smiled, but did not expose him directly at this point. He believed that Yang Tao could understand. Well, since Daqian is so sensible, I agree. And I can guarantee that as long as the Daqian royal family is obedient, no one will be harmed. Chapter 296, Rewarding according to merit. Yang Tao was overjoyed. Your Majesty is wise and wise. Daqian will always be grateful for your grace. He knelt on the ground again and bowed deeply. Li Yuan threw a cigarette to him, and Yang Tao picked it up as if he had found a treasure, and said flatteringly, Thank you, Your Majesty, for the reward. This Yang Tao is really a talented person. Li Yuan lit up the firecracker and changed the subject. You are a good kid, a smart person. I like to communicate with smart people. Yang Tao said modestly, Your Majesty is the hegemon of the world. I am stupid. But seeing Your Majesty, it's like I've opened my eyes. Being able to flatter someone in such a disgusting way is a skill. Li Yuan smiled and said, Okay, stop flattering me. Are you interested in taking a position in Day? Yang Tao trembled all over, and was ecstatic in his heart. Your Majesty, you want me to immigrate today? No. He slapped his mouth and said, Daqian will be a vassal state of Day from now on. Daqian is also Day's territory. I'm not asking you to immigrate. Day has a foreign trade department, and within that department, there is a comprador unit. The director of that unit holds a position equivalent to that of a third-rank official. Even ordinary compradores receive the treatment of a fifth-rank official. You are very good and loyal. I want you to be the deputy director of the comprador department in charge of liaison with Bianjing, and enjoy the treatment of a fourth-rank official. Yang Tao could hardly contain his inner joy. He kept kowtowing, Thank you, Your Majesty, for your grace. I, your humble servant. Oh no, I am willing to sacrifice my life for Your Majesty. But this identity of comprador specialist, who would dare to touch him when he returns to Daqian? Even that old immortal has to look at his face. He knew clearly that Li Yuan was protecting him because he wanted to make him his running dog and a traitor who forgot his roots. But so what? Since he can't be an emperor, he will become a powerful official with wealth and glory for the rest of his life, and he will take revenge on those people severely. Don't be in a hurry to thank me. I still have a reward. Li Yuan smiled and said, You are very talented. From today on, you are the right prime minister of Daqian. With your father on one side and your son on the other, both father and son look alike. If this gets out, it will surely be a good story. However, I warn you that after becoming the right prime minister, you must assist King Xiao well. Do you understand? Yang Tao's face was filled with disbelief, and then he could no longer suppress his inner joy. I will definitely keep Your Majesty's teachings in mind. But the identity of Day's comprador commissioner and Day's support for him to be the right prime minister, what can that old immortal do to him? From now on, he wants to live in the palace and he also wants the queen. He must kill that little prince. At this moment, he felt infinite gratitude towards Li Yuan. He knew that Day would be his only supporter in the future. Li Yuan nodded with satisfaction for him. Writing just one more imperial edict would turn Bianjing upside down. If you have any problems at that time, you can go to the concession for help. Whoever dares to touch you will be killed, Li Yuan said. Yang Tao was extremely excited. This was another life-saving talisman. But this triple insurance, he can do whatever he wants in Daqian. After Yang Tao left, Honggu asked, "What are you going to do with Xiao Yu? She and Xiao Ji and Jia are sisters." Lu Yuan said, "We'll see when the time comes." Honggu opened her mouth but said nothing in the end. In the blink of an eye. It was September 1st. And these days, Day has been expanding rapidly. Population censuses and field surveys were also being conducted. At present, there are 9.8 million people under the rule of Day, almost exceeding 10 million. Among them, 3.6 million are data from the early stages of the war. The additional 6.2 million people are the data after the war. The country's arable land is about 140 million mu. At present, the food grown on this 100 million mu of land is enough to feed more than 9 million people. As long as we wait for the second batch of grain from the plantations to mature, we can start sowing it on a large scale, and next year we will be able to completely solve the food problem for more than 9 million people. Of course, a disaster in the northern part of Daqian is still spreading, and this disaster has also affected Dajing and Diaxia. Therefore, a reduction in production next year is certain. Agriculture will present great challenges in the coming years. Li Yuan sat upright on the dragon throne, wearing the black and red imperial robe and a 12-tasseled crown. Today is the enthronement ceremony, so he must dress formally. This is the service after the reform. The old version of traditional clothing requires 6 or 7 people to help with dressing, and it is extremely heavy. He had just gone to the newly built Taimaya to worship heaven and ancestors in the morning, and then came to the newly built Taping Palace. The palace is majestic and imposing, but it does not seem luxurious if you look closely. What Li Yuan wants is practicality. But compared with all the palaces in the world, Taping Palace is undoubtedly the largest. It faces east and sits west. Towards the east where the sun rises, its main gate is Taping Gate and its main hall is Yongping Hall. It is divided into 2 palaces, east and west, with Gushui as the boundary. The Yongping Hall was built on a tall 2-story platform, with a width of 12 rooms and 2 steps on the left and right in the front leading to the hall. There are 4 gold and bronze pillars in the hall, with an east hall and a west hall on both sides. But apart from the main palace and the imperial ancestral temple, the rest were still under construction. Hundreds of thousands of workers worked day and night. Yet not even 1/10 of the construction had been completed. Li Yuan originally wanted to build a small palace, but Blind Chen said, "The Day Palace is the center of the world, the foundation of the ages, and the place where dragon veins and feng shui converge. If we build a small palace, it will be stingy and cannot suppress the evil spirits in the world, nor can it show the style of a great country." Li Yuan had no choice but to nod and agree. It just so happened that Blind Chen came back, and the task of supervising the construction fell on him. Old Lu now went to the construction site every few days and then went back to write manuscripts without asking any further questions. It was the first time for Li Yuan to wear a crown. He felt as if a tight hoop was put on his head. He tried to sit up straight, but the people below did not dare to look at him. They all knelt on the ground and shouted, "Long live the king." From this moment on, Li Yuan truly realized what it meant that imperial power was granted by God. He asked everyone to calm down, then said, "Today, I will appoint civil and military officials, and confer titles on all officials. Those who have made contributions will be handsomely rewarded." Everyone below was extremely excited, especially the old men who followed Li Yuan, who were all looking forward to their rewards. Wu Sun stood at the top holding the imperial edict in red. Emperor Day decrees, Cao Wei and Hu, the former Bil Yang advisor, is hardworking and has followed me through hardships to establish Bil Yang and pacify the people. His contributions are outstanding. He is currently the prefect of Songshan. He was given the title of Marquis of Guan'anyi, which was hereditary, with a salary of 1,000 dan, a reward of 3,000 Laya gold, 4,000 mile horses, and his wife was given the title of Lady of the Second Rank. He is a man of great talent, serving as the Minister of Personnel, a first-rank official. Guan'anyi, who is the 19th level in Day's 20-level lordship system, and above it is only Che Hu. It's basically reached the top. Marquis of Guan'anyi and Minister of Personnel, he is definitely the #1 civil servant in Day. Cao Wenshi was already in tears. He knelt on the ground, choking with sobs. "How can I bear this?" Li Yuan smiled and said, "Back then, I said that as long as I had something to eat, you wouldn't starve. Today, I'm here to fulfill my boast." Chapter 297, Employing Female Officials. Li Yuan wants to tell everyone that as long as they listen to him, Li Yuan, and work hard for him, everyone will have a bright future. Cao Wei and Hu shed tears of gratitude. "I, your humble servant, bow down to thank you for your grace." No one was surprised that Cao Wei and Hu received this reward. As the #1 civil official in Day, he fully deserves it. If Li Yuan doesn't even give this little reward, it will disappoint many people who would want to follow a cold-hearted king. Wang Dabiao is a brave and loyal man, although he has a quick temper. He is admirable. He followed me through life and death in the past and made great contributions. He will be appointed as the commander of the First Army, with a reward of 3,000. A salary of 1,000 stones, 4,000-mile horses. His wife will be given the title of second-rank lady, and he will be given the title of Marquis of Guanene. And the title will be hereditary. Wang Debiao was so excited that he knelt on the ground and said, "Your Majesty, I bow to you and thank you." He couldn't be more satisfied with the reward. Irma O and others were drooling with envy. At present, Day has only 2 armies. With very few positions unexpectedly, Wang Mazi still got the upper hand. Even though His Majesty always punishes him, he is still the one he trusts the most. Because even if His Majesty ordered Wang Mazi to die or kill his father, he would do it without hesitation. You are the commander of the army now. If you do something stupid again, I will not forgive you, Li Yuan warned. Wang Dabiao patted his chest and said, "Don't worry, Your Majesty, if I make a mistake again, I will take 1 million rounds of ammunition from the arsenal. It's not enough, we still have to clean the toilets for all the new recruits in the army for a year," said Lu Yuan. After hearing this, everyone burst into laughter. Wang Dabiao also smiled naively and returned to his seat. And Li Yuan rewarded the others according to their merits, especially those in the military. Those who should be promoted to army commanders will be promoted, and those who should be promoted to division commanders will be promoted. Of course, the rank of Marquis can only be below that of Guanene Hu. Although they all inherited the throne without succession, they did not have any fiefdoms under the enfeoffment order. If these powerful and wealthy people did not produce any talented people within 3 generations, they would be lost in the crowd. Among them, the most important is the team of female officials. Li Yuan discussed with Old Lu for a long time. Old Lu meant that the female official should not be brought to the stage for the time being to avoid objections from everyone. But Li Yuan felt that this was a good opportunity and that women should also be allowed to participate in national construction, instead of just doing needlework, embroidery, and textile-related handicrafts. They should have a bigger role. In troubled times, women are a resource and the key to ensuring the rise and fall of a country. Those who suffer more than the poor are poor women. They are oppressed and even used as reproductive tools and free labor. Li Yuan doesn't dare to talk about gender equality, but releasing the female labor force is something he must do. Wu Sun continued. Xia Yuan, the former director of the Merchants Bureau and later the prefect of Hengshan County, worked diligently and made great contributions to the country's economic development. Wu Sun couldn't help but pause when he read this, because what he was going to say next would shock everyone's views. Feng, Xia Yuan, the great chief, a bounty of 2,000 taels, hereditary, and 3 BMWs. Appointed as Minister of Revenue. The entire Yongping Palace was suddenly in uproar. Everyone couldn't help but look at Xia Yuan. The old man Biao Yang didn't think there was anything wrong. But the others were not happy about it. Your Majesty, although Magistrate Xia has made great contributions, there has never been a precedent for a woman to be appointed as a minister. A Ministry of Revenue is the treasury of the country and is related to the people's livelihood. Your Majesty, please think twice. Your Majesty, please think twice. Many people knelt on the ground. Rather, they envy. Rather, they are jealous. How could they let a woman climb over their heads? Moreover, this woman is the Grand Lord and the Minister of Revenue. Her title is higher than that of 90 of the civil and military officials in the court. The Minister of Revenue is of the first rank. The Minister of Revenue is of the first rank, though not as noble as the Ministry of Personnel. It is the most lucrative department in the entire country. With just one imperial edict, Li Yuan gave this lucrative position to a woman. How could they accept it? Even Xia Yuan herself was a little dazed. She looked at Xia Hongmei and said, "Sister, did I hear it right?" Xia Hongmei smiled and said, "Silly girl, why don't you go over and thank me?" Seeing that everyone around her was opposing, Xia Yuan also became timid, and her feet seemed to have taken root and she couldn't take a step forward. "You bastards, who the hell do you think you are to oppose Xia Yuan?" Wang Dabiao cursed. When Xia Yuan was desperately trying to pull the caravan in Biaoyang, "You were still in some unknown place. How dare you oppose Xia Yuan?" He rolled up his sleeves and his eyes widened like bells. Irma O and others followed suit, rushing over aggressively, staring at these people ferociously, as if they were going to swallow them up the next moment. If it weren't for Xia Yuan, A's economy would have declined by at least 30. What qualifications do you have to object? I will recognize Xia Yuan as the Minister of Revenue. No one else can do it. Military personnel, you are going too far. This is a matter for civil officials, and it has nothing to do with you. Your Majesty has already said that the military should not interfere in internal affairs. You are overstepping your authority and committing a serious crime. Li Yuan looked at the people below who were arguing fiercely and patted the desk. "All right everyone, shut up. I'm reminding everyone for the last time. In Day, no matter your background, age, or status, as long as you have talent, are loyal to the country and the people. I am willing to use him. Moreover, Xi Yuan had made great contributions, and she deserved the title of Great Lord and Minister of Revenue. It's okay to oppose. But you should first check how much you have in your stomach. They speaks with merit, if not, shut up. Li Yuan looked at Xi Yuan and said, why don't you come forward and thank me? Xi Hongmei pushed her sister and said, why don't you go over there quickly? Xi Yuan knelt on the ground hurriedly, Your Majesty, your humble servant, your humble servant, your humble servant. She was extremely nervous whether she was the director of the Merchants, Steam Navigation Company or the prefect, and now had a population of nearly 10 million. Could she really do a good job as the Minister of Revenue? Xi Yuan, your ability is obvious to all. The prosperity of Hengshan County was also created by you bit by bit. I believe in your ability. Li Yuan encouraged. Xi Yuan looked at Li Yuan. His encouraging and expectant eyes gave her motivation. She gritted her teeth and said, Your Majesty, I bow to you and thank you. In the future, I will set an example and serve the country and the people. Those who opposed were so angry that they were fuming, but they were powerless to do anything except for a few people who had some contributions. The others did not even have the qualifications to speak. Making trouble? Even if they had 10 times the courage, they wouldn't dare. Minister Xia. Congratulations, Cao Wei and Hu bowed. Thank you, Minister Cao. Xia Yuan said with a smile. Wang Dabiao and others also kept congratulating him. Xia Yuan and Ran became the object of everyone's protection. This also made those people understand that Xia Yuan should not be provoked. Zhu Ren figured out that Xia Yuan might be Li Yuan's woman otherwise. Why would he let a woman like her be in charge of the country's purse? If they oppose it, aren't they asking for trouble? These people are trying to seize the right to speak, but they don't even think about whether they deserve it. Chapter 298. 6 bureaus and 24 departments. Moreover, Li Yuan also released a particularly important message. Big Li's mean women can become officials. This means that if there are talented women in their tribe, they may have the opportunity to go into politics. At that moment, many people calm down. From a certain perspective, it is extremely beneficial for women to go into politics. What is the greatest asset of the aristocratic families? It's a human. Even the women in their family have beautiful handwriting and can understand the teachings of sages. How many women like Xi Yuan are there in day? Thinking of this, Zhu Ren changed his attitude and stepped out and said, Your Majesty, the Great Yi is newly established, and we should recruit talents regardless of their background or age as long as they are useful to the court and the country and loyal. They can be accepted. Everyone in the Zhu family looked at Zhu Ren in a daze, and then quickly followed suit. Other clan officials were not to be outdone and praised Li Yuan one after another. However, Li Yuan seemed not to see through their intentions and smiled. Wu Sun continued to read. Xia Hongmei, former deputy director of the Security Bureau and commander of the Military Medical Battalion, made a lot of contributions to national security and saved the precious lives of many soldiers. Xia Hongmei was specially appointed as the director of Liangjing First Hospital, concurrently the imperial physician of the Imperial Medical Bureau, enjoying the treatment of a full-time general, and was awarded the title of Grand General. A reward of 2,000 taels, and 3 BMWs. From now on, the Imperial Medical Bureau will no longer be under the jurisdiction of the 6 ministries, but will be independent of the 6 ministries. The Imperial Court will specially set up a 7th ministry, the Ministry of Medicine. Establish medical schools and promote public hospitals. The government is a second-rank official. The crowd was shocked. From the importance His Majesty places on the Xia sisters, it can be seen that the system of female officials is about to rise completely. The establishment of the medical department will bring a large number of vacancies. Xia Hongmei was also very excited and like her younger sister who was timid. She stepped forward with confidence and said, Your Majesty, thank you for your grace. I will definitely take it as my responsibility to save the dying and the wounded in the future. Li Yuan nodded. The two sisters were very competitive and like other show-offs. They really made great contributions today. This canonization lasted for the whole morning. Finally, Li Yuan hosted a banquet for all the ministers in the palace. After everyone left, Li Yuan took off the emperor's formal dress and slumped on the dragon chair. This tattered dress must be improved it, as to heavy. Ongu also hurriedly said to Wu Sun, Quick, bring up the fan so that His Majesty can blow it. Just now for the sake of dignity. Everyone blew it, except Li Yuan, who was suffering from the heat and almost got heat stroke. Wu Sun hurriedly pulled the fan over. And Honggu brought the iced sour plum soup. Your Majesty, go and get rid of the summer heat. Li Yuan drank a large bowl of wine. And heaved a sigh of satisfaction, then lay down on the dragon chair and said, Liu Su, call all the women in the palace over. Soon, all the palace maids came over. They were wearing the same uniform and even their hair accessories were the same. Taking advantage of today, Li Yuan wants to determine the system of female officials in the palace. These maids were all selected from public selections. The youngest was only 14 years old, and the oldest was only 18 years old. There were quite a few of them, more than 500 in total. Compared with other dynasties with tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people, this number is pitifully small. There are 6 bureaus and 24 departments in the harem. That is, the Shanggong Bureau, Shangyi Bureau, Shangfu Bureau, Shangxi Bureau, Shangyuan Bureau, and Shanggong Bureau. They are respectively in charge of palace management, etiquette, clothing, catering, accommodation, assessment and other work. Li Yuan thought for a moment and said, Sister Luo, you will be the head of the 6th bureau, and your official position will be the 4th rank. Luo Bing was startled and waved her hands repeatedly. Your Majesty, I can't do that. If I say you can do it, then you can do it, Li Yuan said without allowing any objection. Seeing that Li Yuan looked unhappy, Luo Bing did not dare to continue refusing. Afterwards, Li Yuan selected 6 bureau heads, all of whom were old mandate's children, so there was no need to worry about their loyalty. Li Yuan also knew why they deliberately sent the child to the palace. But Li Yuan didn't have that idea. Afterwards, 24 directors were selected, all of whom were outstanding students promoted from the square. A contract was placed in front of them, whether they were female officials or ordinary maids. This is a 5-year contract. After 5 years, no matter what, you must leave the palace and get married. Your salary and benefits are listed above. Don't think of yourself as being so humble. You enter the palace to serve. But the palace has its own rules, and I hope you will follow them carefully. After reading all the regulations, feel free to ask any questions you have. Li Yuan was drinking tea. This was the best solution he could think of at the moment. In the future, female officials would also be included in the examination system and would not be able to enter through the back door. After the 5-year term is up, they will be transferred to local areas to do other work. If they are not married and are capable, they can consider renewing the contract. For example, the Women's Federation and the like. Local training will definitely not be able to cultivate suitable people. Even in school, it is difficult to cultivate. So Li Yuan thought of a solution. Let the harem train the female officials into a huge school for female officials. Even if she is an ordinary maid, if she wants to pursue a career in government, she can study and take exams while on duty. The women looked at the treaty and were all extremely surprised. Shangguan Moli, the manager of the Imperial Dormitory Bureau, asked, Your Majesty, can we take the exam in the palace? Yes, if you want to prepare for the exam, you can report it. After passing the exam, the corresponding salary and benefits will increase. After the term of service in the Imperial Palace is over, if the contract is not renewed, one can be transferred to a local official position through the Ministry of Personnel. All the women present were shocked. While working in the palace, one could take exams and be demoted to an official position. Who would have dared to imagine this in the past? Your Majesty is so kind that you have given women like me a chance to speak up. I am so grateful to you. Not a slave, but a vassal, Li Yuan said. Remember, you are here to serve. You must treat yourself as a human being, then others will treat you as a human being. I hope that you can not only marry a good husband, but also have a good future. All the female officials present were moved to tears of gratitude, kowtowed one after another, and shouted, Long live the emperor. This is exactly the effect Li Yuan wants. If there is no problem, please sign and seal it. Shangguan Moli signed her name on the contract without thinking. She knew that day was a different country. This country did not look down on women. As long as women worked hard, they could get the same status as men without opening their legs. Looking at the handsome man, Shangguan Moli blushed a little, and then placed the contract on her head. Your Majesty, I have signed it. Li Yuan nodded, and then said to Liu Su, adopt military management, and let them take night classes when they have nothing to do. These people are left to you. Liu Su nodded, yes, Your Majesty. After these people left, Li Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. Now, all we have to do is wait for the ascension to the throne. He put his arm around Honggu's waist and said, in 7 days, you will be my queen. Honggu lay in Li Yuan's arms, hugging him tightly, without saying a word. Li Yuan didn't notice anything was wrong with her at all. But when he realized it, it was too late. Chapter 299, Enthronement Ceremony. On September 8th, flowers in the capital city blossomed in clusters, and the fragrance spread for miles. Every household is decorated with lights and colorful decorations. Men, women, old and young, all wore new clothes and set up Li Yuan's longevity tablets at home. After burning incense and bathing, they all came to the street. Today, after ascending the throne, His Majesty will tour the entire city so that everyone can be bathed in his grace. Envoys from various countries also came in droves. For Li Kuna Ai, today is also a good day, because the wedding party from Diaxia has arrived, and along with them comes compensation. Today, Li Yanla will be able to leave Day. When that child returns to Diaxia, he will surely make Diaxia shine again. The messenger was Li Siyu Enjuan, his 10th brother, and the princess he brought was Li Yanla's sister, Li Baiyu. This little girl just came of age this year and was originally going to marry Shang Ying's son. However, Li Wuyu is no longer with us, and Li Yanla is the key to Diaxia's future. So she naturally cannot marry Lu Yuan. Therefore, Li Baiyu was the last legitimate princess of Diaxia, and because she was the youngest, she was very favored. Also coming with them were King Zhu and Li Xian. The king of Shu is your majesty's second son. He is intelligent and very filial, and is deeply loved by your majesty. This is a grand event, enough to demonstrate how much Diaxia values Day. Uncle, I think I saw my sister, Li Yanla, who was sitting in his seat drinking milk tea and eating snacks, had a bulging mouth and looked like a hamster. Really? Where is it? Li Kungamai looked around deliberately, but thought in his heart that Li Yanla must have seen it wrong. But suddenly, a familiar figure appeared among the women in Day's harem. It's my sister. It's really my sister. Li Yanla pointed at the woman in the purple robe and couldn't help but feel happy. Wow, my sister is so beautiful. Li Kungamai was dumbfounded. This. He rubbed his eyes. But no matter how hard he rubbed, there was no mistaking that familiar face. She's not dead? Li Kungamai couldn't believe his eyes. His Majesty had specifically instructed that Li Wuyu must die. But why are you here now? Moreover, if they had not known for sure that Li Wuyu would die, why would they have sent Li Baiyu over? If she wasn't dead, why didn't they tell her during the negotiations? His mind was a little confused. Even Li Siyu gave him a questioning look. Mina, is that Princess Wuyu? I think so. Li Yanla is still next to him. Li Kui, I can't just say no, right? Li Xian narrowed his eyes. The story of Li Wuyu had not been circulated. But with his identity, everyone who should know about him knew it. Otherwise, why would he come here as a wedding envoy? He looked carefully and found that the woman who looked exactly like Li Wuyu was also looking at him. Yes, it's really her. Li Xian couldn't help but take a breath. The three of them looked at each other, but no one spoke acidly. A heartless Li Yanla was still waving happily at Li Wuyu, saying, Lu Yuan, this pervert, not only has my elder sister, he also wants my younger sister. He is such a piece of shit. He is not afraid of dying of exhaustion in bed. The three of them couldn't help but smile bitterly. As for the dodging envoys, Xi Yuan said to Ji Yuozu, the Duke of Ju, do you think the two female officials leading the group of ministers look familiar? Ji Yuozu took a closer look inside. It's them. Xi Yuan also smiled bitterly. Before I came here, His Majesty gave me a letter and asked me to deliver it to them. Your Majesty should want to enthrone the former crown prince. Ji Yuozu shook his head. This matter won't be useful just by posthumously conferring titles. We hunted them down so ruthlessly in the beginning. But now they hold high positions and enjoy generous salaries in Day, and are deeply trusted by Li Yuan. It would be better if we don't retaliate. If I continue to tease them, wouldn't that be just looking for trouble? Old Ji Yuo, please stop playing dumb with Medonti. You know what His Majesty is thinking? Xi Yuan said with a sad face. I just want them to recognize their ancestors if they are willing to cooperate. Then, Ji Yuozu didn't dare to answer. He looked around and found that everyone around him was his own people. He breathed a sigh of relief and said, don't think about it. Success depends on man. And destiny depends on fate. How can blood feud be resolved so easily? Xi Yuan sighed and fell into deep thought. And the Daqian delegation was actually ahead of them. Yumin, the Minister of Rights, knelt beside Yang Tao and asked, Young Lord, why can't I see the princess? Yang Tao was sitting there, looking very relaxed after he was put in solitary confinement. His forces had been wiped out by that old man. This Yumin was the new promotion of the old guy, specially arranged to keep an eye on him. The more arrogant I was in the past, the more humble I am now. When he stands, this bastard dares not sit. When he sits, this guy has to kneel. He was nodding and fawning, just like a bootlicker. Your Majesty naturally has his own arrangements. Why do you have to interfere? Yang Tao glanced at him unhappily. You are such a talkative villain, you deserve to be beaten. Yumin kept slapping himself in the face, and then said humbly, let me correct you, Don. Call me little minister from now on. Call me Prime Minister Yang. Yang Tao said calmly, I am not only the Deputy Director of Day's Comprador Office in Bianjing, but also the right Prime Minister personally appointed by His Majesty the Emperor of Day. I can rent soldiers anytime I want. You should understand what this means, right? Understood. Yumin flattered. From now on, I will follow the lead of the right Prime Minister. If the right Prime Minister tells me to go right, I will never dare to go left. I remember that you have two daughters who are still unmarried. After we return to the capital, send him to serve the right Prime Minister immediately, Yumin said. Yang Tao was very satisfied with his attitude, which was much more satisfying than when he was a junior cabinet minister. But he knew very well that if he wanted to maintain his status and position, he had to be loyal to Liu Yuan. Only by safeguarding Liu Yuan's interests can he protect himself. Very good, there is a chance for you to join Day. Yang Tao said. Yumin was delighted. Thank you, right Prime Minister. While Yang Tao was criticizing Yang Ji's confidence, the envoys from other small countries were also discussing the matter. In order to survive, all the small countries that had participated in the support submitted petitions, requesting Day to accept them as vassal states. And it's the kind that cannot be ignored. Not to mention sending you a princess, even the queen is sent to you. Look, there are still 200 or 300 princesses and queens living in the guest house, and some of them even sent their wives and daughters here. All these women had physical examinations. And then Luo Bing selected 36 concubines from these 200 or 300 princesses and queens to fill the harem. If Liu Yuan had not strongly opposed, she would have planned to select 108. As for the rest, Liu Yuan planned to give it all as rewards to his subordinates. He has a strong urge for this kind of thing, but he doesn't indulge in it. Look, 36 concubines are kneeling in the side hall of the main hall, waiting for the emperor, empress, imperial concubine and others to appear. Chapter 300, I Am the Destiny. Outside the palace, Liu Yuan was looking around. Where's the queen? Why hasn't she come yet? At this moment, Lao Lu is holding a coronation ceremony. After the coronation ceremony, old Lu will give up the throne to Liu Yuan. Before this, the father and son had already played the trick of 3 refusals and 3 concessions. The ceremony of offering sacrifices to heaven has also been completed. Therefore, abdication was not abrupt. Their Majesty. The queen is not in the room. Liu Su ran over in a hurry, holding a letter in her hand. This is what the queen left behind. Liu Yuan frowned and looked at the letter, with a bad feeling in his heart. Where did she go? In the first half of yesterday night, Honggu was still doing the splits in the study later. She was afraid that Liu Yuan was too tired, and refused to sleep with him no matter what. He went out before dawn today, but he didn't expect that what he was waiting for was not Honggu, but a letter from her. I have already sent people to look for her. Liu Su was also puzzled. Where could Honggu go on such a happy day? There was no one else beside Liu Yuan, because he just wanted to share this joy with Honggu alone. This opportunity originally belonged to Xiaoji and Jia, but she didn't want it. Li Wuyu is not qualified. Not to mention others, such as Mu Rong W. Wanking, who didn't even have the qualifications to enter the palace. Liu Yuan opened the letter, walked aside and started reading it. But the content of the letter made his face change drastically. Your Majesty, seeing my words is like seeing me. Please forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye and for being selfish. Now that day has been established, Your Majesty no longer needs me to protect you. You have your family behind you, thousands of troops under your command, and countless talented people serving you. I feel relieved that you have Yu Su to protect you, and Sister Wo and Wu Yu to take care of you. The handwriting is a little blurry here, and it is obvious that it has been soaked with tears. Liu Yuan held the letter in his hand and secretly cursed himself for being stupid. No wonder Honggu had been so obedient these days. She had always been unwilling to do anything before, but now she was more proactive than anyone else. He thought that Honggu had come to terms with it. I'm going to look for my brother. If I find him one day, I will come back. Don't come to me and don't make it public. It's so embarrassing. Instead of being a good queen, I tried to leave. I know you will blame me, but someone like me, who has no education, no family background, and no understanding of romance, can never be the mother of the country. The handwriting was crooked and blurry, which showed how sad Honggu was when she wrote the letter. Liu Yuan felt very upset. I was very restless and couldn't sleep sometimes. I lay in your arms and couldn't sleep for whole nights. It always feels unreal, like it was snatched from someone else. I was unhappy and even felt like I was in a cage, suffocating me. Whether it is Xiaoji and Jia, Li Wuyu, or even Xi Ning, they are all well read and have outstanding abilities. What Day wants is not a queen who is all about fighting and killing. What you want is a queen who can manage the world and the harem for you. I'm leaving. Please don't come to see me. Even if you find me, I will leave. I would be unhappy. I will come back when I find my brother. At this moment, Liu Yuan's joy of ascending the throne completely disappeared. He could feel Honggu's inferiority and fear. A cage of the times imprisoned her. The appearance of Xiao Yanlong seemed to be the fuse for Honggu to run away. Yes, Honggu didn't get anything useful from Xiao Yanlong. He is not Zhu Wanli either. Finding Zhu Wanli is Honggu's deepest obsession. Liu Yuan felt ashamed that he hadn't found him in all these years. He said to Liu Su, "Pass on my order, find Honggu, do not disturb her, and send someone to protect her. Your Majesty, but the queen. It doesn't matter as long as she doesn't come back. I won't appoint a queen." Liu Yuan put the letter away. He knew that even if Honggu wanted to leave, she couldn't go far. But this city wall could only lock up those who didn't want to leave. Her heart is not here, so even if she finds it back, she will still leave in the end. At this time, Wu Sun came over and said, "Your Majesty, the ceremony over there is over. You can go now." Li Yuan nodded and got on the dragon chariot alone. The huge dragon chariot was carried by 36 strong men. He was the only one sitting on the huge dragon throne. Soon, the dragon chariot arrived in front of the palace. Li Yuan came down and walked up the stairs alone. He was dressed in a black and red dragon robe and wore a 12-tassel crown on his head, exuding an extraordinary aura. Guards were kneeling on both sides of the stairs. Li Yuan walked into the Yongping Hall slowly. All the ministers knelt on the ground. "Your Majesty." The concubines also walked out from the side hall and knelt on both sides of the Golden Palace. However, everyone looked at Li Yuan in confusion. Why is he the only one here? Where is the queen? But at this time, who dares to say anything? Li Yuan walked step by step to the front of the Golden Throne Hall. Sitting on the dragon throne was old Lu, who was also wearing black imperial robes and a crown on his head. Next to old Lu was Suexiyui, who was wearing a phoenix robe. On the stairs stood Lu Lingzhi, wearing a red palace dress. They loves red and black, which are also the national colors. Everyone's eyes were focused on Li Yuan, and everyone was moved. The majestic figure is tall and handsome, like a 1,000-year-old pine tree, standing tall. Those deep eyes are like the vast galaxy. His face was as sharp as a knife. Strong and iron-blooded, yet gentle. At this moment, the overlord of the world became concrete. The imperial power is granted by heaven, and at this moment, Jishu Yangchang has a walking incarnation. Your son. I pay my respects to my father, the emperor, and my mother, the queen. Li Yuan lifted up his hakama and bowed deeply to Lu Qiushan and Suexiyui. This bow is a son's respect for his father. It is a courtesy and a heritage. Get up. Lu Qiushan said with a smile. Dai was born to carry out destiny and flourished in response to the will of the people. It is the will of heaven and the will of the people. It is what the sun, moon, mountains and rivers, and all life in the world hope for. It can be what it is today thanks to the joint efforts of people all over the world. And you, my son, are the true founder of Day. Li Yuan stood there, quietly listening to his father's instructions. After hearing this, he hurriedly said, I am what I am today, all thanks to my mother giving birth to me, and my father bringing me up. Without my parents, there would be no me. No Day. Only when the father is kind can the son be filial. The same is true for a country. Only when the king is kind can the subjects be filial. I hope you will stick to your original intention, and never forget your original aspiration. Son, you must keep this in mind. Today, I abdicate to you. Only with your leadership can they become powerful. This is the common expectation of 9.8 million subjects. Come up quickly. Lu Qiushan and his wife made way for him, holding the newly engraved national seal in their hands, and waited for Lu Yuan. At this moment, all the ministers knelt down and shouted, Your Majesty, please ascend the throne. Li Yuan glanced at everyone, walked up the steps step by step, and took the new national seal from Lu Qiushan's hand. Different from the blood seal of Daqian. A national seal of Day is made of polished black jade, and does not have the words granted the mandate of heaven, and may you live long and prosper on it. There are only 4 words. I am the destiny. Chapter 301, Can Mother Become the Queen? These 8 characters were written on the national seals of the 3 kingdoms. But Li Yuan felt that they were not domineering enough. What is the emperor? He is the sky. Taking the black seal from Lu Qiushan, Li Yuan sat on the dragon throne with confidence. At that moment, it spread outward from Yongping Palace, out of the 9 palace gates, and even outside the palace. Everyone knelt down spontaneously. When? The Yongping bell in the palace was rung. Long live the emperor! Long live the emperor! Long live the emperor! Long live the emperor! Everyone cheered, Long live the emperor! And the sound spread from inside the palace to outside. Later, all the people in the city were shouting, Long live his majesty! And long live Day! That scene shocked all the messengers. They were all afraid of Day's unity. From this moment on, they understood that Day was a great power in the true sense, in a hegemony far more powerful than Eaxia. Even these envoys knelt down subconsciously and paid homage to Li Yuan. The man on the dragon throne seemed like the center of the world, making people want to kneel down to him. The elderly people who followed Li Yuan at the beginning all had tears in their eyes. Only they knew how much hardship Day had gone through to become what it is today. Wobing just knelt aside and looked at Li Yuan, feeling satisfied. As for taking a step forward, that was not something she could hope for. Liu Su was also mesmerized and kept grinning foolishly. The man whom she had risked her life to protect all these years finally became the emperor. Xiaoning admires Li Yuan to the extreme. Needless to say, Li Wuyu only has Li Yuan in his eyes and nothing else. Only Xiaoji and Jia, who was at the front, felt complicated. This man is truly a born emperor. At this moment, kneeling here, she felt like an outsider. She thought of the days ago when Lu Yuan asked her if she was willing to be concubine Xiao. She still hesitated. She still prefers her current life. In the hospital, I am busy saving lives and having considerable freedom. She had been a caged bird in the palace for so many years. So how could she be willing to go back to the palace and be a canary? So, she refused. But Lu Yuan still let her come as a concubine. And the head of the concubines. In other words, apart from Honggu, she has the highest status in the harem. But she was not happy. It was not until Ma Sanbao brought Huan Huan over that a smile appeared on her face. Huan Huan was dressed very beautifully and formally, and the little girl was also very well behaved. She climbed onto Lu Yuan's knees in full view of everyone. This scene made everyone laugh. Everyone's eyes turned to Xiaoji and Jia at the same time. It is no secret that the emperor has only one daughter, whose mother is Ji and Jia. But the queen has not appeared yet, which makes people think. Even Suexai Yue, who was sitting next to him, cast an inquiring look at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan picked up the child and said, "From now on, you are the eldest princess of Dei. From now on, you are Princess Taishan. There are no 5 great mountains in this world, but Mount Tai holds a special place in everyone's hearts." Huan Huan gave Lu Yuan a kiss on the face. "What is mother then?" Xiaoji and Jia felt more gazes and suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Lu Yuan said, "Your mother is concubine Xiao. Isn't she the queen?" Huan Huan asked. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's faces changed. Lu Yuan also smiled bitterly in his heart. He looked at Xiaoji and Jia. And Xiaoji and Jia was also looking at him. After staring at Xiaoji and Jia for a while, he knew that with so many people around, he couldn't avoid this question. "Daddy, there will be no queen." As soon as these words were spoken, the whole audience was in an uproar. They doesn't have a queen? Does this mean that there is hope for others? You know, there are many daughters of ministers in Lu Yuan's harem. In order to stabilize people's hearts, Lu Yuan accepted quite a few people, although she had never seen most of them. Suexai Yue had a lot of questions, but Lu Qiushan patted the back of her hand, signaling her not to ask too many questions. Huan Huan said, "Oh," and sat on Lu Yuan's lap. Her big eyes rolling around. "Can't my mother be the queen?" This sentence pushed Xiaoji and Jia to the forefront again. She was extremely anxious. How could this damn girl be so bold? I don't know who taught her this, but she still dares to ask. Ma Sanbao also kept waving to Huan Huan. This little guy is really brave. She must be fine, but the blame will be on him. Lu Yuan laughed dryly. Before he could speak, Xiaoji and Jia said, "Your Majesty, I don't have such thoughts. Nor do I dare to have such thoughts. I am just a child and don't know much. Please forgive me, Your Majesty." How should Lu Yuan connect? He said no, and Huan Huan felt uncomfortable hearing that. He said yes. What about Honggu? She was the only one who stood up. Children's words are innocent. Lu Yuan smiled. "Sanbao, bring Huan Huan over." "Yes, Your Majesty." Ma Sanbao's back was soaked with cold sweat. He half bowed and walked to Lu Yuan, knelt down and hugged Huan Huan. "Little ancestor, don't say anything." Huan Huan really didn't understand why her mother refused. Lu Yuan stood up and said to Lu Qiushan, "Dad, I'm going on a tour." "Okay." Lu Qiushan nodded. Although Lu Yuan had invited him to join, he had no intention of stealing the limelight from his son. Even with so many beautiful girls, he had no intention of taking a concubine. Wouldn't having so many children cause trouble for Lu Yuan? Lu Yuan walked down the steps, and a group of civil and military officials followed closely behind him. Moreover, Lu Yuan did not bring his concubines with him, including Xiaoji and Jia. But Lu Yuan said to Liu Su, "Follow." Liu Su was stunned and said in disbelief, "Your Majesty, I will follow you? If you don't follow me, who will protect me? Now that Honggu is gone, this task will be handed over to you from now on." Lu Yuan smiled. Liu Su was extremely excited. "Yes, Your Majesty." What a great honor and recognition it would be to follow Lu Yuan during the parade. As for the identity of the person standing beside him, Liu Su didn't care at all. Behind the huge dragon chariot followed hundreds of civil and military officials. After walking out of Qingtian Gate, all the people cheered. Lu Yuan got off the dragon chariot and walked onto the chariot. 9 horses pulled the huge chariot, and only Liu Su followed. "Your Majesty, please leave," accompanied by a loud shout from Wu Sun. The big bell rang 3 times. This was Lu Yuan's first tour as emperor, and it was completely different from all the previous ones. All civil and military officials accepted the worship from the people, and they would remember that honor for the rest of their lives. Blind Chen pinched his fingers and vaguely saw a huge black dragon flying in the air. The big leaf black dragon ascends to heaven, destined to devour all the little dragons and dominate the world. He smiled, turned and entered the Imperial Observatory. In the crowd, the sword master holding a bamboo staff looked at Lu Yuan on the chariot, but he did not throw the sword in his hand in the end. Forget it. In this era of great strife, what good will it do to kill him? It will only add to the chaos. That little girl can't bear such a burden. A swordmaster can feel Day's strength and the people's peace and prosperity. Li Yuan is a good emperor. A good emperor should not die young. Chapter 302, Lu Yuan, I'm sorry. After Li Yuan's tour, he returned to the palace to entertain his ministers, and also hosted a banquet for the people outside the palace. He invited all the old Biling people who had followed Lu Yuan in the past into the palace, and even had them sit in seats closer to the front than those civil and military ministers. If for no other reason, I just want to thank them for accompanying me through the most difficult years. Li Yuan, who rarely drinks, got drunk today. Although he was conscious, his movements were obviously distorted. For fear of making a fool of himself, he went to the Hall of Mental Cultivation early. This was one of the few palaces in the Taping Palace that had been built. The palace is large, yet seems exceptionally empty. The Imperial Guards have also been formed, and there are special people guarding the door. They are all children of ministers, so they are reliable and loyal. The feudal dynasty, this system, controlled people's hearts to the extreme. Li Yuan fell on the dragon bed. Liu Su was about to change his clothes when a person walked in from outside. I'll take care of him. Xiao Ji and Jia looked very calm. The Queen Mother asked me to come. Liu Su snorted, then glanced at the maid next to Xiao Ji and Jia, who was Su Xiu's friend, and then she stood aside reluctantly. Xiao Ji and Jia looked at Lu Yuan. This bastard couldn't drink much, but he didn't make a fuss when he was drunk and he behaved well when he was drunk. It seems that you can't do everything. Xiao Ji and Jia thought so and sat next to the dragon bed, but she didn't know where to start. Empress Xiao, please take off His Majesty's clothes. Xiao Chao Hong reminded. Xiao Ji and Jia nodded and helped Li Yuan take off his clothes with stiff limbs, but when she thought about the fact that she had given him a bath and even gave birth to a daughter for him, she had already been honest with him. So there was no need to be pretentious. With this thought in mind, she moved faster, fetched more water, and wiped Lu Yuan. Go prepare some warm honey water and put the trash can next to him. I'm afraid he's going to vomit. Hot. Li Yuan muttered something and started tearing off his clothes. Soon he was naked. Leave one. Xiao Ji and Jia's face turned red in an instant. Then she grabbed Li Yuan and succeeded. No, it's so hot. Honggu, I need some water. The drunk Li Yuan unreasonably tore off the last bit of cover. Liu Su coughed dryly and swallowed her saliva subconsciously. Although she was protecting Li Yuan closely, she had not seen such a scene many times. She glanced elsewhere uncomfortably, then unconsciously looked away. Xiao Chao Hong touched her feverish face and said, "Oh, quickly cover your majesty, don't catch a cold. My mother said that drunk people always get hot first and then get cold." Oh, Xiao Ji and Jia also reacted and quickly pulled the blanket over to cover up the ugliness. She had never had such a clear contact before. My heart can't stop beating. I feel uncomfortable all over. Shui, Honggu. Xiao Ji and Jia sighed when she heard Li Yuan calling another woman's name when he was drunk. She actually felt a slight sense of loss in her heart. She took the honey water, leaned on the mat, used her body as a cushion, and picked up Li Yuan. Here comes the water, drink slowly, don't choke. Xiao Ji and Jia's heart rate never slowed down due to the mixed smell of alcohol and masculinity. The worst thing is that after drinking the water, this guy didn't want to lie down. People don't wear much in summer, and this bastard was shirtless. When her hand touched his muscular muscles, she was dazed. Liu Su was furious. This was what she should have done. What a great opportunity. If I had known this earlier, I would have been a little thicker skinned, Liu Su thought. It's so hot, Honggu, turn on the fan. Li Yuan kept nodding his head back and forth, and even buried his face in it. If he hadn't spoken vaguely and hadn't opened his eyes, Xiao Ji and Jia would have thought he was pretending. No wonder you still called Honggu's name when you were drunk. Much man wouldn't like her to obey you in everything. The faint sadness in her heart diluted her shyness. Let me go, can I go turn on the fan? No, let Liu Su open it, you stay with me and sleep for a while. I'm so tired recently and I don't get enough sleep. Liu Su walked aside with a wronged look and turned on the fan. It was okay for Honggu before, so why can it be okay for Xiao Ji and Jia too? Your Majesty is drunk. Don't bother with a drunk person, Liu Su comforted herself. Now that it's open, can you let me go? Xiao Ji and Jia felt very hot in front of her. It was the hot air exhaled by Lu Yuan, which penetrated through the thin clothes and reached her skin. She gently pushed Lu Yuan's head, but failed. She looked at Xiao Chao Hong and said, "Please help me." Xiao Chao Hong shook her head. "Madam Xiao Fei, you should accompany His Majesty to rest, otherwise I will not be able to report back." Xiao Ji and Jia sighed inwardly after breaking up with Lu Yuan that day. Although Su Xiu did not support her in public, she still supported her in her heart. Li Wuyu, Xi Ning, and the others were all there. But she only let herself take care of Lu Yuan. This trust needs no further explanation. Only, Honggu, don't leave. I told you that I would make you the queen. Why are you leaving? Li Yuan frowned. I will definitely help you find your brother. Even if I have to turn Middle-earth upside down, I will find him. Only then did Xiao Jianjia understand why Honggu disappeared on the day of his enthronement. I'm not Honggu. I am Jianjia. Xiao Jianjia doesn't want to be anyone's substitute. Jianjia? Lu Yuan burped, then arched his back. You don't want to be my queen. I'm very angry. I really want to beat you up. Xiao Jianjia was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly. I'm not suitable. If I say it's suitable, then it's suitable. You don't know. During those years, I really regarded you as my spiritual sustenance and said you seen demigods and semi-devils. At that time, I thought that you were Menji Jiu. Menji Jiu, me? Xiao Jianjia looked at Li Yuan with extremely complicated eyes at this moment. She suddenly understood Li Yuan's feelings for her. But you are not Su Shu. I was a princess at that time, but later I was not. Xiao Jianjia felt upset. She thought of the days when Li Yuan wrote letters to her, which always contained some novels. It started with the return of the Condor heroes, and later on it was demigods and semi-devils. She always felt that Li Yuan was a bit too playful, but at that time, she only wanted to revive Da Qian. Now, she finally understood that Li Yuan had hidden everything he wanted to say in the novel. To this day, she still remembers the embarrassment she felt when she saw Menji Qiyu and Zhu Shu huddling together for warmth in the ice cellar. That's literally writing about her. Yes, he already knew my identity. So I am Menji Qiyu and he is Zhu Shu. Xiao Jianjia laughed at herself. I am the one who was really blinded by one thing. She murmured, feeling a little regretful. If she had not chosen to hide it, but had admitted it openly and asked Li Yuan for help in a nice way. Would things be like this now? She gently smoothed the wrinkles on Li Yuan's brow and said in a voice that only she could hear, Li Yuan, I'm sorry. Chapter 303, Treat each other with respect. At this moment, she understood why Lu Yuan scolded her. The extreme princess deserves to die. I also understand what Lu Qiwishan said. Li Yuan said the cruelest words, but from beginning to end, he never really hurt her. What about rebel and emperor, black and white, evil and good? She was too naive before. Li Yuan has been teaching her how to protect herself in troubled times in his own way. Before she hated and resentful. Later, Li Yuan really gave up on her. She was stuck there again, unable to get out. Seeing this, Cao Cao Hong said, Since your majesty has gone to bed, I will go back and report. The Yang Xian palace fell silent. Xiao Jianjia was lost in her memories and couldn't extricate herself. It was not until Li Yuan's snoring began that she came back to reality. She lowered her head as if possessed by a ghost, and the moment her lips touched Li Yuan's lips, she quickly raised her head again. Liu Su beside him was furious. You don't dislike kissing His Majesty, then why did you kiss His Majesty secretly? She grabbed her hair in despair and leaned against the pillar weakly. Your Majesty, my Majesty. Xiao Jianjia felt her heart leaping into her throat. Touching her burning cheeks, she secretly glanced at the others, and secretly breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that they didn't notice her. This bastard drools even when he sleeps. Xiao Jianjia felt something greasy and wet in front of her, and was both angry and amused. No wonder that damn girl drools when she sleeps, the reason is here. Unfortunately, this thing is so heavy that I can't move it. She was helpless and could only rely on being Li Yuan's human cushion. Before she knew it, she fell asleep. When I woke up again, it was already dark outside, but Li Yuan in my arms was gone. She sat up suddenly. Li Yuan. Here. She looked in the direction of the sound and saw Li Yuan taking a bath behind the screen. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. There are still many injured people to see tomorrow. The palace is already locked. Where are you going? Li Yuan leaned back in the bathtub and said lazily. The palace is so big, there is no place for you to stay. It's not suitable. Xiao Jianjia touched the clothes in front of her that had not yet dried. Through the collar, she could even see the mark that had not faded. She pinched the collar and said, We agreed on this before. The eldest princess's biological mother lies outside the palace. It's okay if you know about it, but if you don't, you might think you are shameful. Li Yuan said helplessly, For the sake of the child, you have to stay in the palace. Then what about my job? After waking up, Xiao Jianjia no longer resented Li Yuan, but she didn't want to be a canary. You can continue to work in the hospital. This does not prevent you from living in the palace. It is my fault for not discussing the matter of consorting you, but it is also for Huan's own good. Li Yuan explained. I only have this one daughter. I hope she is well. Even if I will have other children in the future, it will not stop me from loving her. You don't want your daughter to be ridiculed and criticized in day, right? As long as you don't let me be a canary, I can do anything. Xiao Jianjia took a deep breath. Li Yuan nodded. He thought he would have to spend some time talking to him. I was drunk today. I didn't do anything I shouldn't have done, right? No, said Xiao Jianjia. Liu Su was very angry and thought, You said no but they kissed me. From now on, I will send someone to protect you closely. Just come back after the palace is locked. You can do whatever you want at other times, except during celebrations or festivals. I won't call you over. However, although work is important, I still hope you can spend more time with your children. I have too much official duties now and may not be able to spare much time to accompany my children. But as long as time permits, I will still spend time with my children. It would be best if we could spend time with the kids together. Just maintain a superficial respect for each other. Xiao Ji and Jia got off the bed and her eyes dimmed. When she heard this, she could feel that Lu Yuan was being distant and it was not fake. Actually, you don't have to give me the position of one of the 4 concubines. Huan needs it. Xiao Ji and Jia lowered her head. Also, thank you for saving my uncle and reusing him. This is an exchange. Don't mind it, Lu Yuan said calmly. Let's go and rest early. Xiao Ji and Jia sighed lightly and then walked out of the Yang Xian palace. She thought Lu Yuan would keep her, or at least let her have a bath. But he just let himself go inferently. How shameless. Xiao Ji and Jia stopped and then turned back. Anything else? Looking at Xiao Ji and Jia's blushing face, Lu Yuan was a little surprised. I told you if you help me, I will give you another bath. No need for that, your skills are too poor. You, Ray, not as good as Liu Su. Lu Yuan waved his hand. Liu Su said a grieved lie, Your Majesty, usually it's Honggu and Sister Luo who serve you. It's never my turn to serve you. If you let me practice more, I will definitely be no worse than them. Xiao Ji and Jia didn't say anything. She took the towel and said, trying to suppress her shyness, please make way, I'll go in. Lu Yuan said with a smile. If you just want to repay me and make yourself feel better, there is no need to do so. Xiao Ji and Jia pursed her lips, took off her shoes, and then entered the bathtub. Turn around. The already thin clothes were soaked by water and instantly stuck to the perfect body. A steaming mist, under the light, has a dreamy feeling. Even Liu Su, a woman, felt her heart beating fast when she saw this scene. But Lu Yuan had no mood to appreciate it. Who let you in? Xiao Ji and Jia was stunned. What do you mean by, I said no, and I mean no. You came down with your clothes on and made my bath water dirty. Lu Yuan suppressed his anger and said, get up and get out. Xiao Ji and Jia stood there in a daze. This is the first time she has taken the initiative. Is she repaying a favor? No, she just wanted to ease the tension between her and Lu Yuan. But what she didn't expect was that her action would directly anger Lu Yuan. At this moment, she felt embarrassed and wrong. She had never felt so ashamed as she did at this moment. I didn't mean that. I put my clothes. Don't you understand what I'm saying? Lu Yuan came out of the bathtub in a bad mood and wrapped himself in a bath towel. Xiao Ji and Jia, why are you always so self-righteous? Do you really think I want you to help me bathe? Do you think I really need your gratitude? Forget it. These words made Xiao Ji and Jia tremble all over. Tears welled up in her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm not doing this to repay you. I just want to. You think everything. Have you ever considered what others think? Lu Yuan shook his head and said angrily, forget it. Go away. Don't force yourself, wrong yourself, and do things you don't like in the future. In this way, you will be unhappy and I will be uncomfortable too. As I said just now, as long as we maintain a superficial respect for each other and let Huan grow up well, I will be satisfied. Chapter 304, The Crisis is Coming. Lu Yuan doesn't need Xiao Ji and Jia's false thanks. In his opinion, Xiao Ji and Jia gave him a bath only because he saved Prince Duan. Just as she was drunk, it was her mother who asked her to come and take care of her, instead of her coming here on her own initiative. Of course, given their relationship, it was impossible for Xiao Ji and Jia to come over on her own initiative. Therefore, it is enough to maintain superficial respect. He would not expect to get any sincerity from Xiao Ji and Jia. Xiao Ji and Jia sniffed and climbed out of the bathtub. She was already soaked to the skin and looked extremely miserable. She walked out of the palace of tranquil longevity barefoot, unable to hold back her tears any longer. Lu Yuan did not comfort her. The impatient and disgusted look in his eyes was completely different from before. But what right did she have to be angry? If she had heard this a few days ago, she might have been happy. It's all my own fault. I can't blame others. After Xiao Ji and Jia left, Lu Yuan calmed down and realized that he had overreacted. Forget it. This is better. It won't make her uncomfortable, and I won't be uncomfortable either. Did you find Honggu? About it, our people are already protecting it in secret, Liu Su said. That's good. Lu Yuan nodded. He had no intention of asking anyone to sleep with him. He just picked up the official document and started reading it. The night deepens. Lu Yuan was lying on the bed without any pajamas. Wu Sun, who was kneeling in the corner, and Liu Su, who was lying on a recliner not far from Lu Yuan, had no idea that danger was approaching quietly. A gust of wind suddenly blew open the palace door and woke Liu Su up, but before she could react, she felt a sharp pain and immediately lost consciousness. Wu Sun in the corner was beaten unconscious before he could even raise a warning. At that moment, Li Yuan's hair stood up and he felt cold all over. Without waiting for his warning, the palace door closed again, and the man said, "I can kill you before you make a sound." Li Yuan's hand had already touched the pistol under the pillow, but he didn't dare to act rashly. He had set up a tight network in the palace, so even if someone wanted to assassinate him, it would be extremely difficult. Moreover, the walls of Day Palace are extremely high, even higher than those of Liangjing. Just from the perspective of terrain, the Imperial Palace is located in a basin that stores wind and absorbs air for the entire Liangjing. Don't be nervous, I'm not here to kill you. If I were to kill you, you would be dead by now. Li Yuan didn't believe his lies, so, what are your intentions? I am only here to warn you to be a good emperor, otherwise, even if you unify Middle-earth one day, I can still kill you. As he spoke, Li Yuan felt a gust of wind coming, the door of the palace opened, and the black shadow in front of him disappeared without a trace. At that moment, Li Yuan hurriedly turned on the light. He did not say anything, but just checked Liu Su and Wu Sun. Seeing that they were just unconscious, he breathed a sigh of relief. If this person is not from outside the palace, then he must be someone from inside, but if this person is from outside the palace, then his other abilities are hard to imagine. Li Yuan's back was already soaked with cold sweat. But such a person who can come and go freely in the palace, who wouldn't worry? The knight breaks the law by force. Those people in the underworld care about the pleasure of revenge. And they don't care what others think. He sat by the bed for a long time, but caught a glimpse of a few pieces of paper out of the corner of his eye. Pick it up and take a closer look. This is the distribution map of the Imperial Palace's military forces. No, it also marks the weak points as well as a new defense map and a palace construction map. Li Yuan was stunned. This mysterious man was not here to kill him. He warned him inexplicably. Left a new defense map and palace construction map, and then left. The more he looked at this new defense map and palace construction map,